This world was on the verge of extinction until humans began to receive powers from the constellation deities and become metahumans. Among those awakened, there was one who did not receive any special powers from the constellations, but instead became capable of absorbing the powers of other metahumans and even the constellations themselves. His name was Ojin, and he later became known as the Heavenly Demon. By absorbing the powers of others, he became so powerful that even thousands of awakened ones along with the gods could not stop him, until the hero Lee Shin-hyuk appeared at the very end, and with the help of the strongest constellation, he was able to kill the Heavenly Demon. Will he be able to regress back in time and deal with the power he got? Let's find out. We witness Lee stabbing the guy to death with a spear and questioning the Heavenly Demon why he killed everything. Stabbing the Heavenly Demon with such resentment, he can't seem to forgive this sucker for destroying the world. Just then, a Vega star, the goddess of harps, appears and appreciates the metahuman Lee Shin-hyuk for what he did, killing the Heavenly Demon and saving the world. With a deadly look in his eyes, Lee wonders if he really saved the world, and seems to have enough of that bullshit of hers as he screams in agony, asking how this is salvation anyway. Given that Lee saved the world by killing the Heavenly Demon, the goddess grants him a wish via the Stars of Oaths. While the goddess activates the Star Oath, it is revealed to us that only the constellations of the North Star can use it, an oath that grants any wish. That's when Lee lets out that he's going to reverse everything, wishing to be sent back to the past. Staring at him with dubious eyes, the goddess is left baffled, and asks him if his wish is to regress. Being considerate, Vega questions him if he wants to live through the same cruel history again, and tries to make him understand that the future of that world could be even more painful or full of despair. However, Lee stands his ground and tells her that he's aware of this fact, convincing her that it will be different this time around. Well, it looks like the guy Lee Shin-hyuk wants to be a regressor, the one who goes against the fate of the world, the only being that can rewrite history with an end that was set in stone. As Shin-hyuk seems determined, muttering that he will change fate this time, Vega agrees to grant his wish via the Star of Oath. However, our guy interrupts in between and clarifies to the goddess that it isn't a wish, but what he's proposing to her, asking to bestow the stigma of the Vega star upon him. Surprised to hear such a thing, the goddess reveals no human can withstand her stigma, and that is why even the Heavenly Demon couldn't obtain her stigma, adding that not even Lee, the savior, would be any different. Listening to this, Lee utters if he can't even do that, there's no point in going back in time to begin with, affirming that the goddess knows this already. Rethinking her decision, Vega decides to bestow her powers and informs Lee that the moment he goes back into the path due to the oath, she will bestow the stigma of the Vega star upon him, adding that she will personally look for him. As soon as Lee hears this, he is shocked as Vega will lose memories if she goes back into the past. However, she assures him that she might lose her memories of this timeline, but she has her stigma and her past self would be able to recognize that Lee is a regressor. She continues to explain that if Lee is able to withstand her stigma, her past self will take him as her disciple. Upon hearing this, Lee is left astounded to even think that he would be able to become the disciple of the Vega star, one of the North Stars. Left in disbelief that the thing many metahumans wanted is now happening to him, our guy reckons that now all the preparations are complete. He recalls the Heavenly Demon, remembering his face vividly, and plans to find out where he was first registered as a metahuman. Determined to find him, the guy remembers his revenge and plans to kill the Heavenly Demon, the one who has taken everything from him with his own hands. Nonetheless, the goddess Vega begins to exercise the oath, granting him the wish. She tells the unheavenly star, Lee, to be careful. While the goddess casts the magic, our guy contemplates the things he's lost, things he failed to protect, and the numerous regrets he ponders upon over again and again. But this time round, he gets adamant to change them. After that, metahuman Lee Shin-hyuk's physical body is bestowed with Vega star stigma, making his existing Pixis stigma disappear. While our guy loses his consciousness, suddenly, there's a warning about the power of stigma being too powerful, alerting that metahuman Lee's physical body is falling apart. Shortly, we are then traveled to Lee's flashback, where he narrates that his younger brother, Lee Woo-hyuk, who was strong enough to be chosen by one of the 12 zodiacs, was brutally killed by the Heavenly Demon. Traumatized, Lee Shin-hyuk witnesses his brother's body covered in blood and questions the monster why he killed his brother. That's when the Heavenly Demon responds to him, uttering that this wouldn't have happened if he had not abandoned him back then, referring to Lee Shin-hyuk. Watching the demon's face, Lee is hit by a sudden realization as he feels that he has seen that face before. Suddenly, his body enters the state of energy deviation and witnesses someone in front of him as the energy is entered into him. Shocked to the core, Lee is left baffled as he thinks about what is happening and wonders why he is acting like this all of a sudden. Well, it turns out that the Heavenly Demon in his thoughts has entered reality as he confronts him. To his surprise, the demon suddenly appears in front of him and abruptly, due to huge emotional fluctuations, his energy deviation worsens as our guy begins to bleed at the mouth. However, he is still lost in the thought of the heavenly demon appearing out of nowhere, and at that moment, his energy change caused by the stigma of the Vega star goes berserk as Lee's body completely falls apart. While the poor guy tries his best to withstand the stigma, his life seems to be in critical condition. On the other hand, the goddess Vega presumes that the chance of surviving is 1 in 1,000, even less than 1 in 10,000. Well, it looks like the goddess was right all along, as in the end, Lee did not become that one probability, and it turns out that the metahuman Lee Shinyuk dies. Witnessing the metahuman die, the heavenly demon who just appeared out of nowhere is left in disbelief and tells the poor dead guy that even if he was going to die, he should have died after killing all the wolves, ready to rip him apart. Scared to death, the demon who's not even a metahuman panics as the monsters approach him, blaming Lee for the situation to die at such a moment. Thinking if Lee would have something on him, he looks under his clothing and wonders if he wouldn't be stupid enough to come in with nothing but that useless stigma, because he's a metahuman after all. Suddenly, the heavenly demon notices a stigma on Lee's body, which leaves him quite surprised as he has never seen or heard of it before. Touching Lee's body, the guy gets notified about the beginning of the Black Heaven's enlightenment, informing that the Black Heavens have absorbed the stigma of the Vega star. Unaware of what's happening, his body absorbs the stigma of a Vega star. As the power of absorbed stigma is too powerful, the poor guy screams in pain, uttering that it fucking hurts. Enduring such a horrendous thing, the fella trembles with pain, thinking it was hellish. Finally, Vega star's stigma gets completely absorbed into his body and adjusted to match the enlightenment star of the Black Heavens. Annoyed, the heavenly demon isn't much surprised to see a status window, making him think that it's for meta-humans. After he gets the stigma Lee had before, suddenly, a bright light appears and it emerges to be the goddess Vega. She comes after feeling the power of her stigma and lets out that heavenly demon has her stigma, something she never gave to anyone before. Calling out the unheavenly star, she thinks that the guy is Lee Shinyuk and refers to him as the one who goes against fate, the only savior of the world that is fated to end. Vega believes that he's the Regressor. Meanwhile, the clueless heavenly demon is left utterly confused, thinking that he's the Regressor. We are taken to Kwon Oh-jin, the heavenly demon's backstory, where he's in an orphanage and a bald man makes him understand that as an orphan he should take his place. He teaches Kwon the simple method of fooling people and letting them hear what they want to hear. Asking if he can do this, Oh-jin with a sneaky smirk on his face curses the orphanage director, saying fuck him. Well, it turns out that Kwon as an 8-year-old had a dark childhood. After that, he gets beaten by his teacher who asks him to start again and forces him to say that their orphanage is a good place. However, the troubled boy shows him the middle finger, making the teacher go mad as he rolls up his sleeves to beat the crap out of him. In the meantime, a girl enters the scene and instructs the teacher not to bully Oh-jin, calling him Baldy. The girl seems to be a badass as she hits the director, and while he blabbers something, she takes Oh-jin's hand and leaves, not caring what the hell that crazy bastard is saying. The girl who helps Oh-jin is Song Haeun, who is 10 years old. She's his only support who helps him endure this hell-like orphanage. Faking things, Oh-jin was forced to say good things about the director. However, deep down, he knew that the director abuses them just enough so they don't show any injuries. From that point on, he makes a decision that he won't die a shit death in a place like this. That's when the gate opened on Earth and monsters he'd never heard of poured out of it. Even when Earth became hell, the constellations that possessed the power of the star signs appeared. Metahumans, who awakened and received the constellation stigmata, started to appear here and there as well, and what Oh-jin did was to fool those metahumans and reap their benefits, since it was so much easier to survive among them. In the midst of fooling the metahumans and like a leech, he leeched others, taking his gains, and pretended to be a high-ranking metahuman. Having such a devious mind, Oh-jin created a party and then pretended to help the metahumans, taking a decent amount of rewards, and ran away. That day, like any other, he fooled a pushover and crossed paths with Lee Shinyuk, his next victim. Oh-jin fools him by revealing that he's Aquarius's disciple, one of the 12 astrological signs, leaving Lee more shocked than ever. Little did Lee know that he was making a fool out of him. Oh-jin tells him that there's no need to be surprised, and even though he's one of the 12 astrological signs, he's still A1 star. Smoothly lying about it, Kwon himself was a non-meta-human, but what he learned was becoming a perfect conman. Nonetheless, Lee introduces himself as the disciple of Pixis and feels kinda embarrassed as compared to the 12 signs. It's nothing. Upon hearing this, Oh-jin hypes him up and excitedly mutters that Pixis stigma controls orientation and direction, adding that no matter what weapon he uses, it's like they're using their own hands and feet. Well, it looks like this guy has caught his prey and decided to start with his plan, introducing himself as Quan Jin-oh, using a fake name just in case. Believing that it's fate that they met like this, Quan offers him to create a party, which makes Lee confused about why he would want to create a party with him. Continuing with his fake story, the scammer reveals that it's a little embarrassing to say, but he's not great at using stigma yet, so even though he's awakened for a year, he's still an A1 star. It is then revealed to us that A star is a class, a type of level, that starts at 1 star and continues all the way up to 12 stars. Metahumans raise their level based on the stigma of their transcendent constellation. However, the power of a metahuman stigma and constellation is important, and being able to use their stigma is also very crucial. Feeling embarrassed, Quan asks Lee to have a look at his stigma, making Lee impressed as he watches that it's the stigma of 12 signs. But in reality, this guy Quan made the stigma on his body with a blade when he decided to go through with scamming people. He reckons that it's a symbol he went through hell to make, so of course everyone should know what it is. Having a good feeling about this, Quan is halfway through fooling the poor guy Lee, informing him that it's a low-ranking gate yet very competitive, so they should enter the gate carefully. Cajoling him into doing this, the guy informs Lee that he will cast a debuff on him before they fight and get started. Meanwhile, Quan uses his star sign Aquarius power to activate mini-LED to brighten up the darkness for the lowly disciple Lee. It turns out that the guy is actually sprinkling glass powder mixed with fluorescent paint to create the illuminating light. However, he successfully fools Lee as the poor guy gets excited and gets to experience the power of stigma. Surprisingly, he feels like his body is getting warmer, and every single one of his cells is awakening, happily thanking Quan for the debuff. While the poor guy enthusiastically plans to show his skills, the evil Ojin laughs in the corner as Lee swallows the glass powder that's not good for him. Thanks to his fake debuff, Lee's body feels lighter, and he activates the unexpected enlightenment. Flattered by his skills, Ojin finds better than other metahumans that he've met before, and at this rate, he will earn a minimum of 300,000 won. While Lee does all the hard work, the guy plans to recover all the myrrh crystals. Holding the crystal, Ojin ponders that he can't let an item that can infuse stigma power fall into someone else's hands. Back then, Quan thought that he hit the jackpot, but little did he know the fact that their surroundings were eerily quiet. Something unexpected happens as Lee freaks out when he witnesses numerous anthorns blocking their way. As Lee calls out Quan to run this way, Ojin speculates that something is wrong with spending several years in these low-ranking gates, but he's never seen an abnormal amount of anthorns before. Running for their lives, Lee screams that the anthorns are fast and that they aren't able to put any distance between them. Finding it impossible to outrun them, suddenly, Shinyuk strangely looks at Ojin, and that's when the guy realizes that he's up to something. To his surprise, Lee kicks Quan in the face, using him as the scapegoat, and with fear in his eyes, he keeps apologizing to him as he escapes away. Calling him son of a bitch, poor Ojin is left helpless as he trips to the ground while Lee justifies that at this rate, they both would die. Yelling they should fucking die together, the scammer guy is betrayed by Lee. However, at that moment, an unexplainable situation occurs. Unexpectedly, something happens to Lee as he's unable to withstand the stigma and collapses. While he is left shocked to see what just happened to Lee now, he rushes to him to see if he has anything on him. Thinking about what he'd do if he dies like this, he goes through Lee's body and witnesses the stigma that he's seen for the first time. Recalling that Shinyuk was a Pixis, just then the first enlightenment of the Black Heavens starts. Something appears all of a sudden. Well, it turns out that Quan Ojin is taken to the goddess Vega's timeline where she mistakes him for the regressor Lee Shinyuk. Unknowingly, this guy becomes a regressor who is a person who goes back in time. But even the regression doesn't distract him as he thinks about his future 5 minutes later, where he will be getting ripped to pieces from those anthorns. Just then, Ojin realizes that she said something about him possessing a stigma that no one else possesses. While he's sure that it's Lee Shinyuk's stigma, the guy is baffled as the stigma that has appeared on his left chest he's never seen in his life. Unaware of the reason, Ojin seems to know one thing for sure, and that is he used the power of Black Heavens, absorbing the dead Lee Shinyuk's stigma. However, it's not Pixis' stigma, but Lyra's stigma that leads him to conclude that Lee was the regressor. Unraveling the unknown, the guy gets to know that the phenomenon where Shinyuk emitted blue-colored lighting before he died, that's when he absorbed his stigma. In other words, Lee Shinyuk, who regressed, couldn't defeat the stigma and died as an after effect. And from that moment on, the power of the Black Heavens activated, and stigma came to Quan Ojin. Meanwhile, the guy is still puzzled about the situation about how he got Lee's stigma. He eventually yanks out his thoughts when Goddess Vega asks him if he's not the regressor. The goddess is certain that she felt the unheavenly star here, and Quan responds to her, admitting that he's the regressor. In the back of his mind, he has no idea what Black Heavens is for an unheavenly star. He doesn't even know the name of the goddess in front of him. with all the chaos in his mind, and in order to survive, Ojin decides to live as a regressor. He needs to be a regressor even if he has to scam God, and that's what he's best at. After that, the goddess believes in him that he's the unheavenly star, and it leaves our guy stunned, thinking that she just believed in that lie. A transcendent who possesses the power that a mere human could not imagine possessing, and even after that, the devious Ojin manages to scam the existence like God. Feeling kind of proud, our guy wonders if he's going to get fucked for this. Nonetheless, Vega cuts to the chase, saying that although she wants to talk about all the details of the future he went through, these annoying anthrones are getting in her way. Smiling brightly, the goddess lets out that she looks forward to seeing the limit of the unheavenly star's power, referring to Quan. Being quick-witted as he is, the guy gets the hunch that the goddess is telling him to get rid of the monsters and prove his powers right now. While the goddess assures him not to feel pressured and just fight, our guy is scared to death as he already feels pressured about what Vega said. Confronting the growling anthrones, Ojin holds the stick and the powers seem to be seeping out of him as his body feels light as a feather. He uplifts himself and thinks that he might be a lowly 1-star, but he now has the body of a metahuman. As the anthrones leap toward to attack him, Ojin impressively rips them apart in one strike. While the goddess observes his powers, our guy fights off the anthrones like a pro, and he is amazed by his powers as he's annihilating the monsters like a walk in a park. Just then, he acquires Pixis's Spear Arts level 4. However, Ojin senses something strange with his head all of a sudden. The scene switches to Lee Shin-hyuk, who seems to be panting heavily and thinks that he will never be able to catch up with his brother Lee Woo-hyuk if he keeps going like this. Well, it turns out that Lee Shin-hyuk's memory is being played in Ojin's mind. He speculates that Lee has a scar he's never seen before, and judging from that, he surmises that this isn't a memory of the past. This leads him to think that it's the memory of Lee Shin-hyuk from the first time. Memories from the future. It appears that along with Lee's memories, Pixis's skills are flowing right in as well. But being this strong, Ojin wonders if 1-star metahumans are really this strong, because the 1-star metahumans he remembers weren't that strong. Meanwhile, our guy manages to kill all the anthrones effortlessly. The goddess tells him to stop and asks if he's putting on a show for her entertainment. Upon hearing this, the poor guy is kinda shocked. Vega clears the air and asks him why he's not using her stigma. This surprises Ojin even more as he presumes that all this time he had all that power without even using the stigma, and our guy understands as he stares at her with eyes wide open. Vega further elucidates that, even for a regressor like him, it must have been hard to use his new stigma like stepping into the body of a child who's just started to walk. Ojin contemplates that the goddess is making sense of it all on her own, but our guy can't seem to pass an opportunity like this. It's pretty much like he's in the body of a newborn baby right now. Excited to be baby Ojin, Vega takes on her job to help the baby with his first steps, making our guy flustered as a goddess gives him an enticing offer. Just then, the goddess blesses with the blessing of a star, and the proficiency of the Lyra's stigma boosts temporarily. Thinking that he's heard of this name, suddenly, he is hit by powerful shocks, and the poor guy screams in pain as the blue energy is absorbed in him, pleading with the goddess to at least give him a proper warning before doing shit like this as it hurts. After enduring the pain which felt like hell, the power blue thunder activates, and when Ojin comes to his senses, he witnesses the havoc in just one swoop and is left astonished. Hit by a sudden realization, he surmises that a 1-star metahuman isn't capable of something like this, which means the metahuman must have reached 2-star, or rather 3-star, for him to even imitate it. While he thinks about the notification he just received from Vega, the goddess acknowledges the regressor and remarkable learning speed. At that moment, Ojin addresses her weaving women's star and realizes that it's the real Vega. It is then revealed to us that there are hundreds of constellations, and although they are transcendents, even constellations are divided into those with greater and weaker authority, and the power of metahumans varies according to the rank of constellations. Among them are supreme beings that even the 12 zodiacs dare not look down on. That includes Polaris, Deneb, and Vega. Vega is one of the highest-ranking constellations, and the other constellations dare not raise their head in front of her. While thinking all this, Ojin is thunderstruck to even think that the highest-ranked constellation Vega is actually by his side, not to mention that he's scamming the goddess. Well, it looks like our main character finally gives up on scamming life. Thinking that he's screwed, he plans on telling the goddess that he's not the regressor and actually lied about it because he was scared as shit of dying. But then, he changes his mind, thinking that the water's already under the bridge. The guy low-key freaks out as he seems to be ridiculing a god as a mere mortal, assuming that she'd kill him right away. As the fear of the goddess frightens the life out of him, Ojin ruminates that he started this so gotta end it now and have to fool Vega no matter what. In case that happens, Our guy comes up with a weird idea possible as he starts acting lovey-dovey with the goddess, saying that he missed her. Thinking he will never see her again, Ojin holds her hand while Vega is taken aback by his sudden actions and makes her question what kind of relationship they have in the future. Meanwhile, Kwon Ojin, with his top-notch acting skills, successfully fools the goddess, thinking he got through. Being a dramatic ass, he's aware that she doesn't have any memories of him and gets back to acting again, assuring her that it's nothing at all and apologizes to her. Confused as hell, the goddess, taking it as a big deal, asks Kwon about their relationship in the future, to which the guy responds that he promises to tell her in the future while acting mushy. Putting on a look as if he's through a lot, Vega concludes that the reason he's acting this way is because eventually she will be annihilated. Hearing such a thing, Ojin doesn't get a thing through his head as he wonders what she means, while the goddess goes on to reveal that all the constellations, including her, will be devoured by the darkness of the black heavens, as it is destined to happen. While our guy doesn't give a shit about what she's saying and acts like he knows this shit, abruptly, the guy gets a little serious when he hears the name Black Heavens. Confirming if the goddess really took that name, Vega lets out that it's master of the Black Heavens, and if they let him be, the world will once again head towards destruction. Laughing it off, Ojin seems to be screaming inside as the power Vega is talking about is the same power he possesses. Our main character comes to a realization that he's eventually going to destroy the whole world, and now he's back for the same purpose. As Ojin blooms with joy as he discovers his fate, Vega, on the other hand, takes a pledge that Kwon will not be devoured by the Black Heavens as she shall protect him. Holding her hand, our guy takes the bet while the goddess, addressing him as Kwon Ojin, decides to light up the painstaking path in front of him with her starlight as she, the weaving woman star, makes a big mistake of her lifetime, appoints him as an apostle. Left in disbelief, Ojin is overwhelmed as he's now the apostle of Vega and thinks that there's no going back now. Just then, the goddess witnesses a guy lying on the ground and asks him who's that child. Creating another story, our guy informs her that he's an extremely wicked guy who will loot innocent people in the future. After that, Ojin gets reminded that what Lee Shin-yuk did to him was the essence of maliciousness and wishes that he doesn't resent him much. Nonetheless, Vega tells him to keep one last thing in mind when suddenly she experiences a hint of pain. Wishing to talk more, the goddess halts as the constraints of commandment seem to have started after all. Well, it appears that when Vega blessed Kwon earlier indirectly, her actions violated the commandments. She confesses that she's being bound by commandments that cannot interfere in this world, and tells Ojin that she's leaving, instructing him to come to the sanctuary where she resides in a week. As soon as Vega disappears, our guy is befuddled with so much shit happening one after another, which makes him go mad. But he calms himself thinking that he has attained the stigma of one of the North Star constellations. He then peeks at Lee Shin-yuk's dead boy, uttering that thanks to him his life took a U-turn. The next scene takes us to the real world, where Ojin buys himself a burger on his way back home. Entering his home, a girl seems to be waiting for him, saying that he's a bit late today. The girl turns out to be Song Hae-yoon, the woman who became Kwon's sole support in his hellish orphanage life. She jokes around, saying that he should have hurried and given her a cigarette, while Ojin mutters that she's bullshitting as soon as he comes. Bickering, Song tells him to call her Nuna as she's 2 years older than him. After that, he hands her the burger, and that's when we get to know that Hae-yoon is a metahuman. But she's currently lost her right leg and is blind in both eyes. As a consequence, Kwon is taking after her, unlike when they were younger. But still, their persistent relationship that has continued since the time of their orphanage carried on even after they left that place, although it's precarious and messy. Meanwhile, Song is delighted by that delicious burger. Our guy tells her that it's from a restaurant and not some frozen patty. Hearing this, the girl freaks out as she can't believe it and asks Kwon if he's hurt somewhere or if the monster hit his head. While our guy clarifies that he got some money, he ponders that he wanted to earn the slightest more money, since there's something he needs to buy at all costs. With a suspicious look in Song's eyes, Ojin changes the topic and lets out that she has got sauce on her face. Telling her to eat, our guy jokes around, saying she's ugly all the same whether she has sauce on her mouth or not. Just then, he informs her that he will be buying a big Perset's burger from now on instead of frozen patties. Noticing the sudden shift in burgers, Song gets the gist that something happened and our guy can't seem to hide anything from her, revealing that he became a metahuman. After a while, Ojin finally gets time for himself as he sits on a swing, thinking that it already got this late just from explaining things to Song, and maybe it makes sense for her to be surprised. While it appears that Hae-yoon does not take it well and bombard him with questions, he wonders how he is supposed to explain that he's scamming a constellation and that he's a regressor. Getting his act together, Ojin decides to organize things once at a time. First, he sorts out the Black Heavens thing and lists all the abilities he's got. As he also currently possesses Lyra's stigma, He thinks about this mystery that ate Lee Shinyuk's stigma, and concludes that Black Heavens is originally unrelated to Lee's regression, but he's sure he still had it. According to Vega, the being that possessed Black Heaven would bring the future world to ruin, which means future Ojin will bring destruction to this world. While our guy stresses about recalling what exactly happened to him in past life, he decides not to get caught because the moment he is caught he has Black Heavens. It will be unveiled that he's not the regressor, but a third party who absorbed the regressor's stigma. With all these things in mind, Ojin wonders why he is given the power, but the biggest issue is what he does with it now. Lying down, he thinks deeply about what he can do to appear more like a regressor. Firstly, if he manages to receive Vega's acknowledgement, he won't be suspected. But for that, Ojin plans to raise the star of Lyra's stigma, and by next week, he needs to be at least a 2-star. Touching his stigma, he realizes that he's already overflowing with mana, so he only needs to handle the stigma and decides to go to the gate soon. As soon as he heads back inside, Ojin receives a notification about an abnormality outbreak and the possibility of a mutant appearing. This emerges to be the gate Ojin went in, and our guy already seems to know that it was suspicious for anthrones to travel in groups, which made no sense, concluding that it was an abnormality after all. The guy then narrates that mutants refer to the monsters who mutate every so often. Depending on the situation, there are cases where they are weaker in their original forms, but typically, the mutated forms tend to be much stronger than their original forms. Mutants are monsters that new 1-star metahumans cannot dare to overcome. Recalling his confrontation with the anthrones, he didn't see any mutants back then, wondering if he missed them because he wasn't in a situation to worry about them. Smiling at his screen, Ojin seems to have selected his next destination, to fight the mutants. We are then taken to the gate in the news where mutants are seen, and a lot of metahumans are calling to join their party to hunt mutants together. Reaching his destination, Ojin reckons that the news said to avoid coming here at the time being, but there are more people than usual. This leads him to wonder if the myrrh crystals go for a lot of money. After that, our boy also thinks of joining a party, but he's pretty confident with his powers now as he can fight the mutants alone. But it comes about that this cheapskate doesn't want to split the profits with a party member. Just like that, he begins his hunting and walks into the forest. Suddenly, he senses something behind him, and in a flash, a bunch of anthrones leaps toward him. However, Ojin stands his ground without flinching. He stops the anthrone from attacking with his stick and effortlessly holds him down to the ground. Making it pay the price for attacking, our guy chases after the anthrone, and using his powers, he wipes them all out with the blue lighting power. While his powers also destroy the trees, Ojin himself is greatly flattered as his physical specs are on a completely different level compared to the typical 1-star metahumans. He then contemplates that the body of an anthrone usually weighs around 80 kilograms, and it's not easy to grab and throw it with one hand, depicting how powerful he has become. Our guy then recovers the myrrh crystals that must be around 800,001 each, assuming this is why everyone wants to become a metahuman. After he acquires the crystals, some other monsters await him as Ojin senses them, thinking that they come after smelling the scent of their friend's blood. Well, it emerges to be a mutant, and without a second, the mutant comes attacking our guy, catching off guard. However, our boy remains unfazed and activates his power thunderbolt, charging the lightning spear at the mutant. To his surprise, the mutant gets annihilated with one hit. While he was shocked that it worked, this scares the other anthrones away, and also myrrh crystals. At that moment, Ojin Lyra's stigma levels up to 2 stars. Left in disbelief, he assumes that it's because of the amount of mana from the stigma that made him level up faster. But what surprises him more is reaching the 2nd star in just one day. Feeling the power surging through him, our guy recovers the crystal from the mutant when suddenly someone sneaks up on him, complimenting him for capturing a mutant. It appears to be 2 metahumans praising Ojin for catching a mutant on his own and thinking that his skills are quite impressive. Meanwhile, they introduce themselves as the 3-star disciple of the Cain's Venatici. A hint of doubt hits our guy as he ponders that there's no way 3-star disciples would come to a low-ranking gate like this one, wondering if they're specifically here for the mutant. Observing the two, he speculates that they've got faces that scream thief and it'd be a crime of its own if they're not. Just then, the 2 guys make it look like they lost sight of these anthrones earlier, and Ojin immediately realizes that they really are thieves. The tension gets higher as they stare at each other, and Ojin seems to have no choice. All of a sudden, he starts to shed crocodile tears and apologizes to them, kneeling on the ground, while Ojin acts to freak out and surrender, giving all the rewards to them. The thieves are quite impressed as our guy understands the situation and asks him to talk more over there. As they are walking away, in a flash, a spear pierces through one of them. Well, it appears to be Ojin making a fool out of them, and while he brutally stabs him to death, he utters to give his greeting to his mother in hell. Putting on a sinister laugh, he tosses out the spear from the body while the other thief leaps towards him with his weapon, calling him a crazy bastard. Dodging the attack instantly, Ojin slides past him in a blink of an eye, and the thief guy is taken aback as he says that this son of a bitch has been hiding his skills, reckoning that he's unbelievably fast. With an evil look in his eyes, our guy leaps towards him, saying he's just a weak idiot, and slashes the spear through him, charged with lightning power at that, and the poor guy screams in pain. After killing those guys, Ojin feels like it's quiet again, and happily goes back to his harvest. However, something makes him stop as he thinks about the black heavens that are supposed to be stronger as it absorbs more stigma. Thinking of giving it a try, he gets reminded of Vega, who told him that one of the traits of the black heavens was the black curtain. Using his stigma on the dead guy, the black heavens absorb Canis Venatici's stigma. Fulfilling all the requirements to unlock the second level of the black heavens, Ojin experiences the second enlightenment as the black energy emits through him. As it seems so powerful, the enlightenment level of the black heavens is low, which restricts the record of awakened Lee Shin-yuk. Later, the guy opens his eyes in a hospital room where the doctor informs him that he's passed out for 2 weeks. Being passed out for this long, our guy wonders if these are also Lee's memories that he's reliving. While Lee's brother Woo-hyuk asks him why he entered the gate without telling him beforehand, Lee apologizes to him as he thought it'll be okay since it was a 1-star. Just then, a girl barges into the room and asks Woo-hyuk if he has time, addressing him as Guildmaster. The girl informs him that the new gate that opened in Mokdong on the 15th, apparently, a guy Chang-hyun found a relic there. Suddenly Lee's memories begin to glitch and Ojin finally yanks out of Lee's memories, presuming that he keeps getting his memories. Just then, Ojin successfully inherits Lee Shin-yuk's awakened partial records, getting to Pixis Spear Arts level 5, and learns a new skill named Lame Excuses. Meanwhile, our guy guesses the more memories of Lee he gains, the more enlightened he becomes and wonders what the hell is Lame Excuses. Nonetheless, he focuses on the new piece of information about the gate that appeared in Mokdong where the guy also found a holy relic. It is then revealed to us that the holy relics refer to artifacts that have concentrated powers of the star within those. Some possess so much power that it closes the gap between 1 star and 2 stars even. To sum it up, there's a holy relic in the gate that will open in Mokdong after 8 days, and our guy couldn't be more happy to hear such a thing. The next scene takes us to the shop where Kwon Ojin comes to sell his myrrh crystals. After finding out the price with tax deducted, our guy utters a cuss word but controls his emotions. In the back of his mind, he calls them fucking robbers for putting a 20% tax on selling the crystals. Frustrated, Ojin thinks that it's not as bad as it could get, and at that moment, the woman asks him what constellation he's associated with, to which our guy responds that, Lyra. As soon as the cashier listens to this, utterly disbelieved, she asks him again to confirm it. While our well-mannered boy spells it out for her, the woman is too stunned to speak as her jaw drops. As the woman takes him somewhere, Ojin ponders that her reaction is the same as expected, so it would be nice if he would smurf around for the sake of convenience in the future. But he thinks that it's stupid because fame is power after all, and in the meantime, the woman takes her to the VIP room, asking him to wait there. Entering the room, he encounters a blonde guy who straight up asks Ojin to stop looking and stare down. Giving him the side eye, our boy wonders who the hell is this. Looking at the blonde bastard, Ojin guesses that he's here to write a registration exam, but then his eyes land on the palatable dessert, desserts that are only prepared for the VIPs. Drooling over the fancy food, our guy couldn't resist but wonder if those are free, recalling he used to be jealous of bastards who luxuriously ate those things back when he was a scammer. He can't seem to hold back after seeing the free food and munching on the things placed right in front of him. While the blonde guy awkwardly stares at him stuffing food in his mouth, our guy couldn't care less as he finds the food very delicious. Happiness at its peak, he decides to pack what's left and take it, thinking that Haeun Nuna will be so happy about this. Just then, the blonde guy questions Kwon if he's a fucking beggar, which makes our guy stop for a second. The blondie makes some colorful remarks about him, saying why he keeps smacking his lips while eating as it's making him lose his appetite. But Ojin doesn't take it to heart and responds that he's quite the daring guy, adding that it's good to see youngsters like him full of energy, even recklessly acting without thinking of consequences. Burning the blondie with his words, the guy gets pissed and asks Ojin if he's gone crazy after eating food. Sitting proudly, our main character questions him if he knows who he is, calling him a child. Gushing with pride, Kwon utters that he hasn't been active lately and looks at what happened, but he makes the blonde guy curious by saying that if he's in the VIP, he'd know who he is. While the guy is confused as hell thinking who this bastard is, the blonde guy speculates that he's someone famous whose face is well known, judging by how confident he is. Observing that tone of speaking is like an old man, the guy thinks that he've heard of it before, that once a metahuman passes being a 9-star, there are cases where their body gets younger. And if he thinks about it, this person Ojin was guided to the VIP room, leading him to believe that he's a damn old man. After that, our guy questions the blonde guy about which guild he belongs to, again addressing him as a child. Careless, the blonde guy talks to him casually when he notices Ojin staring at him with a straight face. With a scary look in his eyes, our boy kinda warns him that he's been speaking informally to him since earlier, which scares the life out of the poor guy. That's when the blonde guy stands up and bows to him, revealing that Park Youngwoo of the Pandanus Guild. Appearing to be calm, Ojin presumes that he's fucked as the Pandanus Guild is one of the top 10 guilds in Korea and the Guild of Scorpio Metahumans. Nonetheless, he tells Jungwoo that it's the same guild as Chanyuk's, which surprises him as Ojin seems to know his guildmaster. Thinking that he doesn't know anything about him, our guy lies to Jungwoo, stating that he knows the guildmaster and makes up a story, muttering that back in the day they used to eat together, went to saunas together, and did everything together. Upon hearing this, Jungwoo goes into a state of shock while Ojin laughs it off, saying that the young bastard has even become a respectable guildmaster. Lying at his best, Ojin plans to have some drinks with him someday and requests Jungwoo to give his regards to that bastard Chanyuk later. Meanwhile, our guy smoothly makes a fool out of the blonde guy and tells his fake name Kwon Jin-ho for the regards. Park Youngwoo apologizes to him for not recognizing such a noble character and being rude. Well, it looks like our guy once again scams this poor guy, as for a guy who's been scamming for years, a guy like Jungwoo was easy to trick. Putting on a devious smirk, another plan comes to his mind when he asks Jungwoo to do him a favor if he's feeling that sorry. It turns out that he makes the blonde guy pack all the leftover food to take it with him, and the obedient Jungwoo gathers all the refreshments in the refrigerator. While Ojin is super happy to think about Hyeon seeing all the food, Jungwoo informs him that he's leaving. Assuming that he was here for the exam registration, the blonde guy doesn't feel so good and leaves. On the other hand, our guy was happy to see him leaving, thinking that he chased away the nuisance. Well, we get to know the real reason behind Jungwoo Long's face and early departure. Earlier, Ojin took all his money, flattering Jungwoo that he's the future of South Korea's metahumans, and our guy hit the jackpot as he carried a lot of cash with him in the wallet. Going through his wallet, suddenly, Ojin finds a mutant's myrrh crystal and wonders what this doing here. This leads him to ponder that not only mutants are rare, a mutant's myrrh crystals are not things that one can easily obtain, but what confuses him even more is the thought of what it is doing in Jungwoo's wallet. Deciding to look into this matter, at that moment, he is interrupted by the guy who apologizes to him for making him wait and introduces himself as Han Junman, the team leader of the association. Asking Ojin if he's the guy with Lyra's stigma, Han shakes hands while our guy is humbled when he looks at his amazing body, which is built in several different ways. Feeling his energy, Ojin surmises that he's a strong guy, in a way incomparable to someone like Park Jungwoo. Asking Junman's constellation, the guy reveals that he's a Taurus 6-star metahuman, which makes Ojin think that he's truly someone incredible. Enough of the blabber, Han comes straight to the point and questions Kwon if he really has Lyra's stigma. While our guy gets it that Han can't seem to believe him, after all, he's the first metahuman to receive Vega's stigma. He proves it by showing the stigma on his chest. Not satisfied enough, Han requests that he would like to do the registration exam himself, and Ojin appears to be fine with it. After that, the team leader and Kwon get ready to fight while our guy asks him if he can use his own weapon instead of sparring. As Han assures him that it's okay, Ojin seems to be very curious about his strength as a 6-star Taurus. Even if his Lyra's stigma is op, he wonders if it can fill the gap of 4 stars and that of a metahuman who has one of the stigmas of the 12 astrological signs. Well, there's only one way to find out, and it is something he'll have to see. With that, he leaps towards Han with his spear, and just as he gets near, a blue energy emits, leaving Han flabbergasted. Kwon Ojin strikes him with such immense power that even Han is astonished to see a 2-star metahuman with this much power. Meanwhile, Han halts the attack, making our guy crash away. He notices the insane power, and just then the team leader runs to him, asking if he's okay. Our guy appears to be just fine as he tells Han to continue the fight, presuming that he's still able to fight. Reckoning that the leader is on a different level from those he's faced so far, he assumes that using only thrusts won't be enough. With that, he uses the lighting power and attacks him, but being the 6-star metahuman, Han smartly deflects the attack instead of dodging it, just like Kwon expected. Planning to use Han's strength against him, Ojin's energy flows like crazy as he feels something surging within him that even his lightning skill increases to level 2. Becoming stronger as ever, he charges at Han with full strength, which also makes the leader scared for a second as our guy keeps getting stronger. But before Ojin can strike him, he realizes that he has used too much strength, which makes him collapse to the ground. Freaking out, the team leader runs to him and calls the medics, asking them to bring potions too. Later, our guy drinks the potion while Han takes a sigh of relief, seeing that he wasn't severely injured. Getting his energy back with the potion, Ojin looks at the potion bottle and notices that it's a very expensive one, costing at least 10 million won. Just then, the leader apologizes to him while our guy assures him that it's alright. Low-key, he feels satisfied since he was able to get a 6-star metahuman to use his stigma even though he couldn't defeat him. In the meantime, Ojin assumes that they're here. Han gives it a thought and surmises this guy, Vega Star's apostle, is way more incredible than he imagined. At that moment, the team leader reluctantly tries to say something even after making that huge mistake. Sweating, Han offers him to join the association over a cup of tea as it would be a great help to him. Believing that he's trying to recruit him, he thinks it over and surmises that just being an apostle of a North Star increases his value easily, so it would be better if he does not join any association or mercenary. In addition, he can't have any restrictions on his activities since he doesn't know what he needs to do in order to become a regressor yet. Without a second thought, Ojin turns down the offer, clarifying that it'd be tough for him to join the association, and gets up to leave. However, Han, who can't seem to let him go, proposes that Kwon can join the association, but he doesn't have to show up at work. To entice the offer, the team leader affirms that he will get paid a monthly salary despite not working, adding that it'd be less compared to large guilds. Intrigued by the smell of easy money, Ojin takes a step back and ruminates about getting money without doing anything. As our guy is already enticed by the offer, Han further assures him that he will only belong to the organization by name, but he can do all the mercenary work he wants, adding that they could also recommend him for work. Well, it looks like our main character has hit the jackpot and is totally hooked by this incredible offer. Thinking that it's totally insane, he will have the association on his side and wouldn't have to worry about cutting them a share when he takes on requests. However, our clever guy tries to act charismatic as if he agrees too easily. It wouldn't give a nice impression of him. Trying not to appear thrilled, Ojin tells Han that he needs some time to think. Our guy reminisced on the days he lived his life like a dog, but now things are turning around. He's becoming a master now. To add the cherry on top, Han utters that he will be excused from paying taxes. As soon as Kwon hears this, he seems to be over the moon but gets kinda wild though. Well, it looks like things are going smoothly for Ojin, as he seems to be winning at life after being Vega's apostle. Without further ado, our guy agrees to be a dog of the association and looks forward to working with Han. The next scene switches to Ojin, who is walking around the city, getting reminded of the goddess Vega who asked him to come to her sanctuary after a week. The time has come and Ojin finally heads to meet the goddess after making thorough preparations, but still feels darn nervous. Walking to his destination, he witnesses a lot of begging the constellations to hear their prayers, pleading to bestow their powers upon lowly insects like that. Our guy ponders that he did hear a lot of people beg to become a metahuman in front of sanctums, and in tough times like this there aren't many ways people could survive other than being metahumans. Peeking at the huge blue portal-like energy, Ojin enters the sanctum and is mesmerized when he heads inside, witnessing a beautiful sanctum detached from the outer world. Finding a tree inside as if it were made of the Milky Way, he goes further to find Vega and eventually meets with her. As the goddess greets the regressor, our guy, putting on a facade real quick, makes a gloomy face, telling Vega that he missed her. Making the goddess flustered, he justifies that he blurted that out without thinking, but deep down Ojin plans to keep this act up to melt the heart of Vega. Meanwhile, the goddess states that he must be mistaken and assumes that Ojin's faith is still not in place, muttering that she's not the lover he remembers. But our guy doesn't hear a thing, and with a sparkle in his eyes, he continues to tell her that in his past memories, she has always been beautiful. Blushing hard, Vega clarifies that even if he flatters her like this, there's nothing she can do for him. Well, it looks like Kwon is off to a good start. Putting that aside, the goddess praises him for becoming a 2-star in just 1 week as expected of the unheavenly star. Filled with pride, Ojin says that he has already done this before while Vega asks him about the details of the future he came from, because in order to help him, she needs to know what happens in the future. Getting busted, Ojin low-key freaks out, but with years of experience of being a scammer, he handles it and reveals that in the near future, the existence known as the Heavenly Demon will appear. Lying smoothly, our guy makes this up on the fly. The demon that possesses the black heavens, known as the Heavenly Demon. Meanwhile, the goddess asks him if the Heavenly Demon possesses the black heavens, to which Ojin agrees, but informs her that since the demon has hidden himself very well, no one knows his face or whether he's a human or not. Curious, Vega questions that even the regressor doesn't know who the Heavenly Demon is, and Ojin tries to reason with her, saying that tried to find this information as soon as he came back, but failed to do so. That's when the goddess catches him off guard, uttering that if he used the Star of Oaths to regress, this means he killed the Black Heaven's owner, which leads her to question if was not able to see his face despite killing him. As soon as Ojin hears about the Star of Oath thing, His mind goes blank, wondering what the fuck is that thing. Lost in the thought, Ojin realizes that the possessor of the Black Heavens died, which means that Lee Shinyuk succeeded in killing him. Having so many questions in mind about why that bastard Lee regressed in the first place, our boy gets his act together because if he hesitates, the goddess might suspect him, so he needs to pass over this as smoothly as possible. Yanking out of his thoughts, Ojin reveals that the moment he pierced the spear through the heavenly demon's heart, he became black dust and spread everywhere, and he was so absorbed in the fight that he couldn't even see his face. Believing in his story, Vega asks him if he has a way to find the possessor of the Black Heavens. Well, he's standing right in front of her. Playing smart, Quan states that the only way to find the heavenly demon is to wait until he makes the move. Asking when the demon will begin to move, our guy responds that it's 3 years from now, which is enough time for Ojin to get stronger and pretend to be a regressor. After that, our guy assures the goddess that he will look for clues about the heavenly demon and get stronger until then. While Vega finds it reasonable, our guy wonders if he should conclude things and reveals about the new gate opening in Mokdong with relics inside. Informing that he will head there first, the clever guy tells her this information from Lee Shinyuk's memories to become free from the goddess's suspicion if this becomes reality. Given that this info would only be known to a regressor, Vega gives him the rights that only a regressor can enjoy, calling him a child. Hearing the goddess call him her child, our guy can't seem to handle this and wonders if most of the constellations call their disciples their children, assuming that he should call her Vega Mom. Just then, Vega comforts him by saying not to overexert himself even though the weight of this world's fate is on his shoulders, wrapping him into the sweetest hug. While Ojin's soul also feels warmth from a mother's touch, unexpectedly, his conscience hurts a bit for lying to such a constellation, but he needs to do it to survive. Ending things by spraying some fake love, he assures Vega that he's not pushing himself. Holding her hand with such affection, he confesses that he can do anything for her. Perfectly played, the goddess turns red as she is flattered, and our guy gets happy to see her reacting, topping it off perfectly. As our boy is about to leave, Vega stops him and abruptly apprises him that she will be going back with him, adding that she must manifest in this realm and travel with him. Victimized by his own scheme, Ojin is left speechless, thinking about what the fuck she just said. He wonders if she's gonna follow him, which makes him regret that he kind of went overboard with the romance. Well, it looks like this serves him right. Trying to stop her, he reminds her of the restraints of commandments, but Vega, being the goddess, states that her power and time will be limited, but with this method, it's possible to an extent. Watching with bafflement, the goddess gets so much smaller and hands Ojin a pendant, elucidating that if he wears it for a few hours, she can manifest for hours in this state. It appears that she is quite moved by Ojin's words that he would do anything for her, so she decides to walk the dark and lonely along with him. Going down in the dumps, our guy is fucked, crying inside, because if that happens, he will have to act a regressor every damn day. The next scene switches to Song Hyun, who seems to be freaking out after knowing Ojin's weird situation. While the little Vega follows our guy, Hyun gets frantic as she thinks the constellations can't come to Earth because of the restraints. As Vega and Song bicker with each other informally, poor Ojin looks done with their petty arguments. Later, at night, where we see Goddess Vega falling in love with the burger, while Song is astonished to see that the constellations can even eat. Finishing the delicious meal, Vega mumbles that having human food was her first, and accepting a human disciple like Quan was also a first. Curious, Song asks her what's so special about him, and Vega, without a thought, responds that there's no one else in this world more special than Ojin. With certainty, the goddess believes in him so much as she claims that one day the whole world will know that he is more special than anyone else in the world and will become a great being. Listening to such genuine comments for this guy, Song presumes that Ojin is a great scammer for sure. At that moment, Vega adds that Hyun is special too, leaving her speechless. Meanwhile, Quan realizes that Vega can see that Hyun is also a metahuman, the goddess utters if she's not aware, making Hyun confused. Unexpectedly, the goddess asserts that she can help her with the curse on her eyes, but then she backs off, saying that she spoke carelessly. After that, Vega gets tired, saying that she can't manifest for a long time in this state as her restraints get worse, and goes to sleep after saying goodbye to her child, Ojin. In the meantime, the goddess disappears. Song is taken aback by this and asks Quan what is going on. While our guy justifies that he didn't know it would be like this either, Song calls her out and requests him to use his knees for the first time in a while. Using his knees as a pillow, Hyun seems to love it and asks him if likes it too, but Ojin laughs it off, saying that she's so fucking heavy. As they both joke around, Song sleeps on him while our guy gives her a warm smile as she dozes off. The next scene takes us 2 days later, where Ojin, following Lee Shinyuk's memories and the information of Mokdong's gate-opening gate, enters the gate along with the goddess. Seeing the place is just as Quan said, our guy contemplates that the goddess is not surprised by the fact that the gate is really opening here, which means she trusts him a lot, guessing that it's normal for a regressor to know this much. Thinking that Vega is clueless, Ojin decides to take the chance to get rid of any suspicions she might have. Getting a little nervous, he wonders if he hunts alone since he doesn't know how many stars the monsters here have, even though he did bring expensive intermediate potions. Pondering that he must obtain Aquarius so that he can earn a lot of money and sell them by making potions, suddenly something gets past him. Sensing immediately, Ojin notices that it's a tentacle and gets alerted, wondering since when that thing was following them. While Vega looks at the octopus-like monster which looks like an unpleasant creature to her, she asks Ojin if all gates have creatures like this. After that, our guy decides to get into action and try to kill the monster to impress Vega since she's watching. Throwing the spear charged with lighting, the monster explodes as soon as it gets hit, and Ojin feels disgusted, saying that it's even harder to deal with things when it's dead. However, after a moment, several creatures like the previous one begin to appear, gathering in one place. Witnessing those unpleasant creatures leap towards him, Ojin panics because these creatures explode on death, which limits his movement to a certain extent, making it harder to deal with them than expected. In that case, he decides to use a special power, the long-range skill he used back then. Well, it looks like Ojin activates the spear lighting while the goddess is left in disbelief. Just then, he slings the lightning spear towards the monsters, wiping them at once. Feeling proud, Ojin manages to use the technique that he could only previously use while being blessed. Astonished with his powers, Vega couldn't seem to believe her eyes as she didn't expect him to learn this quickly. She adds that spear lighting skill is an intermediate technique of the Vega star stigma, and the power he used is just good enough. After that, the goddess plans on teaching him other techniques later on, but gets reminded that he already knows all of them. However, Ojin refuses and tells her that there are few memories he can't remember after he regresses, adding that one of those memories contains the techniques of the Vega star's stigma. He further convinces the goddess that he can't remember certain parts of the memories. Well, it appears that Ojin saves himself from the future dilemma, lying to her just in case she asks him to use a skill that he doesn't know out of nowhere. Meanwhile, Vega finds it strange that the regression that occurred due to the Star of Oath should not have any memory loss. Our boy tries to reason with her, justifying that like Constellation's commandments have restrictions. Similarly, transcendental powers aren't able to influence all of his memories. Getting a bit doubtful about this, the goddess thinks that it might be possible, and to clear that hint of doubt, Ojin enters the scene, claiming that he hasn't forgotten what's truly important, and that are memories of the goddess. Rizzing her to lessen her suspicions, our guy tries his best to gain her trust while the goddess blushes too hard, flustered at how he is able to say such embarrassing things like it's nothing. Meanwhile, Ojin takes the lead with his scammer Riz skills as he knows that she is weak against words like that. After a while, Vega feels an ominous energy that she can't seem to describe and informs Quan about this. To his surprise, Ojin finds a crystal, and it turns out to be a mutated mer crystal. Holding the crystal, he reckons that they aren't supposed to be this common, and what's worse is that he found multiple of them, making him conclude that something is off. As Vega is also shocked to see black mer crystals, Ojin speculates that even the goddess hasn't seen this before. Just then, he informs Vega that he's going to go in further as our guy is curious to find out more about this. Heading in, Ojin feels something is definitely off as the situation that even the constellations don't know about keeps occurring, wondering what on earth is the black mer crystal. In the meantime, Vega mumbles that she's been feeling that they have been going in circles, making Ojin think that he got caught. While he thinks that nothing can be done, at that moment, he is interrupted by a pungent smell and follows the scent along with the goddess. Heading in the direction of the scent of the black slimes he just met, Vega asserts that the ominous she felt earlier has gotten even stronger here. Strangely, they find a huge stone statue placed in the middle, and Ojin immediately anticipates that it's a relic. Wonderstruck by the sight of the relic, our guy is left in awe just by the thought of how much it will fetch him. Even a one-star relic can fetch him 10 million won or more. Immersed in his daydream, Ojin drools over the amount of money he will get if it's a 6-star relic and finds himself showered in money. Peeking at Ojin acting like a weirdo, Vega is kind of confused when he looks at his weird eyes. Speaking of money, snapping out of it, Ojin decides to obtain the relic quickly. However, he is welcomed by the unpleasant creatures once again. Surrounded by the black slimes, our guy seems to know this was happen, thinking that these fucking weaklings are guarding the relic. But Ojin doesn't mind fighting as many of them and keeps his eyes on the prize. Feeling pretty confident, our boy is deflated when he notices the black slime getting bigger, turning into a fucking strong monster. While Ojin nearly loses his shit as he confronts the big monster, Vega puts trust in him, saying that it looks like he already knew it'd turn out like this. Scared to death, Our guy doesn't seem to know about this, and while his weak ass stands in front of the monster, the goddess seems to rest assured, and decides to observe without a worry, just as Ojin had told her. Acting strong, Ojin assures the goddess that he'll handle, but low-key he has been fucked big time, figuring out how to fight this creature. Confronting the giant monster, our main character instantly regrets that he got a bit too much of himself because of the joy of seeing the holy relic, not realizing that he'd been putting himself in a hell of a situation. Never fought a big creature like this before? Ojin panics as he is certain that he has a 0 chance at winning. Those black slimes were all easy as fuck. He doubts that those easy monsters suddenly became invincible. At that moment, he pulls out a gun he used to carry for self-defense. Glad that he bought this as a light flare, he shoots at the monster, calling him son of bitch. The monster gets shot, and while it gets distracted, Ojin takes the only chance to take the monster down, as the petty trick like light flare won't work again. Just like that, he picks up the spear and decides to put everything in one ultimate attack, leaping towards the monster with the spear charged with blue lighting skill. While Ojin manages to stab the monster, it doesn't seem to work, so he goes for another attack. But before he could do that, the monster nearly tears him apart by charging multiple long tentacles at him. Luckily, Ojin gets saved by the rope tied around the rock and holds onto it. Holding onto his dear life, he thought that the monster was going to fire a missile or something, but he's glad that he survived, or else he would have been crushed by the attack with a speed like that. Releasing himself, Ojin falls down, and at the right time, he strikes 1,000,000 bolts towards the monster. With the power so immense, our guy hardly stables the power, but he successfully kills the monster. Feeling that he could pass out at any moment, Ojin gets happy as he succeeds in defeating the monster, wondering if it is because he used blue lighting twice. Suddenly, Vega calls him out, and it turns out that the monster isn't dead as it attacks Ojin. Before he could even flinch, our guy takes the hit as he crashes far away. While our guy is badly hurt, the monster seems to have awakened, and this time even its appearance has changed. Having no other choice, Ojin pleads with the goddess to give him a blessing, and she immediately bestows the blessing of stars upon him. With the proficiency of Lyra's stigma increasing, the effect feels stronger than last time, making Quan wonder if it's because he's improved since the last time he received a blessing from her. Getting Vega's blessing, Ojin comes back stronger and blue energy emitting more than ever. He soars towards the monster, striking 1 blue lighting per punch. He uses up his mana quickly because his mana is endless, and with that, he punches the monster. Going berserk, Ojin keeps striking the lightning punches like a maniac until the goddess shouts and stops him, telling him that it's already over. Snapping out of it, our main character is shaken by what just happened as he was feeling so pumped. Just then, he experiences pain in his chest, and Vega realizes something that makes her jaw drop. Feeling like this stigma is burning, it emerges that Lyra's stigma levels up to 3 stars, and the lighting powers also increase. Witnessing that he has reached 3 stars within a month, Vega is not quite happy about it, as she reckons that a North Star stigma is incomparably hard to raise, but Ojin's speed is pretty fast. At that moment, the goddess peeks at Ojin, who seems to have collapsed, and tries to wake him up. Later, Ojin can barely open his eyes when he witnesses Vega. Thinking that it's a dream, he calls Vega by her name. Finally coming to his senses, our guy realizes that the goddess is back to its original size, and freaks out when he finds himself on Vega's lap. Flustered, he tries to get up, but the goddess smacks his face, telling him to stay down for a bit longer. She then states that Ojin overworked himself because he passed out as soon as the battle was over, adding that he's more aggressive than he looks. Being diligent, she scolds him to take care of himself, as he may be a regressor, but he's a human. Keeping that in mind, our guy presumes that she always calls him child, but now she's really acting like a mom. Nonetheless, Ojin stares at her and speculates that Vega is doubting him because he barely won even with the help of her blessing, but he had no choice. Just then, the goddess calls him out and asks him if he just called her by her name earlier, while Ojin is left in a daze, wondering what's this about. Blushing, Vega clarifies that she's not trying to scold him, so he can just keep calling her by her name if he wants. Clearing her throat, she reminds him that they have an intimate relationship as she blushes hard, putting Ojin in a tough spot as he gets awkward. To make things clear, he immediately clarifies that he was out of his mind earlier, and this makes Vega mad at him as she grabs his cheeks, asking if he doesn't want to talk to her casually anymore. While poor Ojin appears to be in pain, to save himself from further pain, he tells Vega that he'll talk to her casually from now on, making the goddess happy. After a while, the restrictions seem to begin as the goddess' powers get weak, and she thinks that recovering this time will take quite a while. Watching her struggling, our boy apologizes to her and reckons that he used too much of Lyra's power in excitement, and this wouldn't have happened if he just didn't pass out. Meanwhile, Vega affirms that he doesn't need to apologize as the monster was strong enough to be a 5-star monster. At that moment, Ojin feels really light, and just as he is about to ask how she healed him, His eyes land on the empty potion bottles and panics as each one costs 1,000,000 won. Feeling ecstatic, Vega proudly tells him that used the potions on him so that he could wake up faster. Left in disbelief, our guy sobs his heart out thinking how much money he has lost. Seeing him cry, the goddess assumes that he's touched that he's crying, but Ojin seems to be traumatized. As our guy cries the tears of inner pain, he curiously asks Vega how she feeds the potions to him. Hearing this question, the goddess starts to panic as she turns red, and in an instant, she leaves, rushing inside the pendant. After she leaves, Ojin decides to think about more important things, and heads to start collecting his loot. Collecting the power of the holy relic, he wonders what it does and takes it out, hoping that it's better than a 3-star. Suddenly, a black, strong energy begins to burst out of the holy relic, and it appears that the black heavens start to absorb the power of the dark star within the holy relic. With the power of the dark star absorbing successfully, the black heavens trait evolves that will not only hide the aura of black heaven, but also its entire existence. Feeling an enormous amount of aura, Ojin was shocked as he didn't know that the black heavens could absorb power from holy relics. Peeking at the empty holy relic, our guy freaks out thinking that it's useless now because the black heavens absorbed it. The sticky aura he felt when he first touched seems to be gone, which makes Ojin go mad, as the poor guy rolls on the floor and cries like a baby to get that holy relic back he worked so hard for. Sad that now his money is gone as the relic is absorbed, our guy's sad moments are interrupted by a group of people who were expecting someone here before them. Peeking at the boys in hooded cloaks, Ojin wonders who these bastards are, and just then one of the guys demands the thing he has in his hands, the holy relic. At that moment, his scam instincts kick in, and our guy asks them to buy it off of him, pondering that he might be able to bait them. Knowing that business is about attitude, Ojin continues to fool them, and reveals that this relic doesn't really fit his skill type, clarifying that life is more valuable than a holy relic. Hearing this, one of the guys in the cloak laughs hysterically, and assures Ojin that they weren't going to harm him. The guy justifies that they happen to have ominous clothing as that's what their guildmaster likes, while Ojin laughs it off saying he was just being dramatic. But deep down, our guy knows that it wasn't a misunderstanding as he noticed the murderous intent coming from him the moment he saw the holy relic. In addition, these bastards have the same power as the dark star that the holy relic had. Taking the bait, the guy deals with Ojin and gives him myrrh crystals as a payment. Dribbling at the sight of shiny crystal, our guy seems to hit the jackpot as the large crystal is worth 300,000,000 won, and he can catch 400,000,000 for it. Trying to act much elated, Quan leaves them to it while the guy in the cloak thanks them for the deal. Going back, our ultimate scammer manages to sell that glorified empty holy relic tin to that pushover who took the bait at impeccable timing. However, he decides to hide behind a rock as he finds those guys fishy as hell. Hiding, Ojin inspects that there are too many questionable things after he found the relic. Firstly, according to Lee Shin-yuk's memories, the relic should have been found 6 days after today. However, he found it before that. Baffled, he continues to speculate that it's almost as if the guys in cloaks knew when that relic would occur and that they were targeting it. Thinking if the future changed somehow, our guy decides to wait and see. On the contrary, one of the cloak guys asks their leader Yujin why he didn't kill the guy back there. The leader Yujin justifies that he didn't want to leave a troublesome trail for other metahumans to pursue, and warns his members that he won't explain every little detail to them. Holding the relic, Yujin reveals that the age of stars is coming to an end, and the dark stars will soon rule the skies, adding that all the arrogant stars shall pay the price for their sins. While his henchmen bow down and praise the glory of the Dark Star Society, Yujin smiles and mutters that the dark stars must be smiling brightly upon the sight of loyalty. After that, the guys seem to be discussing something about the relic that has to be swiped, and Yujin replaces the fake relic on the stone. Completing their mission, as they head back outside of the gate, Yujin asks one of his members if he remembers the face of the guy he just made a deal with, commanding his man to go after Ojin and kill him. Putting on a sinister smile, the leader plans to head back and report to the bailiff, and in the meantime his members kill the guy. Witnessing the whole evil conspiracy, Ojin realizes this is how it turned out as he discovers that the future didn't change. The relic that Lee Woo-hyuk's guild found was actually swapped by these Dark Star guys. That's why in Lee's memory they said something was weird. Now that our guy knows the maneuver, he thinks that Dark Star Society is an illegal guild operating in shadows, and comes to the conclusion that they are fucking shady. Walking towards the statue, he picks up the fake relic that they left behind, and wonders if the Black Heavens will absorb this too. To his surprise, the Black Heavens don't seem to react, which makes him think that it's not the relic, but the Dark Star's power within that reaction. Getting as happy as ever, Ojin thinks that it is so sweet of them to give him a fist-sized myrrh crystal and a relic. This brings him one more step closer to his goal, and that is to catch the henchman who's busting his ass off doing nothing. On the other side, Yujin's henchman struggles to find Ojin, wondering where the hell did he go. With no traces of him leaving this place, the guy looks over the whole damn place but didn't even find a fucking single ant. Getting reminded of his boss, the guy has no choice but to locate Ojin, or else he'll be doomed. Frustrated, the henchman shouts and asks where the hell he is when suddenly he gets stabbed from behind, and our boy tells him that he's right here. Panicked, the guy is frightened to death and starts questioning Ojin. However, our guy informs him that he's mistaken about something, clarifying that he will be the one asking questions. Beating the crap out of the poor guy, the henchman begs for life, and our guy only plans on letting him go once he spills everything he knows. The next scene flips to the Dark Star Society's bailiff, who's 6th in rank, Owl King, Cheon Do-yoon. The Owl King asks Yujin if he has brought the goods, to which the guy says yes. Just then, Cheon Do-yoon calls out the owls, and all the members start gathering in one place. Saying that it's time, Yujin places the holy relic inside the symbolic circle and announces that the brilliant night sky will now be covered with dark stars. Yujin enthusiastically stretches his arms, waiting for some kind of magic to happen, and believing that the dark stars will shower them with their blessings. However, things take an unexpected turn when the holy relic stumbles, and a strike of terror runs through Yujin as he tries to explain things to the Owl King. On the other hand, the henchman spills the truth, revealing that the Dark Society is an organization formed by the Dark Stars constellations. As Ojin curiously asks him about the Dark Stars constellations, the guy unveils that for a long time, when all the stars were swallowed up by darkness, the constellations that were born during the era were the Dark Stars constellations. Not getting a thing through his head, Ojin smacks his head, saying how the fuck he is supposed to understand if he explains like this, while the poor guy tries to tell him that's how it was explained to him as well. After that, our boy asks him how many of them there are and the location of their base, to which the henchman lets out that their base is at the peak of Bagan Mountain, where the abandoned observatory is, and the underground floor of the observatory is their branch base, adding that there are 50 members in the society. Asking about the main base, the guy seems to be clueless about it, but Ojin tries to threaten him with the spear and, scared for his life, the guy immediately spills that only the heads are aware of the main branches. A minion like him doesn't even know where the other branches are. Annoyed, our guy gets convinced that higher-ups won't reveal the information to a loser like him, and goes on to question the guy about why he is obeying such a suspicious figure in the first place. While Ojin is certain that society didn't do anything great for them, the henchman sincerely answers that Yujin bestowed stigmas upon them, leaving our guy in utter shock. Giving it a thought, Ojin ruminates how Yujin bestowed stigmas when he's not even a constellation. Clueless of how this works, our guy becomes sure that the guy is using stigmas to fool the people because that's how these people are following this suspicious organization. But it doesn't surprise him much as he's aware this world is full of people who would even kill their family members to be awakened. Nonetheless, Ojin finishes up the interrogation and decides to end things here. The henchman shouts frantically and pleads with Quan not to kill him. With tears streaming down his face, the guy reveals that he has a daughter and he entered the society for her daughter's sake. Thinking that he's a daughter, Ojin stops for a moment and knows the fact that an orphan cannot survive in this insane world. Well, it looks like our main character is a softie as he plans to spare the guy. He asks every single thing about his daughter, including her name, age, favorite food, height, and weight. Meanwhile, the guy answers all his questions. Unexpectedly, Ojin points the spear at him and tells him to answer his questions backward now. With an evil grin on his face, our guy seems to be testing him and aims the spear at his head. While the henchman goes quiet and is unable to answer, Ojin realizes in an instant that it's hard to repeat a lie in a different order. Being very well versed in fraud as a scammer, our guy asks him the location of the main branch and without a flinch, stabs the henchman. After killing the guy, Ojin knows one thing for sure, and that is, the Dark Star Society is pretty powerful and not some bunch of idiots that are good for scamming just like him. He then thinks of taking care of the dead body and notices the Dark Star stigma on the guy's chest. As soon as Ojin touches it, the black heavens absorb the owl stigma. Absorbing the power, he gets curious about what kind of power the Dark Star's stigma will have. Remembering that their society has 50 people, Ojin seems aware that they won't let it slide easily and prepares for the consequences. On the other side, the Owl King approaches Yunjin and asks him what he's doing, saying if the other executors witnessed this, they would have mocked the owls so much. At that moment, the king strikes his energy and partially gets past Yunjin's neck, making it bleed. As the guy appears to be in pain, King Cheon warns him not to disappoint him again, and leaves as he loses interest while the other members mockingly laugh at him. Just then, Yujin dashes to his team and asks them about the guy who went to kill that bastard he made a deal with. To his surprise, the members inform him that they've lost contact with him, which makes Yujin even more mad as he commands his henchmen to find that son of a bitch, calling them useless pieces of shit. It is revealed to us that it's been a week since Kwon Ojin came back from the new gate in Mokdong and has not visited any other gates. Instead, he's been staying at home. The reason for that is our guy is getting used to the mana and body that has explosively improved in strength when he reached 3 stars, practicing and getting stronger as fast as he could. In the shower, Ojin ponders how overpowered Lyra's stigma is. It's stronger than Taurus, which specializes in power, and faster than Scorpion, which specializes in speed, concluding that the other people won't be able to catch up to him if they're all the same 3 stars. Meanwhile, he's thinking about the spear he's using, and he witnesses Song, who calls him to lie on the bed. Giving him a massage, Ojin asks her why she's giving him a massage all of a sudden, and Song gets pissed, asking if he's complaining. Feeling nice, our guy thinks that Haeun is talking as if she's pissed, but she's actually putting effort into the massage. Just then, her massage turns into pain as she asks Ojin if he's feeling good, calling him a piece of shit while our guy screams out of pain. Holding his back, Ojin mutters that if she has forgotten who she is, her strength is out of this world. Hearing these words, Song sadly looks at her amputated leg, and it is then revealed to us that this girl was an awakened who had become a 7-star, but now she's a halfling who can't use her stigma. Assuming that he has hurt her feelings, Song breaks the silence and asks Kwon if he's earning a lot of money after becoming an awakened, to which he responds that he's earning a ton. Sitting together, the girl confesses that they won't have much time left to spend together like this. This makes Ojin sad as he agrees and ruminates that soon enough he will reach his goal of 10 billion won, and then everything will be over. While it looks like Haeun is going to cry any minute, she leans her hand towards Ojin's and bursts into laughter as she smacks him hard, telling him not to get so serious. Just then, Ojin finds a way to escape from Song's smacking when he receives a call from the leader, Han Junman. Taking the phone call, the team leader assigns him to an urgent quest. Hearing this, Ojin feels like it's not the best time for a quest, considering that he doesn't have anything prepared in case the Dark Stars Society decides to retaliate. He believes that it would be best to stay put at least until Vega can regain her physical form. Sorting it out, Ojin refuses to do the quest. However, Han offers him a 2 billion reward. Well, it looks like the team leader hits his weak spots and Ojin seems so exhilarated that he almost sounds like a dog on the phone. Nonetheless, he informs Han that he will be heading to the association right away to discuss the details there. Arriving at the association, our guy seems to ask Han about something before they talk about the quest. At that moment, he shows a diagram of a stigma and asks if he has seen this before. Scanning it on his tablet, Han tells him that it's an owl stigmas. Curious, he asks the team leader if he knows something about them. And that's when Han reveals that they're one of the forgotten stigmas, which leaves Ojin quite surprised. It is then narrated that 8 years ago, when the constellations had appeared on Earth, there were definitive records of them having existed, but now, there are no traces of them. Hence, they are known as forgotten stigmas. Our guy questions if there are any records about why they vanished, and Han responds that there are no records as those times were not the best environment for anyone to be writing history. Giving it a thought, our boy reckons that the owl stigma has existed since 8 years ago, which means that the Dark Star Society could also be that old. Ojin surmises that they weren't an old organization, and prepares himself for what's coming as this is becoming a larger deal than he anticipated. After this, Han asks him where he found the stigma, and our guy lets out that he got into an argument with someone named Yoonjin back at the gate a few days ago. They called themselves the Dark Stars Society. Listening to this, the team leader plans to look into this matter of Owl Stigma and Dark Star Society. Just then, they switch their conversation to the quest, when the team leader informs him that this time the client is from the Valhalla Guild. While Ojin never heard of this quest before, Han further elucidates that they're currently on the rise, and it's a guild with the top elites, making every single one of their members talented. At least that's what people say. He reveals that their guildmaster is most powerful enough to be considered a candidate for the 7 stars. We then get to know that the 7 stars are those who transcended the human limit and possess the most influence in the world. Meanwhile, Ojin contemplates that one of the 7 stars is Korean. Assuming that they are going to have a second Korean 7 stars member, Han comes back to the point. He reveals that the quest is to find a missing person in a gate, and for that reason, they need a skilled awakened, while our guy realizes why the reward is 2 billion won. Getting into the details, the team leader informs him that the person went missing on the 6th November, and with no exact location where he was last seen, apparently it's most likely one of the 1 to 2 star gates in Incheon. Well, it turns out Incheon is Ojin's home ground where he has been scamming people for the past few years, and he plans to get this done within 3 days. However, an unexpected twist comes in when Han uncovers that the missing person is a male in his 20s with the name Lee Shin-yuk. While the team leader asks him if he can do this, our guy is thrown into a state of shock and panic as he is aware that this guy is already dead. Ojin is well aware of the fact that Lee Shin-yuk, whom he met at the low-level gate in the past, was the real regressor, and the only person who'd been looking for him when he's dead, thinking that he's missing and is likely the guildmaster of Valhalla, must be Lee Woo-yuk, Shin-yuk's younger brother. He grasps the situation, thinking that originally Lee Shin-yuk would be lying in a hospital bedroom. However, with Lee's death, the future has changed too. Nonetheless, he yanks out his thoughts when Han asks him if he will accept the job. Deep down, our guy is tangled up in situations as he feels dizzy thinking about Dark Star Society that is already a pain in the ass, and now he's about to get involved in the stuff about Lee Shin-yuk. While things seem to be getting messy for him, Ojin tries to use his brain, connecting Lee Shin-yuk and Lee Woo-yuk, a twisted future and fate, and the Dark Star Society. Suddenly, something clicks in his mind like a straight con man that he is, and he decides to use them together. Just after that, Ojin refuses to take this quest, which makes Han freak out, stating the Ojin he knows would never turn down a job worth 2 million. As our guy justifies that finding people is not his talent, the team leader tells him that the Valhalla Guild has a good relationship with their association, and he thought it'd be nice if Ojin formed a friendly relationship with them as well. Laughing it off, our guy hopes there will be other chances, and instead, he asks for Valhalla's guild number. With that, he begins his hunt. The next scene takes us to Mokdong's newly formed gate, where the crowd seems to be filling up, and we witness our boy Ojin waiting for someone to come out. Getting tired of waiting, he decides to leave the place and thinks of finishing this before Vega wakes up. Immersed in the crowd, Ojin spots a guy who seems to be observing him, and without wasting a second, our guy dashes away while that guy follows him. Following Ojin's direction, the guy seems to have lost him. However, he hears a voice saying that he was worried that they quit looking for him, but he's quite the persistent folk. It turns out that our guy lures in the man following him. Taking off his hat, the guy instantly strikes his stigma at Ojin. While our boy dodges the sudden attack, he notices that it's the power of the Strix's stigma. Now that he gets an idea of the stigma's power, Ojin says that it's time for the farewell, and with that, he uses the spear lighting power that incredibly moves in waves, and our guy eventually wins as he catches the guy. Well, it looks like our guy is roughly prepared for what is coming for him ahead. But he does not let his guard down, as this mere henchman of the Dark Art Society wasn't an easy opponent, leading him to think that the bailiffs must be even stronger. Thinking that it doesn't matter, Ojin takes out his phone and captures the picture of his spear. With an evil grin on his face, he calls someone who'd handle them for him. The scene then switches to Valhalla Guild, where Kim Seon-young receives a phone call, and the person on the call asks to speak with the guildmaster. However, as the girl is about to hang up the call, she is taken aback as the person on the phone claims to have found the guy Lee Shin-yuk. That's when Seon-young rushes to the guildmaster's office and informs him of the situation. The guildmaster Lee Woo-hyuk takes the phone and confirms that his brother has been found. Well, here comes a plot twist as the person on the phone call claiming to find Lee Shin-yuk turns out to be none other than our perfect scammer Ojin. He informs Lee Woo-hyuk that they're holding his brother while Lee gets mad, thinking what kind of nonsense is that? But to his surprise, Ojin sends him evidence which appears to be the picture of Shin-yuk's spear. While Woo-hyuk seems to believe that the guy really has found his brother, he asks who the hell he is. Thinking like an ultimate bamboozler, Ojin decides to unleash the Hound, a feral one, who'll rip his enemies' throats on his behalf. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, our guy introduces himself as Yujin, awakening the Hound that goes by the name Lee Woo-hyuk. We are then taken to Lee Woo-hyuk's past, where he narrates that when he was younger, his brother Shin-yuk was better than him at everything. Woo-hyuk for the most part was obsessed with his older brother and things that were difficult for him, Shin-yuk could do easily. At the time, he looked like a superhuman to him, but then things changed when the real superhumans appeared. It turns out that Woo-hyuk had become a disciple of Leo, and unlike him, who became a metahuman of Leo, one of the 12 constellations, Shin-yuk wasn't chosen by any constellation. With the sense of shame from being protected by someone he normally would be taking care of, Shin-hyuk grew sick from that weight. Meanwhile, Woo-hyuk was absorbed in his newly changed self. Just then, they realized that their relationship had distanced, and Woo-hyuk understood him since he too held an inferiority complex to him before he awakened. That's how their relationship slowly distanced and became awkward. Eventually, in that process, his older brother awakens too as he gets Pixis's stigma, and this makes Lee Woo-hyuk truly happy to think their relationship could go back to how it was before. After that, Woo-hyuk gifts his brother a spear that he worked to have manufactured using high-class myrrh crystals, and Shin-hyuk totally falls in love with the spear as it's green, which he likes, and promises his brother to use it well. Coming to the present scene, Woo-hyuk is flabbergasted when he analyzes the silver spear blade and green myrrh crystal adornment, which is the only one in the world, a spear made for his older brother. Hopping mad, Woo-hyuk shouts the phone and asks who this motherfucker is while Oh-jin fakes his identity, introducing himself as Yoo-jin, who was a member of the Dark Star Society. While Woo-hyuk asks him what he wants, our guy cuts to the chase and instructs him to prepare 3 billion won in cash and come to the observatory near the peak of Bagan Mountain, warning him to come by himself, or else he'll know the consequences if he brings someone else. It seems like Woo-hyuk doesn't take this well, driving him stark raving mad. He shouts vehemently as his stigma reverberates through the room like an earthquake. With a dead serious look in his eyes, Woo-hyuk instructs Seon-young to contact the association immediately and summon all the guild members who are out at the gates right now. In the next scene, our main character writes all the information about Yoo-jin and hands it to the team leader so that he can give them to Valhalla Guild. After that, Oh-jin presumes that Woo-hyuk was faster than he expected, guessing that he'd be contacted since missing people commissions are done through the association, but it didn't even take a day. In addition, the team leader Han Junmin, who heard the name Yoo-jin from him, called him immediately. Reckoning that Han must suspect why a kidnapper would reveal their name and what kind of backup they had to threaten a strong person like Lee Woo-hyuk, he seems to have had no choice but to move as he had the definite evidence of the spear. Just after that, Han calls it a crazy coincidence to think that the metahuman who started a fight with Oh-jin would be urgently sought after by the Valhalla Guild. With that, the team leader mentions that the guild has request for direct support, as they needed urgent help with constructing the siege force around the entirety of Bagan Mountain. While he assures that Oh-jin doesn't need to participate, our guy shockingly says that he'll participate. Well, it looks like things turned out exactly how Oh-jin wanted to, as now he'll be heading to the Bagan Mountain. With so much thrill, our guy waits for the moment when Lee Woo-hyuk and Yoo-jin meet, living to see that terrible moment. The next scene switches to the Dark Star Society branch, where we witness Yoo-jin torturing one of his henchmen. Bleeding, the henchman speaks up that he's found a clue and reveals that 3 days ago he searched the area that a member he lost contact with was investigating and backtracked the surrounding CCTVs. The guy came out of the building that only association members could enter and was confirmed to be headed toward Mokdong. Yoo-jin interrogates him about the guy, asking if was a member of the association, but the henchman doesn't seem so sure about it, because after that, he does a stakeout near the situation and checks whether he is commuting, but the guy doesn't appear. While Yoo-jin confirms that the guy was not a member of the association, he speculates about this guy who's not a member of the association, but he came out of the building that's only for association members, finding it suspicious. Getting an ominous feeling about who that guy is, his thoughts are interrupted by another henchman who informs Yoo-jin that someone who looks like a gatherer is approaching this area. Just then, Yoo-jin decides to deal with that guy himself and heads out of the observatory. At that moment, he witnesses Lee Shin-yuk's spear placed outside, but he doesn't seem to care and moves along. Encountering with the gatherer, Yoo-jin asks the guy if he's lost and warns him that it's dangerous out here. Meanwhile, the guy disguised as a farmer keenly looks at the cloaked guy. While Yoo-jin finds the guy suspicious, at that moment, someone informs the guildmaster about finding Lee Shin-yuk's spear. As all the things begin to unravel, a powerful force hits Yoo-jin as the farmer reveals himself. Recognizing his face, Yoo-jin is stunned as he witnesses Black Lion Lee Woo-hyuk standing in front of him. Well aware that he's the guildmaster of the Valhalla Guild whom people discuss to be the next 7 Stars member, Yoo-jin wonders what someone like him is doing here. Just then, Lee asks him if he wants money, saying that prepared it all in cash. At that moment, he draws out the sword and claims that if he wants money then try to take it. With that, Woo-hyuk soars with his sword charged with a powerful stigma and crosses over him. As Yoo-jin is surprised at what has just happened, he speculates that there are others too. And to his surprise, Lee calls out to everyone, announcing to charge, and in a flash, the siege force appears and attacks the observatory. Meanwhile, they are destroying their branch. Lee Woo-hyuk strides towards Yoo-jin and mutters that he must have thought he'd fallen into his trap. With a callous stare, Lee questions where his brother is, and poor Yoo-jin is left speechless, wondering why he's asking him that. On the contrary, Oh-jin seems to be near the area as he observes the flames erupting from there. The scene then switches to Lee, who strikes at Yoo-jin with his stigma powers, and the guy seems to be struggling as he can barely protect himself from the stigma. Just then, Yoo-jin realizes that Lee is stronger, and he's not someone he could ever win against. Despite the situation, Yoo-jin gets the hunch that something is strange as he ponders why Lee Woo-hyuk is here. Feeling utterly baffled about the money and his brother, the guy snaps out of it when he is smacked by Woo-hyuk and crashes on the ground. As Lee hits him, he sees it as a disappointment that the guy is so unskilled and is even thinking of killing him. As soon as Yoo-jin hears this, he becomes certain that he's being framed and someone is using the Black Lion. However, the realization hits him too late when Woo-hyuk slashes the sword on his chest, and the poor guy tries to explain that he didn't do anything. Saying that it's bullshit, the Black Lion seems to be out of his mind while Yoo-jin, bleeding his mouth, reckons that Woo-hyuk is convinced that he's the culprit. Thinking that he would die at this rate, the guy casts the black shower of blossoms. While Woo-hyuk knows that it won't work on him, he dashes towards him at full speed. Surrounded by his stigma, Yujin stabs himself with the sword, and suddenly, Lee halts as he witnesses Yujin disappear, thinking where he'd go. Luckily, Yujin teleports to another place and makes it out alive, somewhere inside the forest. Gravely injured, while his body seems to be a mess, he uses the previous holy relic and assumes that his subordinates are losing the fight too. Cursing, the guy is done with dealing one crisis to another as now their hiding spot has been exposed, and even his subordinates are dying. He thinks hard about the person who's behind this all and knows that he'll be killed by the Owl King if he goes back. With no way to escape, Yujin plans on contacting Ashad Khan to request him for help. However, he is overwhelmed with another surprise as he is found by none other than the real culprit, Kwon Ojin. Approaching him, Ojin says that he must have had quite a hard time, looking like a mess. Shocked to see him, Yujin asks what he's doing here, and that's when he comes to realize that it's all because of him. While our guy asks him if he just realized why he's here, he leaps toward him with the spear and tells him not to resist as he will end it quietly for him. Commanding that bastard settle down, Ojin strikes his powers at him, but Yujin, with the strength he's left with, uses his stigma to stop the attack. Seeing that he's still full of energy, our guy uses more of his stigma, given that it would be difficult for Yujin to move this fiercely. Just as the guy appears to be weak as he bleeds, Ojin takes the chance and attacks him with blue lighting power. Eventually, our guy kills Yujin and gets disappointed as he doesn't find many great harvests. He speculates that this guy had a ban on him because whenever he asked him about the important info on the Dark Star Society, he kept convulsing. Nonetheless, he retrieves little information about Yujin, who was a low-ranked administrative official, and he serves someone called Bailiff, also getting his hands on Ashad Khan's info, his administrative colleague. But Ojin decides that he won't be using this info right now, since he doesn't need to get involved with the Dark Star Society if they're not chasing him this time. At that moment, his scammer instincts kick in and ruminate that it isn't weird at all for the heavenly demon who causes this world ruin to appear in a suspicious organization like this. Giving birth to a new evil maneuver, he anticipates that this heinous organization that will give birth to the heavenly demon gives all the right to the Regressor to take an action against them, referring to himself. Thinking that his plan is a bit far-fetched, Ojin is aware of the fact they're a powerful society, but it truly exceeds his expectations. Even with this guy Yujin, if it hadn't been for Lee Woo-hyuk, he wouldn't have been able to face him alone. He concludes, presuming that if a low-ranked administrative official is at that level, the bailiff might be as strong as the Great Dipper. Later, while trying to find something, Ojin invades the dead guy's privacy and finds 2 fist-sized myrrh crystals, hitting the jackpot. Feeling over the moon, our guy gets a little bit too excited to find more of them that he even makes the dead guy naked. Disappointed, he doesn't find anything valuable but a stigma on his chest. Touching his stigma, the black heavens absorb Strix's stigma. On the other side, we are taken to a soul station that seems to be going down in flames. We witness Lee Shin-yuk asking his brother to go where Seo-young is while he will buy them some time. Clueless about what he's talking about, Shin-yuk seems to know that Woo-hyuk likes her and tells him to hurry. Just like that, Lee Shin-yuk dashes along with his spear and slashes the monster apart. However, confronts another giant monster and ponders upon the situation, assuming that if he knew ahead of time that such a disgusting thing was sealed under Seoul Station, he would definitely have been able to prevent this. The scene then switches up to Ojin, screaming out of pain, and it comes about that he was inside Lee Shin-yuk's memories that always leave him feeling like shit. Meanwhile, our guy successfully inherits part of metahuman Lee Shin-yuk's records, his abilities also level up, and acquires a new ability known as Eternal Convergence. Wondering what his new skill is about, Ojin gets to know that if he raises the proficiency of Lyra's stigma, his other stigmas will also improve. Well, he then decides to check out his new ability, and uses his new Strix's stigma for the first time, which already feels strong. Impressed, he finds the ability quite incredible, as even though he's not familiar with Strix's stigma as much as he is with Lyra's stigma, the proficiency of the stigma can be partially raised without any conditions. Just like that, he thinks of focusing on Lyra's stigma without needing to train others, and now that he's done with everything, he decides to end it. Feeling scared, Ojin does something that causes him pain and he blacks out. Moments later, Han finds him collapsed on the ground and cures him with the help of the potion. When our guy finally gains consciousness, the area is occupied by the people who search for more casualties, finding 10 injured people. Asking where he is, the team leader informs him that at the place where he fought with the culprit, adding that the ambulance is on the way. However, Ojin refuses to get treated and assures the team leader that he's fine. It turns out that our guy gives himself the injury, so it would seem like he suffered, pulling the ultimate scammer move. After that, Ojin approaches Lee Woo-hyuk and decides to end the act of this play. Lee Woo-hyuk interrogates Ojin and questions him if this bastard Yujin said something before he died. With all the plot figured out, our guy says that he said nothing in particular. However, he managed to confirm the direction he was escaping in, adding that it was as if he was hiding. He informs Lee that he will be able to find his brother if he moves in that direction. Taking him to the stage, Woo-hyuk witnesses the corpse of his brother Lee Shin-hyuk and bursts into tears. Meanwhile, Ojin watches him mourning his brother's death. He contemplates that the corpse isn't Lee Shin-hyuk, but one of the Dark Star Society bastards who was following him. Believing that he is totally unrelated to Lee's death, our guy convinces himself that Shin-hyuk actually pushed him into the horde of Anthorns and tried to escape alone, and the fact that he both died and regressed on his own. Even though he thinks of himself as the victim, our guy finds himself guilty. The next scene takes us to 1 week later, at the Valhalla Guild, where Ojin meets with the guildmaster at his request. While Woo-hyuk apologizes for being unable to properly greet him before, our guy witnesses his trembling hands from the trauma he'd been through, and thinks that there's no way he'd be able to resolve his emotions in 1 week. After that, the guildmaster lets out the reason for calling him here and expresses his gratitude, muttering if it wasn't for Ojin, he would have lost the enemy who killed his brother. Just then, Seon-young comes in with a briefcase which is loaded with cash, and that's when Woo-hyuk reveals that it's 3 billion won that the kidnappers requested, so he's giving it all to Ojin as a reward for catching Yujin. Trying to act calm, our guy expresses that it's a bit excessive for a reward, and Lee doesn't deny that, which leads Ojin to conclude that he has a different reason for rewarding this much. The guildmaster then confirms if Ojin is the disciple of Polaris, to which our boy agrees. Getting to the point, Woo-hyuk lets out that he heard that Ojin was attacked by the Dark Star Society a while ago, and confesses that the Valhalla Guild plans on finding the roots of the society and eradicating it. For that reason, he wants him, the disciple of Polaris, to help them with this. Upon hearing this, Ojin seems to hit the bullseye and thinks how lucky he is, as he was planning on dealing with the Dark Star Society eventually. And receiving the 3 billion won and the reliable help of Woo-hyuk, there's no reason for him to refuse and agree to assist in Lee's plan. Just then, Lee asks him if he knows something about the Dark Star Society, and while the timing is perfect, Ojin hands him the contact information of Ashad Khan, one of the society's managers. At the association, Han gets to know that Ojin will be investigating the Dark Star Society alongside the Valhalla Guild from now on. On that note, our guy seems to have something he wanted to ask Han, and shows him the details of the spear made of strengthened silver mixed with myrrh crystals and a wired fire function. Catching on, Han guesses that he's talking about spear gun and looks at the diagram of the spear. He mutters that the little kid will like this a lot. While our guy wonders who's the little kid, the team leader assures him that he will put this through to the equipment manufacturing team. As Han speaks about the price, our guy loses his shit as he knows that it will be fucking expensive, and there's no way it'd be cheap since it's made with whole silver strengthened by myrrh crystals and is an extraordinary piece of equipment that combines a spear and a wire shooter. However, Ojin is left speechless when Han assures him that the association will care of the price, saying that he contributed greatly to the cooperative operation with the Valhalla Guild. Listening to this, our guy is completely awestruck as he looks at Han with sparkly eyes and opens his arm for a big hug. But his affectionate hug is stopped by the team leader as he grabs his face and tells him to calm down for now. After that, Han asks him about another thing at the end, saying that it isn't something he'd use. But our guy informs him that he needs one and instructs him to find the best quality. As the team leader affirms that the association will cover the expenses of that as well, Ojin immediately refuses and clarifies that he will buy it with his own money. Later, Ojin gets back home and scares the life out of Song as he sneaks up on her, questioning if she is listening to songs. Freaked out, Song immediately hides her phone while our guy catches her off guard, knowing that it wasn't music. Meanwhile, Haeun is sure that he's thinking of something annoying. Our guy heads to wash up and teases her, saying that she's at the age and he's heard that there are a lot of things people enjoy through audio these days. As Ojin goes to wash up, the girl takes out her phone, and it turns out that she's listening to the Yongsun Auction's house list of relics to exhibit in December, and plans to participate to purchase Dragon Demon Eyes, without Ojin knowing about this. The next scene takes us to Ojin, who is working out while he contemplates the conversation with team leader Han, who informs him about the appraisal result of the relic he found back in the Mokdong Gate, revealing that it's a 3-star relic and has the effect of helping with mana recovery. Just then, Han asks him if he will be using this relic, but our guy refuses and tells him to sell it along with the myrrh crystals. Ojin presumes that he's lucky for the Dark Star Society, as he thought the relic would only be ranked around 1 or 2 stars. Calculating the amount after selling all the amount, Han lets out that Ojin will receive around 1.8 billion won. Being in 7th heaven, Our guy is happy as ever as he ponders that. Along with the money he got from Lee Woo-hyuk and combines the money he's earned over the last few years, he might be able to buy that thing. However, Ojin still seems to make 3 billion more and he can arrive in paradise. After that, our boy asks for one last favor from the leader, and that is a map of the sewers below the Seoul Station. Nonetheless, his moment of contemplation is interrupted when he hears a strange voice asking him where he decided to make the remaining money from, and it turns out that Vega is back. Ojin tells her that he's awaiting her and dramatizes what happened in the last 3 weeks, explaining it to Vega. After listening to the whole story, the goddess asks him if the owner of the Black Heavens is within the Dark Stars Society, to which Ojin asserts that it's just a guess. As he continues to make assumptions, our guy presumes if he talks like he knows too much, it might come back to him, so he decides to just be moderate. Worried, Vega thinks that he needs more time to get stronger, given that he's now linked with such ominous people, but he assures her, saying that he has a strategy to face them all. At that moment, Ojin curiously questions about who are the bastard constellations of the Dark Star, wondering what was the specific age when all the stars were swallowed by darkness. Hoping that the goddess would answer, to his disappointment, Vega informs him that she doesn't know about it either, as she doesn't know everything about the birth of stars just because she's a goddess. While Ojin is kinda shocked to know that Vega doesn't know about this, he realizes that he can only learn more about this from Dark Stars Society bastards. Anyways, the goddess requests him to see how much he's changed in the past 3 weeks, and our guy incredibly flaunts his power, using the spear lighting skill. After the classic demo, Ojin waits for Vega's remarks, who is bewildered as to how he already has gotten the basics of exceeding, even if he's a regressor. This puts Ojin in a tough spot as he thinks something is wrong while the goddess wonders how he is able to focus lighting in 3 different places. Meanwhile, our guy tries to justify that he practiced and it worked, saying that he suffered in the start. Thinking hard, Vega still finds it impossible as she recalls that Ojin's memories of the techniques of Lyra's stigma were blurry. But then, she comes to a conclusion, affirming that although his memories are blurry, it seems he's subconsciously remembering the techniques. While Vega sorts it out herself, our guy takes a sigh of relief, thinking that he did nothing wrong but low-key thanks the goddess for deluding herself like that. He then asks Vega if it's surprising as he doesn't really know himself, and the goddess gets mad at him for questioning her, clarifying that she hasn't created any disciples until now, just because her Lyra's stigma is one that humans cannot handle. As the goddess is scolding him, he gets a call from team leader Han. Arriving at the association, Han hands him the items he had requested. It occurs to be his new weapon, the silver spear, which is made way better than he expected. Meanwhile, Ojin gets reminded of Han telling about some kid who made these weapons. He plans to meet him later and compliment him. Looking at the spear gun in his hand, Vega assumes that if he uses the rope to tie up his enemies and electrocute them, it will be very threatening. But Ojin tells her that there's more to it and throws the wire which clings on the wall. Warning Vega to hold on tight, he glides in the air while the goddess screams her heart out. Taken aback, Vega thinks that he just came up with a new flying method as he can't fly yet. Roaming like a spider throughout the city, our guy seems to be enjoying himself and asks the goddess if he can fly using the Lyra's stigma. To his surprise, Vega reveals that he can fly using the Thunder Steps technique that he can't use yet, and Ojin is left speechless, thinking if would have done this bullshit only if he knew about this. Frightened to death, the goddess asks him if they are heading back home, but our guy refuses, and reckons that now that he has new equipment and Vega with him, there's no need to dawdle anymore, telling the goddess they're going to Seoul Station. The next scene takes us to the shop, where Ojin buys many items along with the potions which leaves him to pay 7 million for these items. Speaking under his breath, our guy calls them fucking thieves, but he changes his choice of words, saying that his items are great. With that, his skill-lame excuses level up and our guy starts haggling with the vendor, saying that he only has 6 million won. Pissed off, the vendor makes it 6.5, clarifying that she can't go lower than this. Eventually, they settle on 6.7 million won, and Ojin looks disappointed as he could have negotiated better than that, while Vega can't resist that he sure is determined when it comes to money. Justifying that he needs to save whenever he can, Vega feels bad as she can't be of any help when it comes to me. While Ojin assures her that she's plenty helpful enough, he low-key feels happy as he got a shocking amount of money after becoming Polaris's priest. Being done with the preparations, they decide to head down the sewers of Seoul Station. Moving inside the sewer, Vega asks him if he doesn't know the exact location, to which Ojin informs her that this entire place broke down last time because the seal was undone. Either way, he seems to be certain that it's somewhere here. Curious, the goddess questions if he can really defeat the monster, and our guy affirms that the monster is sealed right now, which leads Vega to conclude that he's planning to eliminate the monster before it wakes up, just expected of a regressor. Well, It looks like Ojin plans to kill the unsealed monster because he knows that he will definitely end up dead if he fights that monster right now. But if it's sealed, it's nothing more than an oversized sandbag. While his feet are soaked in sewer water, our guy regrets not bringing boots if he'd known he would get lost and doesn't even have the courage to use Cain's Venatices stigma amid all this stench. Suddenly Vega feels something ominous on the other side of the sewer, and Ojin tells her that it's supposed to be a dead end according to the map. He then asks the goddess if it's the same energy as before in the cave, and Vega describes that it's definitely similar, saying that it's more like a nail stabbing her. Hearing this, Ojin ponders that might be related to the Dark Star's power again, and maybe that has something to do with the fact that mutant mer crystals are being found so often lately. Just then, they decide to check it out, and as soon as our guy flashes the torch in that direction, he witnesses something horrendous. He confronts two reptile-like monsters, and wonders if they are mutants as their skin color is different. Without wasting time, he gets into action and thinks that it's a great time to warm up, using the spear lightning with his new silver spear. Meanwhile, the mutant forms a resistant layer to avoid damage. However, our guy realizes that it won't work because this spear can be completely electrified unlike Lee Shin-yuk's spear, and with that, he electrocutes the mutants. After dealing with the two mutants, several of them begin to appear from that dead end, and Ojin braces himself to fight them. Using the spear gun, he soars over them and thinks that even if these mutants have some intelligence, they're no match for him. Just like that, he jaw-droppingly wipes them out using spear lightning. Suddenly, Ojin gets attacked as something throws two mutant monsters at him. However, he manages to dodge with his spear gun. The giant monster appears to be a reptilian champion. At that moment, all the mutants leap towards him while our guy recovers the wire as it won't help him much. While he deals with the mutant and electrocutes them using the spear, he charges the spear with immense power and stabs it directly at the reptilian champion, effortlessly killing it. After annihilating all the mutants, Ojin gets to his favorite work, picking up the loot. To his anticipation, he finds a small black mer crystal and feels like he's more used to these ones because of how often he has been coming across abnormal mer crystals. The goddess then asks him if he knows something about these ominous crystals, but our guy doesn't seem to know much about them, saying that he never knew this kind existed in his first life. However, Ojin speculates that there's certainly a correlation between the mutants and the Dark Star, thinking that it's impossible for mutant monsters to just coincidentally appear in such large numbers in the gate where the relic that possessed the Dark Star's power is. Nonetheless, our boy decides to move forward even though he doesn't have a good feeling about this. Thinking that the mutant mer crystals are more expensive and could get him more money, he seems very desperate when it comes to money. Just like that, they move along and see the end of the path. Entering that path, they are surprised to see such a spacious space, and that's when Ojin witnesses the monster from Lee Shin-yuk's memories. Peeking at the giant sealed monster, our guy affirms to Vega that it's the very monster that destroyed Seoul Station in his life. Ojin reckons that the monster is intimidating, but it's small. It's only half of the size of what he saw in Shin-yuk's memories. Assuming that its mer crystal will be much smaller too, the guy tries attacking it but there's no reaction, just as he expected. Realizing that the idiot monster can't even move, Ojin thinks that it will be a piece of cake. Getting cocky, he uses his spear gun and glides towards the monster with his spear. Thanking Lee Shin-yuk, our guy feels on cloud 9 as he gets to use the stupid monster as a stress-relieving punching bag while getting money for it. However, his happiness is ruined when he witnesses the monster moving. Ojin tries to deny the fact and thinks there might be a mistake, so he closes his eyes for a second. When he opens his eyes at the next moment, the monster roars at him with its mouth open wide. Nearly shitting his pants, Ojin wonders why this piece of shit is moving, and just hearing it scream gives him the chills. Standing stiff, he tries to figure out how to defeat the monster and blames Lee Shin-yuk, who said he could have stopped him if he knew beforehand, thinking that the bastard was just bluffing. It's like saying if he could turn back time, he'd ace the exams. Just then, Vega gives an annoying look and asks the regressor what is happening. Ojin, appearing calm on the outside, tells the goddess that he expected this to happen and asks her to wait so that he can get it over with quickly. However, our guy is on the verge of a breakdown, screaming inside as he never saw this coming, and Loki begs Vega to save him, witnessing his death ahead. Meanwhile, Ojin braces himself for the attack. In the blink of an eye, the monster strikes at him, but thanks to his spear gun, our guy saves himself from being smashed. Ojin realizes that it's unbelievably fast and keeps flying above the monster until he finds the spot to jump on it. Jumping onto the slimy monster, there's one thing Ojin seems to be aiming for as he charges his spear with thunderbolt power and strikes it exactly where the black mer crystal is located. As Ojin successfully stabs the spear, unexpectedly, the monster grabs him, leaving our guy in utter shock as he is a dead meat now. Things take an unexpected turn when Ojin is locked in a grapple by the monster. While our guy struggles to move, he somehow pulls out his gun and shoots that piece of shit. Taking the shot, the monster goes berserk and abruptly loses hold of Ojin, making him crash to the ground. With not enough firepower, our guy witnesses the monster running wild after being hit by spear lightning and surmises that he has no way of taking down that giant monster, adding that he needs a single blow that's stronger than spear lightning. Well, it looks like our guy has something in mind as he shoots the spear gun at the moment, and it successfully gets stuck. As soon as the monster moves, our guy is pulled with a great force and thinks of using this power in reverse. With the nape of its neck exposed, Ojin takes the perfect chance and plans to strike an all-powerful blow. Along with pumping magic power, he needs to hold it, stretch the mana, and end this all in one blow. He then leaps towards with his spear charged with immense lightning power and pierces through the monster. Striking the monster with one powerful blow, Ojin wonders if it worked. However, the monster gets wild again as it begins to quiver like crazy, and with the spear still stabbed in, our guy gets whirled up like crazy, screaming to stop this bullshit. Eventually, the station monster makes its way outside the sewer, and the people run for their lives. During all the chaos, a kid trips and falls to the ground, and just as the monster is about to crush the little boy, Ojin enters the scene and saves the boy, instructing him to get out of here quickly. Thinking that he needs to protect the people at all costs, but it turns out that he is being kind just because Vega's watching, as usually he doesn't give a damn about innocent people dying or not. Well, just when we thought our main character was kind. Making an impression, our boy realizes that Vega thinks of him as a hero who will change the world's destiny, so he needs to act like he cares for the victim. After that, the goddess asks him if he needs her blessings, but Ojin refuses. Peeking at the monster, our guy is certain that his attack worked. Now all he needs to do is hit it until it's completely destroyed. Even so, there's no doubt that Ojin's weaker, so it wouldn't be strange if he begged for Vega's blessing right now. But he decides not to. Feeling pumped up, he finds the situation exhilarating after the thrill he felt when the depth charge worked. He reckons that the temporary boost in power he receives through blessing disappears with time like a mirage. In fact, all the thrill and ecstasy he's feeling right now might scatter away like grains in sand. Adamant to not let this happen, Ojin plans to give a little more pain to the monster. While he starts dodging attacks, Ojin starts to see the monster's movements now, and on top of that, he can feel his magic rising rather than decreasing like back then. Thinking that it's his turn now, our guy leaps towards with his spear, loaded with lighting power, and cuts off one of its limbs. Saying that it's the start, Ojin goes crazy and uses depth charge on repeat as the lighting moves in different directions at once. As the monster seems to weaken and slow down, Ojin pulls out multiple wires using his spear gun, sticking it into rocks. Bearing the weight of rocks through the wires, his magic seems to go beyond his limit, and he plans to use it one more time, charging all the depth charge attacks at the monster. Eventually, the monster is defeated, and Vega comes looking for his child, asking if he's okay. Appearing to be just fine, our guy puts on a big smile and assures her everything's okay, but the poor guy wasn't completely okay. Meanwhile, the goddess seems annoyed as Ojin promised that he'd be done in no time, but it took him so long, telling him how worried she was. Our boy smiles and lets out that he won anyway, wondering how the goddess has gotten so cute. Enough of this bullshit. As Ojin is about to think about some important things, the crowd goes wild as the people start taking pictures of him. Thinking that it'd be hard to hide his identity now, our main character is approached by a reporter who asks him which guild he belongs to. Trying to be as nice as possible, Ojin reveals that he's a member of the association while pondering that he gotta have a good image now that he's going all through this. While the people are obsessing over the awakened Quan Ojin, our guy decides to give a little sparkle of humility and tells them that he only did what he was supposed to. Suddenly, his interview is interrupted by Goddess Vega, who crashes out of nowhere and tells the people that Ojin is their hero and savior, calling him her child. As Ojin gives her a bombastic side-eye, the goddess asks them if their gratitude is simple lip service, instructing everybody to bring money for her child. Our guy who's embarrassed as hell while Vega continues to collect the money from the people, saying that she prepared all the money for him, and this makes our poor guy go fucking crazy. The next scene takes us to the association, where Han informs Ojin that the internet is filled with buzz about him, revealing that they have heard from 16 guilds, and around those 8 guilds have sent donations to the association. While our boy is astonished to hear this happened all in one day, the team leader further tells him that the news about him being Polaris's apostle has spread all over. He apologizes to Ojin as they tried their best to keep it a secret, and our guy seems to be chill about it, assuring him that it's okay. Ojin reckons that this incident was merely a makeshift measure to buy time anyway until he could gain enough power, thinking now's the time to cash in on his title as Polaris's apostle. After that, Han tells him that he saw in the article that Ojin asked for money from the people he rescued, while our guy is mortified to even listen to this. Cringing with embarrassment, he presumes that those people must be cursing him for being a ripoff all thanks to Vega, and this is why he didn't look up the news himself. However, it appears that the team leader finds it truly divine that he asked for money from people while Ojin wonders what kind of bullshit this is. Calling him a tsundere, Han lets out that he has become popular in that direction and shows him the newspaper, uttering that what he said while rescuing the child became a hot topic. Han continues to repeat the words he said to the child, saying that he's not exactly doing this to rescue him while saving him, and even giving his coat to the child who had fallen. Hearing this bullshit, our guy recalls that he didn't even say anything like that, and the fact that he was even wearing a coat. The news even says that he turned around and told the child to hurry and run away in a small voice. This makes Ojin pissed and thinks it's not a new but a damn novel. It looks like Han seems to be enjoying this, saying that these lines he said are proving that he meant to say that he's only saving for the sake of money. Well, finally the time has come that Ojin got scammed, and being the victim himself is kind of flustering, given that he was always the one scamming others. Just then, the team leader finally says something worthwhile and confesses that this incident recently caused a stir in paradise as well. As Han reveals this, Ojin hears the word paradise, and it occurs that it's his real reason to come here. Taking care of something first, he shows Han the mer crystals he got from killing the giant and the reptilians, asking him how much they will be worth. Analyzing the crystals, the team leader reveals that the value of mer crystals from mutated species has fallen recently. He continues to elucidate that there has been an increase in mutants, making the amount of mer crystals increase, adding that apparently the number of mutants has increased by tenfold. This makes Ojin wonder if this is also related to the Dark Stars constellation. Nonetheless, looking at the two big crystals that are high in quality, Han assures him that he'll fetch at least 400 million for this. Recalling that these two mer crystals were from the giant and the slime giant, Ojin adamantly informs him that he needs to sell them as soon as possible. But the team leader lets out that it will be hard to sell this quickly, as mer crystals from mutants are especially hard to sell because their value fluctuates so much. That's when our guy suggests he pay him 300 million up front and take the rest. Listening to this, Han is left shocked as our fella had agreed to give 100 million. It's kinda hard to believe as Ojin isn't generous, rather, he's a guy who's obsessed with money. Just then, the team leader agrees and lets out that he'll send 300 million. As Ojin is about to leave, Han stops him and says there's something he needs to give him, an item he mentioned last time. Assuring that he prepared the best kind available, Han hands him the item that is inside the box, and along with that, he gives a certificate for the association's special commissions. Utterly surprised to receive the certification, our guy is astonished because from what he knows, these are for the association's special agents, and even get investigation rights. Staring at the card with his eyes wide open, Ojin is taken aback as it hasn't been long since he began working for the association, and Han expresses that the card means that the executives value him that much. Nonetheless, our guy leaves the association and reckons that he already has 700 million won, along with the 300 million won he'll receive soon, anticipating that he needs just one more step to get to paradise. The next scene takes us to Song Hyun, who's been listening to the news about Ojin, the association-affiliated Awakened, getting a lot of praise and attention after the Seoul Station incident, getting the new hero nickname, Lighting Wolf. The next news changes to the list of items being auctioned at the Yongsan auction, which have the 6-star relic Dragon Demon Eyes, will be only displayed. As Song is busy thinking about the Dragon Demon's eyes, suddenly, she is interrupted by Goddess Vega asking if she's finally awake. Song freaks out as she thought Vega left with Ojin, but it seems like the guy left his necklace behind. Curious, Song tells the goddess that she keeps breaking rules by being on Earth for this long, but Vega assures her that a few hours a day is fine. After that, Vega seems to have something to ask her and shows her worry about her child Ojin being obsessed with money, asking her the reason. That's when Haeun reveals that it's because he wants to go to paradise. It is revealed to us that paradise, with the official name Ganghwa Island Special Controlled Region, where there are no gates and no monsters, is the only place that still looks like Korea before all the chaos. She further lets out that Ojin is saving up to buy a residence permit there, and the price for that is 1 billion won. Song tells her that if they get in there, they will be happy afterward. Curious, the goddess asks if there's such a place, and Haeun elucidates that it's managed by the only Korean member of the Great Dipper, Ursa Major, Cheon Sangul, and his guild, Heaven's Favor. While it seems like the safest place on Earth, Vega gets to know that he's actually saving money for that. Just then, Haeun tells her about Ojin's dream since he was a kid. His dream was to live in a place where he wouldn't be hurt, starve, or be cold. While it looks like a pretty simple dream, to them that happiness felt like miles away. She reminisces on the time when they were young and used to get beaten up by the orphanage's director every day, but Ojin took the brunt of the beating most of the time as the director's main target used to be Song Hyun. One day while Haeun is getting beaten up, Ojin rushes to the director and creates chaos, saying that there's a fire in the kitchen. But it turns out that it was a lie, and after that, the director was embarrassed and both of them were beaten up like hell. After listening to the story, Vega feels bad about Ojin, and Song concludes that the only thing he ever wanted since he was a kid was a life where he doesn't need to lie. Song is certain that our guy will go to paradise, but deep down she thinks that he'll be separated from her. At that moment, Vega questions her if she's not going to go to paradise along with Ojin and assumes that it's because of the money. That's when Haeun reveals that it's not about the money. She wouldn't be able to pass the test even if she had money. Well, we get to know that in order to get into paradise, they need to pass a test as well as go through various checks. Being certain, the girl knows that a cripple like her won't be allowed to enter paradise. The goddess seems worried about her and asks what will happen to her after Ojin leaves, to which Song affirms that she will figure things out on her own, adding that she was a 7-star awakened just 5 years ago, so she'll make it through life somehow. Looking at her amputated leg, Vega questions what exactly happened to her, and that's when she opens up about her tragedy. It is revealed that it was 5 or 6 years ago when Song Haeun was fighting the 1,000-cursed dragon Barbato, a 9-star monster, when she ended up like this. To be more exact, she was cursed, and thanks to that even her mana was sealed. It turns out that Song made a promise with Ojin 5 years ago, which was more like a one-sided demand. In her flashback, she asks Ojin if he's going to buy the rights to live in paradise, and pleads with him to live with her until then. She convinces him to stay by speaking of her favors, saying that he's indebted to her for the last 3 years as she saved him and looked after him. She clarifies that once he has the money, he can go wherever he wants, and that's how Ojin agrees to it. Admitting that she was a real bitch, Song is astonished and wonders how the guy who's not even awakened earns $1 billion. In reality, it was just an excuse as Haeun didn't want to be left alone, so she trapped him with her. She mutters that she didn't expect Ojin to become an awakened Polaris disciple at that, and now that's famous and all over the news. She gets certain that it won't take him long to earn $1 billion. Laughing it off, the girl thinks that she's being punished and pulls out of the box, putting on her robotic leg. She then asks Vega to take care of Ojin and heads out of the house for some work. Walking with her robotic leg and a stick, Song tries to convince herself that it's a piece of cake, and it's a good thing an awakened person gets better senses. But the poor girl manages to pull through as she bumps her head into a tree branch. Later, she arrives at the bank and requests to terminate all her accounts. Asking how much she has in her account, the clerk, considering all of the interest from the past 5 years, informs that she has 3 million won. Disappointed, Song seems to know that she had that much money, but still it's way too little to buy dragon demon eyes. It is then revealed to us that when a gate first appeared 8 years ago, Haeun fought for her survival and not money. Then, 2 years ago after the first gate, when she sold myrrh crystals for a proper amount of money, most of the money she earned went to her medical bills after she fought the dragon and got cursed. Snapping out of it, the girl reckons that the only thread of hope she had was the 3 million won she worked so hard for, but even that thread of hope is gone. Just then, she senses the bastard Ojin, who still goes around eating calorie bars, and a smile lights up her face as our guy approaches her and scolds her for going without saying a word. While our guy looks pretty serious, Song bursts into laughter, asking if he was looking for her. As Ojin is about to scold her even more, the girl happily mutters that he came at the perfect time and tells him that they gotta go somewhere. Well, it looks like Song takes Ojin shopping and buys him some outfits while our boy freaks out and makes a fuss about buying clothes at a department store, as it will be super expensive. But Song pretends that she can't hear him while Ojin asks her what has gotten into her. Blushing, the girl confesses that it's a date. After shopping, our guy asks her what's gotten into her, and Song asserts that she feels bad that he's always going around looking homeless while eating calorie bars. While Ojin jokes around saying how she even knows that he's depressed as she can't even see, Haeun opens up that she canceled her savings account and got a bunch of interest for it, so she's just treating him. Worried, our guy asks her why she is really doing this, and Song, looking gloomy, responds that Ojin has been through a lot because of her, and asks him to do as she says for today. Laughing it off, our guy warns her not to regret it later on. Just then, Song decides to treat him with Korean beef since she has a lot of money, and our guy jumps in excitement, drooling at the thought of beef. Just as they arrive at the beef restaurant, Song is also super excited to try it, but then she asks Ojin about the place next door, and he tells her that it's a crab place. Suddenly the girl changes her mind and lets out that she's not in the mood for a barbecue today and feels like having crabs. Well, it looks like she wants to treat Ojin with something more expensive, as our guy seems to know that she hates all kinds of seafood. Eating at the crab place, Haeun complains about crabs being so hard to eat, and Ojin taunts her, saying that she can just ask him. After that, our guy takes the flesh out of the crabs for her and feeds her himself. While it really looks like a date, Ojin ponders that she seemed a bit depressed earlier, but he's glad that she's lightened up. After eating, Ojin heads out to buy coffee and encounters some girl fans, obsessing over the lighting wolf. Complimenting that he looks better in real life, the girls ask for a picture together, but Ojin isn't much pleased to see them and thinks of getting rid of them. With his deadpan face with not even a flicker of a smile, our guy straight up refuses, saying that he feels really uncomfortable seeing them act this way when he doesn't even know them, asking them to stop annoying him and screw off. Assuming that the girls would cry any minute now, to his surprise, the girls are thrilled to hear such nice words from him and ask him to sign it on her shirt. Flabbergasted, Ojin wonders if she's out of her mind and decides to sign her shirt as it won't cost him any money. At that moment, Song Haeun storms out of the shop and angrily asks the girls what's the matter, calling them bitches. As the fans ask who she is, Song calls them fucking shitheads and confesses that she's Ojin's girlfriend, wrapping her hands around his face. Coming back stronger, Haeun really scares the shit out of those fans as they dash away, calling her weird. Smirking, Song comes to his rescue and asks Ojin what he would do if it wasn't for her, and advises him not to talk to strangers just because they like you. But our guy clarifies that he's not interested in dating anyway, and Song seems kinda disappointed, asking him why. Well, it turns out that our guy isn't interested because it takes money that he cherishes so much. Just then, Song suggests going to karaoke as other people won't bother them there. At the karaoke, Ojin warmly smiles at her as she sings. Later, after the karaoke, it appears to be dark and decides to head home. Walking under the beam of streetlights, Song tightly grabs Ojin's hand and asks him how much he has saved up. While our boy reveals that he has it all, the girl freaks out and confirms if he has the entire 10 billion, guessing that he won't be with her for much longer. Looking downhearted, she asks if he's really going to go to paradise, and Ojin tells her that he's been saving up for this entire time. Suddenly, Song breaks down into tears and Loki wants him to stay. Hiding her tears, she puts a smile on her face and tells Ojin not to forget about her. That's when our guy stops and asks why he would forget about her. The next day, Song heads out of the house, saying that she needs to stop by the bank. On the contrary, the Yongsang auction has more attention than usual. It is revealed to us that the Dragon Demon Eyes is an extremely rare holy relic that is a type of monster above 6 star drops, and it possesses the power to undo curses. While it turns out that Haeun is going for the auction, she is certain that the Dragon Demon's Eyes can undo her dragon curse. She loses hope, thinking that she can't buy that with only 3 million won. However, she takes the leap of faith and anticipates that there aren't many competitors. There have been times when 6-star relics have been sold cheaper than normal, which leads Song to think that curses aren't so common these days, and maybe there isn't anyone who needs those items. Convincing herself, she decides to take the chance as she has nothing to lose, and ponders that if she undo the curse, she might be able to go to paradise with Ojin. Determined, the girl thinks of surviving this and leaves the rest on her luck, believing that miracles do happen. The next scene takes us to the Yongsang auction, where the guy helps Song fill out the form to participate in the auction. Just then, the admitting entrance begins. Meanwhile, Haeun struggles to find a seat and asks a guy for help. Looking at the blind girl, the people start gossiping about Song, wondering if doesn't have anyone with her, blabbering who would want to support a cripple these days. Hearing such bullshit, Song nearly loses her cool, but she calms down for the sake of getting the Dragon Demon's Eyes. After that, the December Yongsang auction begins, and the first item is the ash-tinted incense burner, called the best of the 4-star holy relics, with an auction price of 10 million, and to buy immediately, it will cost 1 billion. Shortly, the people start auctioning, and eventually the relic is sold at the price of 670 million. Witnessing this, Song begins to panic as she presumes that the price of the 4-star relic is double the amount she has. Shaking it off, she believes that the burner was a popular item, but a Dragon Demon Eye isn't as versatile, certain that fewer people will want it. In the meantime, many other items are auctioned, and moments later, the most awaited items are presented: a holy relic that has the ability to undo any curse, a 6-star holy relic, the Dragon Demon Eyes. While the guy explains that the Dragon Eye will seep into the one who uses it and will permanently have the ability to undo curses, Haeun freaks out as she looks at the item and assures herself that no one's cheering for the item, assuming the competition won't be so bad. Nervous, she thinks that she might be able to buy it if no one needs to undo their curse. With that, the auction for the eyes begins with a price starting from 100 million and 100 billion for immediate purchase. That's when Song raises her hand and auctions it for 100 million. However, this doesn't seem to go well as the people start making fun of her, thinking that she just called the starting price. Calling her a newbie, the people mock her, saying that she might be broke and thought it was her chance to go rich. As the guy asks if someone wants to go higher, Song pleads no one else raises the price higher. But her hope is shattered when people raise the price to billions, and Haeun realizes that she never stood a chance. At that moment, she breaks down as tears stream down her face, pondering why life is so unfair. First abandoned by parents she didn't even know and lived a shitty life. Remembering her traumatizing moments, She wishes for a miracle to happen just for once, as she just wants to be with Ojin, questioning if it is too much to ask. Just then, a guy sitting beside her asks Haeun if she's here for the dragon demon's eyes. The guy introduces himself as Choi Jongchul from Starlight Guild and offers her to lend at least 6 billion for the dragon eye. Putting his hand on her lap, he wants to stay friends with her for more than 5 years. As Song could certainly smell his ill intentions and knew exactly what he meant, she felt utterly disgusted. While she is shocked to her core, the guy waits for her answer. Even though she is displeased with the thought, Song tries to think as if she can buy the eyes with that 6 billion he's offering. Desperate and helpless with the situation, she is about to agree. In the meantime, someone enters the auction. The guy turns out to be our Ojin, who is stopped by the guards, but then he pulls out his association card, showing that he's a special commissioner. That's when the people divert their attention towards Ojin and recognize that he's the same guy from the Seoul Station incident. Unexpectedly, Haeun hears the sounds of his footsteps, knowing who he is. On the other hand, Ojin walks towards the stage with 2 big briefcases and auctions of 10 billion for the item. Making an iconic entry, he kicks the briefcases and the money floats in the air, offering all the 10 billion in cash. After tossing the 10 billion won, Ojin wins the auction at the immediate purchasing price and immediately takes the demon's eye. Flabbergasted, Song is left in disbelief as she wonders what he's doing here. And at that moment, our guy approaches her and witnesses that bastard Choi Jongchul's hand on Song's lap. While the guy makes a fuss about Ojin barging into the auction, our guy, giving him a death glare, commands him to remove his hand. Fighting mad, Choi comes at him and asks who's he to order him around, and Ojin tells him that he's a special commission. Taking him as an association dog who dares to challenge the Starlight Guild, Choi halts for a second and ruminates if there is someone like him a special commissioner. He gets reminded that he saw Ojin in an article, and at that moment, he knew he fucked up. Panicked, Choi gets humbled real quick and politely asks him if he's the Lightning Wolf, the disciple of Polaris. Our guy lets out that people seem to call him by that title and confirms with the guy if he was from the Starlight Guild. That's when fear gushes through Choi, as he calls it a misunderstanding, and Ojin places his hand on his shoulder, threatening him to clear it out with the guildmaster. Frightened to death, Choi kneels to the ground and begs him not to say anything to his guildmaster, justifying that he didn't know that Ojin was with the girl. Our guy decides to spare him, and while the bastard thanks him, saying that he'll do whatever he wants, Ojin tells him to fuck off and never let himself be seen by him again. After the guy escapes his death, our guy holds Song's hand and leaves while the crowd bombards him with questions. Later, they arrive at an open place and Song immediately questions about his paradise residence eyes and why would he buy the dragon eyes. Without saying a word, Ojin holds her face and takes out the dragon demon's eyes. Affirming that it'll be over soon, he seeps the dragon's eye into Haeun's eye. And while she's in pain, our boy comforts her with a hug. After a while, Song's vision gets a bit clearer, and the first thing she looks at is the view of her paradise, Ojin. She then gazes at the sky full of stars and starts sobbing. Just then, Ojin gives her another thing and changes something in her robotic foot. While he asks her if it's better than what she was using before, Song breaks down into tears of joy and asks why he bought something so pointless, saying that it was precious money he worked hard for. The girl reminds Ojin of his dream about how he was going to buy the rights to live in paradise and wanted a comfortable life, saying that he only promised to live with her until he had enough money. As their eyes meet, Haeun gets a flashback of their childhood in the orphanage where Ojin shouts that there's a fire and she tells him to get away from the fire. But our guy smiles at her and says that it was a lie. It seems like she was getting a deja vu as Ojin again smiles brightly and tells her that it was a lie. Thrilled to use her stigma now, Song seems as happy as ever as she starts a fire in a pan while our guy freaks out and is done with her, immediately telling her to turn off the heat. It turns out that Song burns all the food as she uses her stigma since the stove fire is a bit weak and Ojin is fed up. Presuming that she has just started her physical therapy, there's no way she can properly control her stigma already. Worried, he asks if she's okay, and Haeun lets out that it's a bit bright since her right eye can see a lot better. Hearing this, Ojin gets a bit concerned and hopes that it's not a side effect of the dragon eye. Just then, Vega comes in and assures them that it's nothing to worry about, saying that it's more of a blessing rather than a side effect. Asking what it means, the goddess explains that in the process of purifying the curse, her stigma and the dragon's power interacted, resulting in that. Haeun is not used to controlling the dragon eye yet since the curse was purified only recently, but once her stigma is back to its original state, she'll use the dragon eye power properly. Getting to know all this, Haeun ponders Draco's stigma isn't one of the 12 astrological signs, but it's still powerful enough to not fall behind them, and even she wouldn't have known how strong Draco's stigma was if it weren't for Vega. Yanking out of her thoughts, Song is determined to focus on her physical therapy for now, as she needs to recover as fast as possible so she can support Ojin. saying that she hates being indebted to people. But our guy doesn't seem happy about this, and Song will be cooking food from now on. Nonetheless, Ojin is glad that he bought the dragon eye for her and that it didn't have any side effects. Shortly, he gets lost in thought and tries to remember why he wasn't able to save her before his regression. He wonders if this was the reason he ended the world, but he doesn't seem to remember anything, as the real regressor was Lee Shin-yuk. He can hardly believe that he's the one who ended the world, questioning how he would know the reason. Just then, his moment of contemplation is interrupted by Vega, who asks him about his goals after Howin's curse has been undone. With few ideas in mind, he asks for the goddess's help, and she agrees to help him with whatever he needs as long as it's within her capabilities. Moments later, he calls the team leader Han, and informs that he won't be contactable for a while, revealing that he intends to focus on training himself for about 3 months. But Han isn't quite pleased to hear this, and lets out that there are hundreds of clients wanting to see Ojin. Hearing this, an internal monologue plays in his head, asserting that he's disappearing to exactly avoid that, and it's obvious that everyone's just thinking of ways to work him like a dog. He becomes adamant about becoming stronger so that he can defend himself from people who are going to try and use him. After that, Han tells him that it will be wise to take care of himself for now, and questions where he plans on training, as it'll be hard to avoid attention wherever he goes. Well, it turns out that our genius fella finds himself the perfect hidden spot for training, the Sanctum, where Goddess Vega resides. Vega begins the training and asks which skill he would like to learn first. Meanwhile, Ojin thinks that teaching verbally won't help him, so he requests Vega to spar with him. But the goddess instantly refuses, saying that it's not possible, and clarifying that he might end up dead because of their difference in power. Ojin asks her if she can't control her strength, to which Vega affirms that even at her weakest, it'll be risky. Getting a reality check, Ojin ponders that he got cocky and forgot how strong she is because his relationship with her has been so casual. Thinking about it, the goddess finds a way to spar with Ojin, revealing that she can't spar with him herself but her spirit can, which is kind of a summoned being that possesses a part of her soul. At that moment, she summons her servant Liurk and a wolf appears, bowing to Lady Vega. Clearing his throat, Ojin seems to be in love with Liurk, saying that it's been so long. Meanwhile, the wolf is confused with this weirdo. The goddess assures Liurk that he's a regressor from the future. While Liurk is surprised to see that he's the unheavenly star, Vega tells him that he will see once enough time passes. She informs the wolf that she has summoned him to spar with Ojin, and while Liurk Loki thinks that how unqualified this is, he agrees to do it as it's Lady Vega's order. As the wolf Liurk prepares himself for the fight, our boy seems to know that he can't win against him but at least endure an attack or two. That's when Liurk, at a light speed, strikes a punch at Ojin, crashing him hard on the ground. While our poor guy can't process what just happened, Liurk approaches him for another attack, asking if that is all he can muster up. The next scene takes us to 2 months later, where Ojin continues with his training with Liurk, and we witness our guy running away from the wolf with a spear gun as he chases him. As Liurk catches up to Ojin in no time, the boy says that it's time out, but the wolf clarifies that there's no such thing in a battle and smacks Ojin, smashing him on the ground. Lying down, while his entire body hurts, he presumes that he doesn't even last a minute every time, wondering if he's even getting better. Even though his powers, Spear Lighting and Thunderbolt, do level up 1 by 1 each, but that didn't seem not enough. In the meantime, Liurk tells him to fight once again, but Ojin stops him, asking if they can fight like in a real battle, as sparring and real fights are different, so he wants to make it as close to a real fight as possible. Listening to this, Liurk states that it's possible if Lady Vega uses her divine sanctuary where she can manipulate the laws of physics to her will, even if Ojin were to die, she can revive him right away. Taking this matter to the goddess, she strongly refuses to use her divine sanctuary, justifying that she can revive Ojin from death using her power, but she cannot eliminate the pain and shock that come with death, and concludes that he might not be able to handle it. A strike of fear and doubt runs through Ojin as he couldn't imagine what death would feel like, but he decides to take the risk and pleads with the goddess to use it. Concerned, Vega confirms that he won't regret his decision, saying that she wouldn't even have brought this up if she was going to. Just then, she warns Ojin to be careful and uses the divine sanctuary. Meanwhile, the goddess opens the divine sanctuary. Liurk seems to have concerns about Ojin as he determines that he has watched this human for 2 months, but he's way too weak to be the unheavenly star. Clenching his fist, the wolf wonders if this guy will protect Lady Vega from fate, finding it impossible, and wishes to see him fall pathetically in the face of death. Just like that, Liurk kind of warns our guy to experience the real battle that he's been waiting for. Panic stiffens. Ojin gets anxious as he's never felt this fear or bloodlust before and can't even breathe properly. He witnesses Liurk's true power and realizes that he actually intends to kill him as the aura feels dangerous as hell. Strange enough, Ojin rather feels excited by that fact and waits for Liurk to attack. But our boy decides to go first and leaps towards him with the spear. As the wolf dodges his attack because it was too obvious, it appears that Ojin banging his spear on the ground was actually a fake move. Just like that, our main character makes a backflip and attacks Liurk, using spear lighting. But Liurk doesn't seem to be affected by the attack and kicks Ojin, leaving him off guard. As our boy falls to the ground, the wolf leaps towards him to see if he still has that courage even after death. With the power so intense, Liurk, without hesitation, pierces his claw across his guts, and that's when the blood starts dripping like a waterfall. Witnessing Ojin's death, Vega screams and our boy eventually takes his last breath as he watches the goddess. After that, the goddess revives him, and Ojin comes back to life once again. Meanwhile, Liurk asks him if he realizes what a rash decision it was, and Ojin trembles with pain. The wolf asks him for how long he will be able to endure the pain of death, and our boy manages to get up, aiming his spear at Liurk. As Liurk is surprised to see that he's still going to attack and is not as weak as he thought, he doesn't go easy on him and stabs him several times, tearing his body apart. Well, it looks like Ojin is drained after experiencing death multiple times while Liurk reveals that he is also a disciple of Lyra, so something like depth charge won't even scratch him. It turns out that our main character doesn't seem to give up yet, as he ponders if Lyra alone is not enough. He's going to connect the Lyra's stigma to Strix's stigma, making a combined skill. That's when Ojin makes a stronger comeback and starts shooting lightning arrows toward Liurk, making his Lyra's stigma level up to become a 4-star. For the first time, Liurk is taken aback by his power, realizing that none of the techniques of Lyra's stigma is capable of that kind of thing, which means Ojin just made that up on the spot, leaving him to wonder how he did that when only he awakened recently. Quivering with anger, Liurk beats the crap out of him and states that he's nothing more than a human. Our poor fella gets banged once again while the wolf mocks him that he can't change with just talent. He goes for another attack to give Ojin hell once again. However, at that moment, Vega stops him and defends her disciple as she jumps in between. While Ojin lies unconscious, the goddess talks to Liurk, saying she understands how he feels, and the sudden appearance of this child was an immense shock to him, since Liurk had been stuck in the same position for ages due to a wall. Infuriated, Vega still cannot hide her disappointment in his lack of self-restraint, and the wolf apologizes to her. Just when the goddess waits for her child to wake up, suddenly, Ojin gets back up again, and with a drop-dead serious look in his eyes, he asks Liurk if they can fight again. It seems like our guy has lost it as he challenges the wolf to fight while Liurk is left in disbelief, wondering if he's even human. Acting weird, Ojin approaches the wolf and mutters that they're not done yet. Panicked, Liurk is scared stiff to think how he can move, and concludes that he's not in his right mind at the moment, believing it's an obsession, an insanity beyond any other human emotion. Being out of his mind, our boy seems determined to fight, and that's when Vega interrupts, clarifying that she asked them to stop. Hearing her voice, Ojin comes to his senses and the goddess seems upset with these two, saying they're both too rash. Our boy apologizes to her and justifies that he lost his mind for a second, while the goddess looks very worried about him, calling him a bad child. But Ojin promises her that he'll be careful from now on, and Vega leans in for a pinky promise, leaving our boy wondering where she learned it. Nonetheless, Liurk decides to trust Ojin and contemplates that this human has a talent that allows him to create talent, but his talents aren't his most terrifying trait, adding that talent means nothing when one comes across a wall. Not being afraid of death isn't something that can stem from just determination, and Ojin looked raving mad. The wolf realizes that he can't surpass him neither in will nor in talent, so it's his complete loss. Peeking at Ojin, he then wishes for the unheavenly star to protect the light of the weaving woman star from the black heaven's darkness. The next scene switches to a month later, when Ojin enters the association and greets the team leader Han after 3 months. Smiling, Han reveals that he's no longer a team leader and has been promoted to become a chief administrative officer thanks to our boy. Ojin then tells him to treat him to a meal and both of them go out to get lunch together. Reaching the Korean beef restaurant, Han tells him to order as he wants, and our boy, who is bursting with joy, orders the whole menu. While Han laughs it off and Loki sweats to spend this of his money, he asks Ojin if got what he wanted from the training. Enjoying his food, our boy reveals that he's become a 4-star, which leaves Han in utter shock. As he is amazed that Ojin managed to do this in 3 months, he further assumes that he has Lyra's stigma, so the stronger the stigma is, the harder it is to level up, adding that even the Great Dippers weren't this fast. Flattered, our fella feels the need to do at least this much as a rookie receiving all the public's eyes, while Han thanks for bringing a great fortune into the association. While they're cooking the beef, Ojin asks him if something notable happened during the last 3 months. At that moment, Han discloses a gate rupture incident near Sokcho that caused a big problem because the monsters that spilled out of the gate weren't any ordinary monsters. Listening to this, our boy stops chewing, and Han reminds him about the increase in mutations of monsters all over the world, stating that there were too many of them that they officially had to decide on a new one for them. He further informs that the monsters are running rampant through the city center of Sokcho, which is pretty serious, and they're assuming that there are at least thousands of them. With that, Han reveals that they've built the raid team for this reason, and they're getting paid quite a bit too. Depending on the rank of the monster, they can get from 1 million to 3 million won per monster, plus the mer crystals they get from the monsters aren't factored into that price. Upon hearing such important info, Ojin reckons that it's not bad at all, and now that he has fixed Heian's eye, he wants to eat all kinds of foods with her and treat her to other fun things. Without any reluctance, he asks the chief if it's possible for him to join the raid team too, and to his surprise, Han lets out that he was going to offer this to him either way, but missed the timing. He informs Ojin that the raid team will be leaving in the morning 2 days from now, and our guy couldn't be happier, saying that it's perfect timing. Joking around, Han anticipates how everyone will talk about the Lightning Wolf joining the raid team now, and our guy teases him, uttering that he should eat more since he needs to work hard. After that, Ojin gets back home and witnesses Hyun training, assuming that she must have been training all day. Immersed in her training, Song incredibly controls the power of fire, controlling her stigma perfectly while our boy is left in awe to see how strong she actually is. As back then, he only thought of her skills as fancy, but now he gets it. As Song catches him staring at her, Ojin tells her that she's gotten much better, and she responds that she hasn't completely recovered yet though. While our boy asks her about the eyes, Song lets out that it's a bit annoying to have one eye covered up, but it's not a big deal, although it looks a bit creepy. Just then, she asks Ojin if he wants to get some food, and he informs her that he just got treated to some Korean barbecue. Pissed off, Song lashes out as he eats on his own, but our boy promises to go get some once his job is over. Curious to hear about his new job, Ojin reveals that he decided to be part of the raid team for the Sokcho monster appearance incident, adding that he'll be gone for a few days. Hearing this, Han confesses that she wants to go with him too. The scene then switches to Sokcho raid mission day 1, where we witness Hyun and Ojin arriving at the scene. They peek at the chaos in the area, and Ojin guesses that the monsters made it to the downtown area. As Song asks if the civilians have evacuated, she looks at the crowd from a distance and goes to check out. Well, the crowd emerges to a bunch of reporters, and one of them interviews the Star of the Peace Guild about the mindset they're going into this mission with. The Star Peace Guild claims that they prioritize the peace of the nation's people and promise to get rid of all evil. Song and Ojin walk towards the crowd, and that's when the reporters get frantic, witnessing the Lightning Wolf. But our guy doesn't take this well and lashes out at them, muttering that there might be people who have yet to evacuate and questions if this is the place or time to be doing interviews. He tells the reporters to get out of the way as he's busy, and they are obsessed with the Lightning Wolf being so straightforward and compassionate. As the reporters find a good topic for their articles, Song lets out that he sure is good with the press, and Ojin, taking the compliment, responds that he lived off of verbal manipulation after all. Later, a guy announces that they're forming groups of 3 for the raid, while Song and Ojin decide to find one more person for their team. Shortly, someone calls out Ojin, addressing him as the Lightning Wolf, and offers to be at a party with him. The guy turns out to be Park Chang-hyun, a disciple of Taurus, with armor and hammer in possession. Looking at Park, our guy recalls that he was one of the awakened present there when he invaded the Dark Star Society, concluding that his skill level is guaranteed. Meanwhile, Chang-hyun energetically introduces himself, revealing that he's with the Valhalla Guild, and tells Ojin that he has known him ever since the Seoul Station incident. Our guy then asks him about how Lee Woo-yuk is doing these days, and Park lets him know that the Guildmaster is really busy trying to investigate the Dark Star Society. This makes Ojin ponder that Lee has yet to find conclusive evidence, and believes that he needs more than just a piece of contact information to expose a whole organization that is focused on being underground. After that, Song looks at their team's new member, introducing herself as Draco's disciple, and assures Park that he can talk to her casually. In the meantime, a guy approaches them and asks Ojin if he remembers him, calling him son of a bitch. While our guy is confused as hell and tries his best to remember who he is, the guy reminds the bastard that he's Park Jungwoo from Pandina's guild. Just then, Ojin gets reminded that he's the egotistical testicle from the association and asks Jungwoo if he greeted his guildmaster for him. As Park freaks out, knowing how big of a liar he is, at that moment, a guy tries to calm him down. To Ojin's surprise, the guy turns out to be Choi Jung-chol, the same guy who harassed Song at the auction. Encountering him, our boy wonders what he's doing here and catches a glimpse of his team member with a scorpion tattoo that is a symbol of the Pandina's guild. Witnessing the same symbol on Choi's neck, Ojin burns him to a crisp as he asks Choi about his previous guild. It appears that Ojin did snitch on him to Hanjuman and guesses that his guild found out about it. After that, Choi reveals that he was kicked out for breaking the guild's rules thanks to Ojin, but he was able to find a better guild, adding that there's more demand for Aquarius stigmas. Meanwhile, he informs Ojin that he will be able to witness something real fun soon, and that he should look forward to their next reunion. Pissed off Youngwoo shows him a middle finger. As they leave, Ojin smirks as he recalls what Choi said and thinks that he should be careful of what he says. Well, it looks like our boy has something in mind as he presumes that he memorized Choi Jongcheol's smell with the Canes Venatici's stigma and feels great that they met as he wanted to get Aquarius's stigma eventually. He plans on taking care of the tattooed bastards, thinking that it's best to get rid of all evil. With an evil plot in mind, our guy smirks and reckons that it's given that there will be deaths during a raid mission. Later, Ojin and his team are fighting with the monster, and while it tries to run away, Song assures to leave it to them, and using her firepower, she burns the monster from a distance. Letting out a sigh, Chongyun lets out that each one of these monsters is a real pain in the ass, guessing that they must be at least 6 stars. Meanwhile, Song thinks that monsters are all weak despite being really hard to capture. Ojin finds it suspicious as he ruminates that the raid itself is smooth sailing, but there's something off about the monsters, speculating they're all running in the same direction as if they're trying to lure them to something. Suddenly, they all hear someone screaming and Ojin rushes towards the voice as he realizes that it is Park Jungwoo. He witnesses Park bleeding to death as a monster seems to have attacked him real bad. While our boy wonders what kind of monster would have done, he sees Chonghyun and Haeun running to him. Knowing that Haeun has the potions, Ojin discovers that Park's injuries are way too deep to be healed by potions, concluding that it'd be a waste to use potions on him. Just then, Youngwoo tries to speak something and our boy tries to listen to what he's whispering. However, before the poor guy can say anything, he stops breathing. At that moment, Ojin informs his teammates that the guy is dead and he is disappointed that he died before he could get anything out of him. Trying to act nice, Ojin reveals that he once got into an argument with Youngwoo at the association registration office, and they weren't on good terms, but he doesn't feel good that he died. Keeping up his image, he justifies that they don't have time to recover his body right now, so he closes his eyes. In reality, Ojin is actually absorbing Park's Scorpio stigma that allows him to freely manipulate poison, as well as immensely raises agility, great for the assassin class. While Haeun and Changhyun appear to be sad about his death, our guy cleverly absorbs the stigma without being noticed thanks to the dark secret trait, and also maintains his image in front of everyone. Thinking that he won't have to try too hard to cover it up from now on, Ojin commands his team to get going. In the meantime, they fight off monsters, and Haeun mutters that these monsters are good at running away as one of them tries to escape. As she is about to burn it with her power, Ojin stops her and decides to follow it, feeling that something is off. Following the monster, Haeun also seems to have noticed them, and our guy speculates that these monsters are sporadically appearing despite having taken over the city. They run away toward the city center once it gets disadvantageous for them in a fight, surmising that they're definitely luring them towards something. Ojin wonders if this is why Choi Jongcheol went in that direction and abruptly commands his team members to stop chasing the monsters. He explains to Changhyun that the monsters have been luring them toward the city center all this time, while the guy is shocked to think if these monsters are smart enough to do something like that. Anyways, Ojin thinks that it'd be best if they do not pursue them any further and decide to turn back. However, our guy can't seem to miss the opportunity for Aquarius's stigma, and informs Haeun and Changhyun that he'll let the other groups know that the monsters are luring them. Just then, Changhyun tells him that he'll go with him, but our boy refuses, saying that he will go on his own as he can escape the fastest if anything were to happen. After Haeun makes a pinky promise with Ojin to run as soon as something feels off, our guy glides away with his spear gun, ensuring them that he'll get in touch later. The scene then switches to Choi Jongcheol, where he commands the monsters to lure the awakened toward the city center. Putting on a devilish smirk, Choi can't seem to believe the fact that he's controlling monsters as he holds a crystal ball in his hands, and even that is only a small portion of his power. He recalls how he went to the Pandanus Guild thinking of it as his last hope, but it turns out that Ashad Khan, a high-class member of Darkstar Society, takes him in and orders Choi to do as he says. After that, we are revealed that the predator Choi Jongcheol is an infamous criminal who raped more than 300 women in past life. While Ojin reveals all this to Vega as he wants to get rid of the future evil, this doesn't sit well with the goddess to make someone pay for sins they've yet to commit. Our guy makes the goddess believe that according to Choi's confessions in his past life, he's done it a very long time ago. As it appears that Vega is having a hard time trusting him, Ojin realizes that she's believing him right away, like with Lee Shin-yuk, so he'll have to make up some evidence to show her later. Coming to the present scene, our guy finally spots Choi and tries to make him show what his trump card is. Meanwhile, Choi panics as he asks him what he's doing here. Our main character makes an entry along with the goddess and catches him off guard, uttering that he knows what he's hiding. As Ojin appears to be serious as ever, the guy Choi loses his shit, thinking how he came to know as he made sure to hide it the best he could. Well, it looks like our guy once again manages to make a fool out of him as Choi is frightened to death, and even Ojin himself is surprised as he wonders what the hell is going on. Shaking it off, Choi snaps out of it and puts on a devilish smirk, asserting that it's actually good that Ojin is here alone. Saying that he coincidentally came across a good constellation and got on a high horse, the guy thinks that it's unfair, and with that, he plans to eliminate Ojin just as the Dark Star wishes. Using his crystal ball, Jongcheol calls all the monsters to attack Ojin. Fooled by our main character, Choi lets out that he doesn't know how he found out that he became a part of the Dark Star Society. He tells Ojin that he will have to face the consequences for coming here on his own. On the other hand, Ojin is utterly clueless as wonders what the hell this situation is and is left in disbelief to know that Choi is part of Dark Star Society. At that moment, our guy asks Vega to bless him given that the situation is unexpected. But the goddess apologizes to him and expresses that she was a bit pressured by the idea of eliminating a future evil. Thinking that she should be the one to trust and support him, Vega doubted him until she saw for herself how evil this man was, and gave her blessing to Ojin, telling him to rewrite the pages of fate with his powers once again. Getting the goddess's blessing, our boy feels completely different from the time he was blessed at the Mokdong Gate, believing that it's because he's much stronger now. Assuring that he will get it over with, Ojin jumps in, charged with more power now. He strikes the monsters in midair. He impressively annihilates the monsters, and is amazed to see that now he can create lighting in midair, finding it cool. Suddenly the ground where he's standing starts shaking and a giant monster appears from within the ground. Escaping the monster, Ojin thinks that these monsters are trying too hard. And with that, he tosses out multiple wires from the spear gun and iconically annihilates the mantis monsters from lightning through the wires, wiping out several monsters at once. Witnessing the electrocuted monsters, Choi freaks out as he thinks how a 3-star awakened can pull this off. But Ojin corrects him that he's a 4-star now, and a strike of terror runs through the guy. As he frantically starts panicking and holding his crystal ball, he commands the monsters to rip Ojin to pieces already. Going berserk, Choi starts scratching his face and it starts to bleed while his partner tries to calm him down, trying to make him understand that they will fail the plan if he acts like this. Scared shitless, Choi shouts at him, saying fuck the goddamn plan, and asks him if he can't see that piece of shit smiling, referring to Ojin. At that moment, Jongcheol, who's not in his right mind, chokes the bald guy and orders him to quickly kill that bastard. Watching this, even Ojin is shocked to see what's wrong with him, assuming it's because of the thing in his hand. Abruptly, a bunch of monsters begin to pop out and surround Ojin. While he thinks of getting rid of them, Vega appears to be in pain and asks him if he's doing all right. He informs the goddess that it's going to take a while and realizes that Vega is reaching her limit too. While Ojin is tearing the monsters apart, suddenly, a monster attacks him from behind, biting his shoulder. As our boy starts bleeding, he kills the monster with the spear. To his surprise, another one appears in front of him, and Ojin, being injured, thinks that it's dangerous. Just then, someone starts burning the monsters to death, and it comes about that Hyun along with Changhyun comes to his rescue, reminding him that he promised her not to get hurt. Stopping our guy from fighting further, Hyun tells Ojin that they've contacted raid teams and they will get here soon, so they just need to stall time. Revealing her dragon eye, she utters that she didn't want to use it since she is not used to it yet, clarifying that she's a lot more experienced than Ojin as an awakened, so she can't just hide behind his back all the time. Getting a lot more powerful, Hyun creates the fire with the power of Dragon Eye and makes the monsters pay for putting their hands on what's hers. Hyun directs the dragon fire and it incredibly burns the mantis monsters. Looking at how the girl is controlling fire effortlessly, Ojin is amazed to see the power of the dragon's eye as the fire's moving as if it's alive. Coming beside Hyun, our guy teases her for calling him mine, saying that others would think it was her own shoulder that was hurt. The girl confesses that what's his is hers, and asks him not to get hurt without her permission again, making Ojin smile. Just then, the three of them get into action and fight off the relentless monsters. In the meantime, the other raid teams arrive at the scene and are taken aback by the large amount of monsters. Meanwhile, they witness the lightning wolf. They're even more astonished to think that those three, Hyun, Changhyun, and Ojin, were fighting off all these monsters on their own until now. Soon after, the raid teams jump in to help them fight the monsters, while Ojin is happy to see that they have an upper hand now. Suddenly, his eyes land on Choi Jongcheol, who's acting very strange, and at that moment, he madly starts scratching his face with his nails. Acting psychotic, Choi's eyes get weird and he starts mumbling that he did everything he told me to. Shouting why he isn't dead, his eyes turn red, going insane, while Ojin is baffled as he thinks about what's wrong with the bastard. Our guy guesses that it looks like Choi's mind has been completely taken over by that relic and wonders what he might do if he just leaves him alone. He plans to eliminate the guy while he still has the chance and runs toward Choi, aiming his lightning spear at him. As soon as he is about to stab the spear, in a flash, the relic in Zhongchil's hand shatters, and a powerful black energy bursts out of it, making Ojin crash away. Eventually, the black energy gets too big like a thunderstorm that even makes the building fall. While the people panic, what Ojin witnesses scares the hell out of him. It appears that Choi transforms into a monster, a very terrifying one at that. As the guy himself doesn't even know what's happening to him, he completely turns into a mantis monster. Peeking at a human becoming a monster, Ojin gets back up and tells Vega to hold on a little longer. Just as he is about to go for an attack, the goddess apologizes to him that she can't help him anymore as she surpasses her time limit and disappears. While Vega goes back to her realm, her blessing is no longer in effect, which means that now Ojin does not possess the power. On the other hand, Choi, the monster, mercilessly starts killing people, piercing the sharp spine-like legs through them. To make matter worse, his attack doesn't kill them but actually turns them into monsters as well. This creates chaos among the other people as they wonder how this is possible, while our guy presumes that he needs to get rid of them. Shortly, something comes to his mind, and he speculates that the black aura from that sphere has been connected to Choi Jong-cheol this entire time, which leads him to think that there must be an energy source somewhere. Trying to find the source, Ojin asks Haeun for a favor, instructing her to go to the other side and destroy whatever the source of that aura is. Meanwhile, our guy tells her that it's very important. Haeun seems worried about him and says that she's going to be really mad if he breaks her promise again. But Ojin assures her that he made a promise to none other than his Nuna, so he'll keep the promise. Looking at the monster who seems entirely impossible to kill, our guy smiles and whispers that he'll keep the promise if he can. Confronting each other, Choi asks him if he's ready to fight while our guy thinks about why he has so many damn questions. Showing him the middle finger, Ojin responds that even his mom doesn't know why she gave birth to him, asking if he expects him to know that too. This makes the mantis go mad as he attacks our guy with his snake-like sharp tail. While Ojin dodges the attack by an inch and realizes that he's quick, he braces himself and concludes that compared to Lyric, he's a joke. Just then, he moves along the mantis to find the perfect spot to hit, and eventually aims his spear. However, Ojin can't seem to pierce through his skin. That's when the monster traps Ojin into his tail, trapping him. While our boy struggles to release himself, he uses his power depth charge that strikes the monster, and he immediately jumps out. Choi, the mantis monster, appears to be in pain, which makes him even more frantic, as he rapidly attacks Ojin with his claws, which makes our guy hard to fight at once. With not enough firepower, Ojin barely keeps up with the monster and ruminates what he should do as he has a lot of mana left, but it's impossible to use it all at once. It's like drawing water from a dam with a straw. He surmises that he can't win at this rate and wishes to have the goddess's blessings as he wouldn't have been so helpless. But our guy snaps out of it, pondering that the first thing that comes to his mind is relying on someone else's strength and thinking that it's impossible without Vega. He hates himself for thinking like a damn weakling and decides to do what he can right now without wishing for a miracle. Reminding himself of the pendant and his teammates, Ojin determines not to expect help that doesn't exist and ignores the bastard Choi seems to be blabbering. Knowing that there's a limit to how much mana he can draw at once, our guy thinks of a way to increase how much mana he can draw at once. That's when something clicks his mind and he realizes that there's a method. Near the heart, where all the mana paths of the whole body are concentrated, he plans to clamp the mana paths of the entire body down as if pinching the mouth of a hose. At that moment, the mana insanely flows through his body, acquiring Exceed level 1. However, Ojin gets a warning that his body is not fit to use Exceed and he enters the overload state, where the system advises him to stop the skill. Smirking, our guy doesn't give a damn while the monster is curious what stunt he is trying to pull. Ojin, in a blink of an eye, stabs the spear in the monster's face, and to give him extreme pain, he uses a depth charge on his body, giving him immense lighting shock, and tells that fucker to die. Electrocuting the monster, our guy is impressed to see that it's more firepower than when he had the blessing, though he can't maintain this state for a long time. Meanwhile, the monster blabbers something, and Ojin finds his questions fucking annoying. Our main character seems to know that he's superior in terms of power, but with the Dark Star's powers connected to Choi Jong-chol, he can't kill him. As he waits for Haeun to destroy the source of the black aura in a flash, he hears a loud explosion and is delighted to see that. To his surprise, Chung-hyun comes at the perfect time and informs him that all the monsters have been dealt with. Getting exhilarated, our guy decides to end this now, and with that, he pulls the wires, stuck in the monster's body. And while the monster screams in fear, Ojin wraps the wire around him and stabs the lightning spear into his mouth. Using depth charge, a large shock of lighting occurs as the monster is annihilated, and the skill exceed advances to level 2. Meanwhile, there's not even a trace of monster left behind. Our guy grabs his hand, uttering that it fucking hurts. Our guy speculates that it is the side effect of the overload state. Nonetheless, he still thinks of taking the rewards, but the corpse is basically just ashes now. However, to his surprise, he touches the ashes. The black heavens absorb the power of the dark star within the relic, and the ability of transformation is also added to the black heavens abilities. While he is happy to get the transformation ability that freely changes the body's shape, he still hopes to get Aquarius's stigma. The reason why he needs the Aquarius stigma so badly is because the Awakened of Aquarius are specialized in supporting skills like buffing or healing, despite their lack of direct combat abilities. They're the best when it comes to supporting classes, so just making and selling potions as an Aquarius Awakened can get him a bank. Luckily, Ojin also absorbs the Aquarius stigma and tries it out right away. While he thinks that it's not that great, suddenly something strange happens with the stigma. It turns out that Lyra's stigma and Aquarius's stigma are interlinking, obtaining a water power affinity. Watching this, our guy couldn't believe his eyes to obtain a skill made from interlinking lighting elements of Lyra and water element of Aquarius that can heal injuries just by absorbing water. Meanwhile, he wonders if this works on others. At that moment, Heian calls him out and screams when she sees Ojin's face like a torn-up rag and asks who did that to his face. As our guy gets concerned that he did not get hurt on his face, it occurs that she was just being a dramatic ass and teasing him that his face always looked like that. Joking around, Heian feels glad that he's alright and expresses that she's always worried about him as he's always fighting on his own. Just then, Ojin tells her that he needs to touch her prosthetic leg for a second and reckons that a high-level Awakened of Aquarius can regenerate injured organs and body parts too. After that, our boy sleeps in the middle of the city and asks Heian to carry him to the car as he's fucking tired. Freaking out, the girl calls him a piece of shit and asks him what he touched her leg for, while our guy smiles as if it was a secret. 3 days later, in the sanctum, the goddess alarmingly asks Ojin if he's hurt anywhere or feels ill, but he assures Vega that he's fine. Looking at the goddess, our guy ponders that she's still the tiny size even in the sanctum, which means the restrictions' after effects must have been pretty intense. He then informs Vega that he was unconscious for a while because of the side effects of using Exceed, and the goddess is left incredulous, wondering how he used the skill. She reveals that a person needs to be at least 8 stars in order to use that skill and compliments Ojin for being talented. But our guy comes to realize that it's not a skill a 4-star like should use. Soon after that, Ojin gets back to his scamming skills and lies to the goddess that he has used the Exceed skill before. But this justification isn't enough to explain it, as Vega anticipates that it's as if Ojin were born to dominate all stigmas. Nonetheless, the goddess warns him not to use Exceed until he is 6 stars, or his body won't be able to handle it otherwise. Getting pissed, Vega wishes to keep him in the sanctum and keep him under constant watch, but it's not possible, which scares Ojin. Being under the restraints, she needs 3 more weeks to manifest again, and doesn't think the situation will allow him to get up here anyway. Knowing that the Scorpio disciples are working with Dark Star Society, Vega asks him to explain what has been going on, and Ojin came here for the exact same reason. He reports that the whole world is in uproar about people turning into monsters, and the other nations are looking into that too. Thanks to the media, our boy is being treated like a hero, and he can't even go outside without it being a pain to the public. He is still unconscious. He tells Vega after he passed out, Heian took him back home and he is hiding in his house. While the goddess is happy that everyone found that Choi Jung-cheol was behind this, and it must have been hard for the Pandanus Guild to avoid being bashed, Ojin interrupts and reveals that it wasn't the case. To his surprise, Choi's name wasn't even on the list of members that Pandanus Guild revealed, which means that they never intended to take him in. They basically avoided getting into any trouble. Given that there's no evidence that the Pandanus Guild was involved, our guy deduces that since the Pandanus Guild lost a lot of their members, it looks even less likely that they were involved, adding that they were actually insulting the Starlight Lake Guild. Ojin continues to inform her that the Pandanus Guild is claiming that the Starlight Guild is trying to frame them, so the media is focusing on the Starlight Guild. Calling them evil bastards, Vega gets angry as Pandanus Guild is the one that committed all the sins, yet they're trying to frame others and think that it's upsetting that there is nothing she can do to put a stop to their evil. But Ojin assures her that he'll take care of things, making Vega concerned that he doesn't have any proof. Our guy, the ultimate scammer, presumes that he doesn't have evidence to show that the Pandanus Guild is at fault, and not the Starlight Guild. However, that means he just needs to create evidence, concluding that the only thing they should not have done in front of him was commit fraud. The next scene switches to Ojin's house, where he calls Han Junman, and after knowing that he's doing better, Han immediately calls him to the association, as they have a lot to discuss. However, our boy asks him for a favor first, and says that he would like some bodyguards since he hasn't recovered fully yet. The reason he needs bodyguards is to find that one guy who's one of the 3 famous Awakens of the association. Meanwhile, Han gets curious about why he needs bodyguards. Ojin reveals that a lot of things have happened in the past week, and he has conclusive evidence to prove that the Pandanus Guild and Choi Jong-cheol are related. Smirking through the phone, our guy requests Han to prepare a press conference. Later, Ojin starts collecting his thoughts for the conference. He first recalls the black haze that was connected to Choi Jong-cheol. He's a little confused to think if it has anything to do with the hidden monster underneath Seoul Station, being certain that they have something to do with the Dark Star's power. He remembers how Vega said that the aura she felt from the monster in Seoul Station was different from what she felt at Mokdong Gate, leading him to believe that maybe it's 2 different constellations of dark stars. Going into the bathroom next, he decides to try the transformation since he can't test out his new skill. Suddenly, he transforms into Han, Choi Jong-cheol, and then Park Jung-woo, any face he could think of. Ojin feels that getting this ability might have been a bigger feat than getting the Aquarius stigma. And lastly, he tests out his water affinity power he got and dips his finger into the water. To his surprise, he creates great ripples in the small bathtub water. Exhausted, our boy concludes that needs too much for this power, and it'll be hard to use this skill unless he's fighting by a river or ocean, but it'll be useful for him when he's taking a hot bath. Just then, Ojin is done with all the testing and decides to head out to take care of things he's been procrastinating on. Heading outside, he encounters Haeun and asks her where she has been, stating that she's been out a lot. Haeun asks him the same question, and our boy responds that he's going to the association. Asking where she was, Haeun tells him that's a secret, and Ojin clarifies that they're not supposed to keep secrets from each other. Heading down the stairs, Ojin teases her, saying not to worry about him too much if something happens, and Haeun, smoking a cigarette, asks him what he's going to do. But our guy tells her it's a secret and leaves. The next scene takes us to the association, where our boy meets Choi Woo-jin, a special commissioner of the association. It is revealed that Choi Woo-jin, Lighting Dog, is an 8-star awakened of Canes Venatici, who's said to investigate the truth of any case he takes on no matter what. Being straightforward, Choi mutters that it's silly that a special commissioner is acting as a bodyguard for another special commissioner, but the situation calls for it. Flustered, our boy thinks that he's cold and ponders that he's like a Nepo baby in Choi's perspective, but whatsoever it doesn't matter as long as he can do his job well. Choi then escorts Ojin to the press conference, and as soon as our guy enters the room, the reporters seem to be on his good side, calling him a national hero. Getting on the stage, Ojin gets straight to the point, clarifying that he won't be answering any personal questions today because he has very important news to tell them. While the reporters get inquisitive, without further ado, our boy reveals that Choi Jong-cheol was not a member of the Starlight Lake Guild, but of the Pandanus Guild. Just as the chaos spread among the press, they asked for evidence to back up his statement. Agreeing that he has the evidence, suddenly blood starts dripping from Ojin's mouth and he blacks out on the stage. As everyone is shocked to see what's going on, Choi Woo-jin shouts to call an ambulance. Choi then analyzes the blood and gets to know that he was poisoned. That's when Woo-jin commands to block the entrances and asserts everyone here is a suspect. Meanwhile, the crowd panics. Woo-jin presumes that the few awakened present here are 2 or 3 stars at most, so they can't fool his senses. He speculates that he never noticed anyone suspicious either, plus Ojin hasn't eaten or drunk anything either, so that means this is Canes Venatici's stigma. Choi could smell a foreign mana, other than the smell of Lyra's stigma. He could smell traces of a different mana leading to the outside. At that moment, Woo-jin instructs his man to take alibis and information from the reporters here and heads out, following the mana traces that surprisingly lead him back to the car Ojin came in. The guy surmises that Ojin was already poisoned before meeting him, and it's highly likely that this trace leads back to his house. Thinking that he has to go as fast as possible, he begins sniffing like a dog, and with his beastly steps, he scampers to secure the evidence. On the other hand, our boy, still unconscious, is getting carried by the guards while the reporters are baffled, thinking how the lightning wolf was poisoned. That's when we see our main character smiling. On the other hand, Woo-jin reaches Ojin's house and is convinced that someone was on standby near his house from the get-go when he fell unconscious for a while. He predicts that the criminal couldn't do anything because of Song Hae-yoon, who lives with him, and proceeded to wait for Ojin to leave the house alone. Noticing the neighborhood without any security cameras, Woo-jin is certain the culprit was able to carry out his plan there. At that moment, his eyes land on the garbage and one of the bags in the trash seems to have the same smell. He speculates that the culprit bumps into him to get poison on Ojin so that he would have not known. But being the lighting dog, Woo-jin knows that he can't run away from him now that there's evidence left behind. While it looks like the culprit tried to hide the traces, the guy checks the mana with his stigma and gets to know that it's the Scorpio stigma's mana. Knowing that all the awakened with the Scorpio stigma are within the Pandanus Guild without exception, Woojin reckons that someone skilled enough to carry out a plan like this on the Lighting Wolf would have to be from the Pandanus Guild. This leads him to the conclusion that the Pandanus Guild is the culprit. We are then taken to 10 days later after the poisoning incident, where the news about Kwon Oh-jin, the Lighting Wolf, seems to be circulating about how he threw up blood and fell unconscious during the press conference, revealing that Scorpio's stigma traces were left behind at the scene. On the other hand, Oh-jin finally gets discharged from the hospital and the poor guy almost died out of boredom. Since there was nothing else to do, he practiced how to control lighting in small sizes, which was hard as he is used to using as much lighting as possible. Moments later, Han enters the room and asks if it's okay for him to leave the hospital so early, feeling concerned. Officer Han apologizes to him and blames himself for not being prepared enough. But our guy assures him that it's not his fault, but the one who tried to kill him. Making a sneaky grin, the person who tries to kill Oh-jin turns out to be himself. Well, a proof of the Pandanus Guild being revealed never existed, and the press conference was just a show too. Making the most of his ultimate scamming abilities, Oh-jin only wanted to make Woojin sniff the Scorpio's stigma, and it all thanks to him for doing a great job at investigating. Snapping out of it, our boy asks the officer about the Pandanus guys, and Han informs him that kept denying everything, then split up to run away, adding that another larger guild is after them. While Oh-jin is shocked that it all happened in just 10 days, he is low-key delighted as he ate it with his plan, leaving no traces behind. Han further reveals that the Valhalla Guild took over their empty position in the top 10 guilds, which makes sense. Our guy then asks if the Dark Star Society was mentioned, but Han refuses and reveals that he did hear about them separate from this incident. He discloses that apparently an organization going by the same name in Italy has been expanding its influence, which makes Oh-jin wonder if these bastards are global, but not surprising as they are that powerful. After that, Han asks him if he's going home, and Oh-jin tells him that there's someone who might worry about him, although he already let her know. At the Hapjeong station, our boy meets with Hyun, and she takes him somewhere. Entering a fancy place, they arrive in a breathtaking apartment, and Hyun reveals that this is their new house now. While Oh-jin is freaked out, Hyun was busy buying this apartment when he asked her earlier where she had been. She confesses that got paid a handsome amount this time, and even got a loan too, adding that the people at the bank were really happy to give her all this money once she told them she was back to her old self, before they never even spared her a second glance. Giving the tour of the apartment, Hyun tells him there are 2 rooms and shows him their bedroom, which is bigger than their old place. As Oh-jin explains why there are 2 beds in the room, the girl informs him that the other room is storage, so this is their room. Hearing this, our guy is kinda confused and asks if she's the type of person to drink water at the buffet, saying why is she wasting space. Meanwhile, our guy seems to be complaining about the space. Hyun clarifies that he can leave if he wants, reminding all the bad things about their bad place. Showing the killer view from the apartment, she lets out that they're close to the association, and there's also an awakened-only training facility nearby. As Oh-jin is already smitten by the place, to add the cherry on top, Hyun reveals that this place has hot water, and our guy couldn't be happier as it was a luxury that they couldn't even dream of at the old place. Getting overly thrilled, Oh-jin gives a tight hug to Hyun, expressing that she's the best and the prettiest woman in the world. Being close to each other, as their lips are about to meet each other, their romantic moment is interrupted by Oh-jin's call, and poor Hyun is pissed off, wondering which son of a bitch interrupted them. Well, our boy receives a call from Park Chang-hyun, who requests him to come to the Valhalla Guild right now, revealing that their guildmaster was killed by the Dark Stars Society bastards. Arriving at the Valhalla Guild, Oh-jin gets to know by Chang-hyun that Woo-hyuk is in critical condition, and he told him to get in touch with Oh-jin. Chang-hyun tells him that he better talk to Woo-hyuk for more details and opens the secret room. While our guy didn't know that there was a hidden place like this, as it's almost like an ancient dungeon, Park lets out that they are keeping this incident a secret from the public. Oh-jin wonders if this was Ashad Khan's doing and asks him if more people were hurt. Park informs him that many people were hurt, but thankfully no one lost their lives. Listening to this, our boy is appalled and reckons that Ashad Khan is a government official in an intermediate position, but there's no way someone of his status could have done this great damage on his own. Knocking on Woo-hyuk's door, Park lets out that he's brought Oh-jin, and they enter the room. Witnessing the guildmaster in such a weak condition, our guy asks him what happened, and Woo-hyuk reveals that they fought them and lost pathetically. He goes on to apprise Oh-jin that they tracked them down with the information he provided them, and it took a while, but they managed to locate them, adding that they are hiding in a branch of the Pandanus Guild. Hearing about the Pandanus again, our boy asks him if it was the Dark Star Society's main base, but Woo-hyuk tells him that it was nothing more than just a branch base. Although it was much larger than the one in Bagan Mountain, they also managed to learn that the place Pandinus was using as a storage was also their base, but they didn't get any more information than that, so they decided to ambush. Woohyuk affirms that they were going to let him know, but they heard that he was hospitalized because of the poison incident, so they proceeded with the ambush. It occurs that their plan went pretty smoothly. They succeeded with the ambush and brought most of them down. However, as they were about to fight with Ashad Khan, he appeared with an old man who was overwhelmingly powerful. Woohyuk could barely call it a fight as they clearly lost without being able to try anything. Calling it a miracle that they all live, Woohyuk's hands quiver, revealing that at first he thought that plan was their chance to capture the executives of the Dark Star Society, but that was arrogance. He reveals that they called that man Cheon Do-yoon, the Owl King. Upon hearing the name Owl King, Ojin gets reminded that the stigma he absorbed from Yujin last time was the Strix, and if this old man's title is Owl King, that he's definitely higher up or maybe bailiff level. He further ruminates that he knew the old man would be strong, but didn't think that he would be strong enough to take down the entire Valhalla Guild on his own. At this point, Ojin thinks that it makes more sense to think that they'd be the ones to bring the world to an end rather than him. Yanking out of his thoughts, our guy feels glad they all made it out alive, and guesses that the Dark Star Society will make sure to erase any traces and hide everything that might trace back to them, making it hard to track them down. However, Woohyuk instantly says that it's not true and discloses that there are still traces, asking Ojin for a favor. Just then, that night, a man seems to be going his way when suddenly someone grabs him. It turns out to be our guy Ojin, who ties up the guy and orders him to answer his questions. While the guy is overwhelmed with quite the aggressive greeting, Ojin clarifies that it isn't a situation for them to talk over cafes, calling him Mr. Dark Star Society member. We are then taken to Ojin's flashback where Lee Woohyuk hands him a note with a contact number after telling him about the traces. It was the contact info of a Dark Star Society member that he got before the appearance of Cheon Do-yoon. For some reason, the guy had a deep resentment toward the Dark Star Society and expressed his desire to cooperate with the Valhalla Guild, so basically, the guy was the whistleblower. Coming to the present scene, the guy who Ojin just kidnapped introduces himself as Jang Seoko, the charge of the development of holy relics within the Dark Star Society. Meanwhile, our guy introduces himself, assuming that he would already know about him. The guy Jang didn't seem to know that the Lightning Wolf had connections with the Valhalla Guild. And this is exactly why Ojin is here, as all guild members except Chongyun of Valhalla are seriously injured because of that mission. And since the Dark Star Society is keeping an eye out for them, it's best that Ojin's the one to do this. At that moment, our guy asks him to spill the information he has on the Dark Star Society, and Jang Soko agrees to tell him once he does him a favor. Thinking that he wants to negotiate, Ojin doesn't plan on doing that, while Jang confesses that only death awaits. As our boy tells him that he's not that easy to kill, Yang seems to be talking about himself as he uncovers the divine artifact on his chest that will explode if he just imbues it with enough mana, adding that if it explodes, it will kill him easily. While Ojin is pissed as he realizes that Jang won't have any way to get intel on Dark Star Society if that happens. Our guy realizes that he's in charge of the development of holy relics, which means he's no ordinary whistleblower. Having no other choice, Ojin asks him what he wants, and abruptly, Jang kneels to the ground, begging him to save his son who's held by the Dark Star Society. The guy exposes that the atmosphere within the society has been tense after Valhalla's ambush, informing Ojin that this is his chance since security is loose at the moment. Jang further expresses that he's quite skilled when it comes to his job. People who can work on the holy relics are important to them, so they have been keeping his son hostage, revealing that it's already been 3 years since his son is gone. Just then, Jang gets frantic as he starts bumping his head onto the ground to the extent that his head bleeds, begging Ojin to save his son, and promises to tell him everything he knows. At that moment, our guy wonders if all the parents feel this desperate when it comes to their children. Nonetheless, Ojin asks him his son's name and age, to which the guy tells him that it's Jang Hyun-woo, and he's 10 years old now. Pulling off the old tactic, he asks everything about his child while Jang is confused about why he's asking all of this. That's when Ojin asks him to repeat everything backward, and Jang without reluctance answers everything correctly, passing the liar detective test. After that, our guy tells him to get going then, as he is convinced that this person is not lying right now. On the other side, we see 3 Dark Star Society members in the streets. Later, Ojin decides to help rescue Jang Seoko's son as they drive their way to the Dark Star Society. In the meantime, Yang briefly explains the structure of the Dark Star Society. That's when it is revealed to us that the demonic realm where the monsters reside is located beyond the large gate in the North Pole, and most members of the Dark Star Society live in hiding within the demonic realm. Furthermore, they were divided into 7 factions based on nationality. They had been growing their forces in secret, and the South Korean faction was led by Cheon Do-yoon, the Owl King, who was 6th in ranking. Hearing this, our guy doesn't look much surprised knowing that the man who defeated the Valhalla Guild on his own is a 6th ranking, guessing that they're as strong as the entirety of the Great Dipper. As Jang can't stop thanking Ojin, he abruptly gives a 5-star holy relic, the 3 Sages' Protection's Charm, distracting our guy while he's driving. While Ojin is astonished that it's a 5-star relic, Jang reveals that it's a masterpiece and originally made it for his son Hyunwoo, but he bought it, hoping that it would help Ojin to save his son, and our guy clarifies not to ask him to give it back later. Just then, they arrive at one of the society's storage where Jang's son is, and he notifies Ojin that there are 5 members in this branch. Meanwhile, our boy asks him if he hasn't seen his son all this time. Soko responds that he receives pictures once in a while. After knowing this, Ojin surmises that he's not the only one with his loved ones held hostage and feels a bad vibe about this. At that moment, the Dark Star Society members in cloaks approach them and didn't expect Jang to be here, admiring his love for his son. Recognizing the Lightning Wolf, these guys didn't expect Jang to bring him here and utter that Mr. Khan sure would be happy. Freaked out, Soko wonders what the Owls of Khan are doing here while our boy is confused, thinking if they are the executives. But Jang informs him that they are all the 6 stars, and to Ojin's anticipation, he discovers that his relationship with the Valhalla Guild was leaked. With that, the Owls leap toward them, possessing heavy weapons while our boy does not even flinch, and realizes that they must have loosened their security to have Jang find him. Creating lightning, Ojin pierces the spear through one of them charged with a depth charge, killing him instantly. While Syoko is astounded and processes what just happened, our boy plans to take them all down, sounding pretty confident. Later, our main character manages to kill them and absorbs Strix's stigma mana out of the dead folks. Impressively, all of his powers upgraded to upper levels, and Ojin couldn't help but ponder that these guys weren't that skilled, but he was still getting quite a lot of mana from them, because they were 6 stars. With his mana paths getting sturdier from using Exceed last time, our boy can fight much more efficiently now. After a while, they head inside the storage to inspect the area and rescue Jang's son. Heading to the basement, Jang yells out his son's name while Ojin, who activated his Canis Venatici earlier, doesn't smell any humans down here. He speculates that they might have hidden Hyunwoo in a completely different place, thinking it's possible, given that they used Syoko to lure him here. Entering a prison-type area, something seems to be bothering Ojin, and during that moment, Jang searches up the area. From the beginning, Ojin had this thought since they never let Jang Syoko meet his son, leading him to think they might have killed him. Nonetheless, after relentless inspection, Jang couldn't find a trace of his son and believes that they took him somewhere else while our guy just keeps agreeing to him. Suddenly, Ojin asks him to be quiet as he senses someone inside the building, wondering how many there are. Meanwhile, our guy guesses that there are more than 10 persons. He immediately tells Jang to come with him, reckoning if he can detect him with Canis Venatici, it means that Cheon Do-yoon isn't one of them. Either way, our guy hurries to get out of here as he could smell the danger when suddenly the ground starts breaking, making Ojin realize that these bastards never intended to go down here in the first place. As the place starts collapsing with the rocks toppling over them, our guy concludes that at this rate they're going to end up getting buried alive. Luckily, Ojin enfolds himself with a shield with the help of the bracelet Jang gave him earlier, and the lighting barrier, he wouldn't have been able to save himself and Jang. While thinking if they bring explosives in here, he searches for Sayoko, and when his eyes land on him, he witnesses him in a terrible state, with the construction wires pierced through him. Watching him bleeding to death, our guy runs to him, but he knows that it's too late for him to save him even though he's alive, knowing that he's gonna die soon. Just then, Jang on the brink of death hands him information, the drive, he promised Ojin, and asks him for one last favor. He asks Ojin to find Hyunwoo if he makes it out here and stops breathing. Hearing his last favor, our guy doesn't even know how to respond to that because he doesn't have the courage to tell him there's no need to look for his son and that his son died a long time ago. While this is all in his head, Jang mutters that Hyunwoo is a bit of a troublemaker, but he's a good kid. Feeling pity, Ojin couldn't bring himself to reveal the truth, pondering that he has lived his life lying left and right. But at this very moment, he doesn't know what kind of lie he's supposed to tell Yang. Shortly, they're interrupted by the noise, notifying Ashad Khan that Ojin's still alive. Standing at the ridge of what's left of the place, the Owls of Ashad assert that the rumors about the Lightning Wolf must have been true, and one of them leaps towards to attack him. As the guy is soaring towards him, Ojin, standing on his back, senses him as he's too loud. Telling him to shut up for a bit, he charges his lighting spear and it pierces across the guy's body, killing him on the spot. With a dreadful stare, Ojin is upset as the guy interrupts his thoughts. Meanwhile, Jang warns him that Ashad Khan is here, and to get out of here as it's dangerous. Instead, our boy tells him to stop talking and casts Aquarius Stigma's healing water drops that will keep him alive for a bit. Facing Ashad Khan, our boy commands him to hold on and presumes that he still needs to tell Jang the last lie he has for him. Meanwhile, Ashad wonders what he needs to think over, assuming that he's trying to find a way to make it alive. But to his surprise, it's the opposite as Ojin forcefully glides towards Ashad Khan and his men, mumbling that he's thinking about his mom who asked him to take good care of him as her final wish. But our guy can't keep the promise. With that, he impressively flies with his spear gun, and using the wires, he tightly wraps up the owls and kills them in the blink of an eye. After that, Ojin leaps towards Ashad with his spear charged with lighting and makes a strike that creates an explosion. However, Khan manages to escape the deadly attack, and our boy already seems to know he'd be strong thanks to his cane's Venatitsi, concluding that he's a lot stronger than he anticipated. Even his best attack attempt, it didn't even scratch Ashad. Emerging from his stigma, Khan compliments him, saying it's hard to believe that he's a 4-star, but then he makes a comeback, striking exploding feathers toward Ojin. Slightly panicking, our guy quickly dashes away from the feathers, and realizes that this is what he used to set off the storage. As their fight continues with relentless attacks of lighting and feathers, Ashad lets out that his reaction speed isn't bad, and wonders if it is his instincts that are good. Whilst he keeps blabbering, Ojin uses Exceed to the full extent that he even obtains lighting flames. Using way too much mana, his lighting flames power reaches level 2, and the system warns him that his body isn't capable of handling the level 2. Saying that he talks too damn much, our guy smashes the spear on the ground, creating awe-striking lighting that blows Ashad away. Well, it looks like our boy wanted to avoid using Exceed, but he had no other choice, and now there's too much gap between the amount of mana he can use at once and how much he can. On the other hand, there's not much damage done to Ashad, and that's when he implores the Great Star of Strix to bestow him with the blessings of the Dark Star, and now the time of Strix is here. Losing his shit watching Khan's Strix blessing, our boy thought he was an intermediate rank administrative official, but he seems to have the phase when he's not even the final boss. In a flash, Ashad crashes him away with his powers while Ojin is baffled as he can't think of a way to defeat him. Moving with the speed of light, Khan follows him like a shadow and slashes him with the sword. Disappointed that he aimed for the throat, Ashad still manages to cut off his right arm, making him lose his weapon. With his one arm slashed, Ojin still smacks his face and falls down, bleeding from everywhere. However, our guy makes it clear that the fight isn't over yet until he says it. Thinking he's not in his right mind, Khan, who seems to be hopping mad, wields his sword and slashes it through his throat. As Ojin starts bleeding at the mouth, Ashad forces him to get back up and fight. But our guy lies there helpless while Khan calls him an insane bastard and concludes that it's now really over. Saying it's a shame that he won't be able to see him often, the guy leaves while poor Ojin is left under the pouring sky with no arm and a broken leg with blood streaming everywhere. Meanwhile, it's pouring really hard. Ashad decides to report that this mission was a success and heads to the association. Abruptly, he clutches his chest and realizes that he pushed himself too much against a mere 4-star. As he hurries to go back before the repercussions of the blessing start, at that moment, Khan notices that the dirt in the surrounding area is dry. Finding it impossible, he wonders how can the dirt be dry when it's raining too hard. And that's when a realization hits him that the rainwater is being absorbed somewhere else. Well, it looks like the rain is the source of Ojin's comeback. Standing back up on his feet, our boy asks Khan where he's going and clears up that he didn't take the weather into account. It's just a blessing in disguise. During this, the surrounding area is filled with the aura of water, and Ojin's arm regenerates with the water power affinity that has been greatly amplified. Thinking that it's only fair as Khan received Dark Star Blessing, our boy enjoys getting soaked in the rain while a strike of terror runs through the guy as he is left in disbelief, processing what has just happened. With a cold look in his eyes, Ojin utters that it's his time now and approaches the guy. As he walks towards him, Khan freaks out and asks him how it's possible that he just got back up like nothing happened. While lighting currents initiate, our guy responds if a non-final boss can have 2 phases, referring to Khan, it's fine for him to have one too. Saying that it's all nonsense, Ashad uses his stigma to attack him when suddenly he screams out of pain. Witnessing him in pain, Ojin analyzes at once that he's facing the repercussions of his blessing that usually affects the constellation. Our boy mocks him, saying that Strix's stigma isn't great while Khan turns pale, but he still attacks Ojin with his exploding feathers. However, our guy remains unfazed as the feathers don't even scratch him. Reminding him that it's his time, Ojin leaps toward him, striking lightning from all directions, but Khan somehow holds up with his stigma, halting the attack. Meanwhile, their powers clash, and Ashad is left appalled to see Ojin, who just rose up from the dead, saying that even if his injuries can heal, it won't erase the pain, asking if he doesn't feel any pain. On the other side, our boy uses all this strength to create lighting while his fingers are crushed. He responds that it does hurt, but enduring pain isn't really difficult. With that, he manages to sustain his mana without losing consciousness, leveling up his lightning powers. At that moment, the system warns him that his injuries are too serious, and the pain will worsen if he continues to receive more injuries. However, smirking, Ojin thinks that it's good as the penalty won't hinder his mobility. Enduring pain, our guy gets reminded of Yang and wonders if his dead son will come back if he endures this, and knows that there are things that cannot come back no matter how long they wait. Ojin decides to ignore the pain but just endure it, and with that, he goes berserk as the lightning power gets too powerful. Frightened to death, Ashad trips and begs him not to come near him, calling him a demon. As he is crawling his way back, Ojin steps on him, and with a deadly look in his eyes, he clarifies that he's an ordinary person, adding that it's because he's a human that he can endure the pain. With one last lighting attack, he finally ends it. The scene then switches to Jang Seoko, who's still hanging by a thread, and appreciates Ojin for killing Ashad Khan. Without wasting any time, our guy reveals that he has found his son. As Jang is taken aback, suddenly he hears his son calling him dad. It turns out to be his son Hyan Woo, who's worried about seeing his dad in pain. Smiling at his son, Jang apologizes to him, saying that dad's hurting and needs to sleep. Appeasing his son, Jang asks Hyun Woo to go with his man, referring to Ojin, and tells him to be nice to him and be healthy. Taking his hand, the father promises to come back no matter what to see him again, and hugs Hyun Woo, feeling glad that he's all right. With that last hug, Yang eventually stops breathing while his son stares at him. Well, it appears it wasn't Hyun Woo. It was Ojin's one last lie as he transformed himself into Jang's son and made him die peacefully. Looking at him sadly, our guy ponders that he can still feel the pain even though the injuries have healed, but he's glad that he was at least able to heal this much before this man died. Nonetheless, he decides to head back, and that's when he witnesses something incredible. His Lyra's stigma levels up to 5 stars. It's only been 2 months since he reached 4 stars, but he's already a 5-star now. Thinking that Vega would be surprised to know this, our guy still feels that he has a long way to go. Walking in pain, he reckons that he needs to become much stronger if he wants to stop lying to others. The next scene takes us to the apartment where Ojin freaks out after finding himself resting on Vega's lap. Trying to get up, Vega forces him to lie down and rest, looking kinda disappointed after all her pleas to not push himself, but he did anyway. Lying on her lap, our guy tries to recall what happened as he only remembers coming home, tired from the battle so he was not in his normal state, guessing that he might have let it all go once he saw Haeyoon and blacked out. Wondering how much time has passed since then and why Vega is in her original state, he tries to get up, but the goddess doesn't let him. She then reveals that he was asleep for 4 days, and Haeyoon came to the sanctum herself because she was worried, adding that her restriction period was over, so she was able to come here. Ojin is curious about how the goddess can stay in her original form, as she can only be in this form in the sanctum. And that's when Vega lets out that the restrictions have been getting weaker ever since a few days ago, revealing it was actually the day he passed out after the battle. Thanks to that, Vega can hold her physical form for a longer period of time, and can even be in her original form for a bit. And it also turns out that the same thing is happening to Liurk, her spirit. Hearing this, Ojin gives it a thought and realizes that it's happening since the day he fought with Ashad Khan, wondering if he's the reason as he inherited partial records of the awakened Ashad Khan and obtains his skills. Absorbing the mana, Ojin feels the difference in quality since he became a 7-star and wonders how it'll be once he's an 8-star. He also fulfills the conditions of the 4th unlocking of the Black Heavens. We are then taken to Ojin's flashback after killing Ashad Khan. It is then narrated that after the battle with Ashad Khan, the Black Heaven was unlocked and the inheritance began. In other words, the inheritance of Khan's memories starts flowing, and we witness Ashad talking to someone on the phone who reports to him about Ojin being with the Valhalla Guild and orders him to take care of things, and he agrees to it. Just then, Khan asks him something about the Italy matter, when the guy on the phone realizes that he's talking about Leech Queen and informs him that it's hard to do anything since she's 3rd ranked as a bailiff, but he assures Khan that he've come up with the solution. Meanwhile, the records of Lee Shin-yuk and Ashad Khan are colliding, and a part of Lee Shin-yuk's memories get lost. As the Black Heavens is restoring records needed for the inheritance, our guy appears to be in pain, holding his head, because it's overlapping with Ashad Khan's memories, but at least it's restoring on its own. To his surprise, he gets a quest as a result of the 4th unlocking, and it is star-devouring the demon of the skies with the reward of random distribution of one of the ancient constellations. Clueless about the quest, he decides to ask Vega about it later. Yanking out of his flashback, Ojin does think that a lot happened that day, but he can't tell the real cause of Liurk's and Vega's sudden change in restrictions. After that, Our guy asks if the goddess can give her blessings all the time if the restrictions are weaker, but Vega refuses, saying it's not that weak yet. Bracing herself, Vega assures him that she can support him during fights and shows her powers as he controls the lightning. Making Ojin's jaw drop, our boy is shocked to see Vega controlling lighting that incredibly and kinda gets humbled, wondering how much more he needs to improve to reach that level. Vega, creating our guy's face with the lighting, tells him to expect more from her. Just then, Ojin feels a lot better, but the goddess tells him to be careful, as there's another person in the house who's angrier than her. At that moment, Haeun comes shouting and bursts open the door, asking if he's awake. Ojin is done for as Vega lets out a sneaky smile while Haeun lashes out at him, calling him a piece of shit. While our boy apologizes, Haeun is more than angry as she was worried about him. As the atmosphere is hot, Leerk comes in and tells her that she's too loud, calling her a lizard woman. Upon hearing this, Haeun is pissed off and clarifies that she has a name, but Leerk, being cocky, lets out that he doesn't care to learn the name of a female human. Just then, Song blackmails the wolf, saying no cup noodles for a week, and Leerk is brought down a peg as he sympathizes with her, uttering that she must be having a hard time because of that rash human, referring to Ojin. This leaves Ojin in disbelief to see how Leerk switched up so fast. Nonetheless, Vega asks Ojin to tell them everything that happened that day, and our guy reveals everything to them except for the Black Heavens part. After listening to his story, Vega and Haeun are astounded to know that he defeated a 7-star, and our boy lets out it was a close call, presuming that he would have lost if it didn't rain. Curious, Haeun asks the goddess if Lyra's stigma is that strong, to which she responds that kind of gap is easily ignored with her stigma, but still it's hard for her to believe that he won against someone 3 levels higher than him. At that moment, Leerk asks him if his lightning level has reached 9, and feeling kinda proud, he tells him to be consistent with his training. He informs Ojin that once he reaches level 10, he will be able to obtain lightning flames, and to everyone's surprise, our guy shows him the skill which has even reached level 4, and confesses that he learned it during the last fight. Looking at this, poor Leerk is dumbfounded and cries in the corner as he worked so hard to obtain that skill, thinking maybe this bastard Ojin is the heavenly demon. Meanwhile, Vega speculates that he will receive a different reward for lighting up to level 10. Ojin asks her if she knows something about ancient constellations. Perplexed, the goddess worriedly asks him where heard this from, and our guy, making up another story, mumbles that he just remembered what the heavenly demon talked to him about before. Looks like the goddess has no choice but to tell him the truth. Vega then narrates that she was made by the founding giant, Titan, through the power of stars. Titans managed several worlds at once, and the commandments were a way to restrict her from interfering too much with the worlds. However, once in the past, all the constellations met their downfall because of the Black Heavens, the darkness born from the creation of the worlds. To be more exact, the ancient constellations refer to the constellations that were killed by the Black Heavens during that incident. Coming back to the scene, Ojin asks her about the constellations they have now, and Vega answers that they are stars newly born after that incident. Processing all the complicated info, our boy contemplates that the world has already ended once because of the Black Heavens, and these constellations are new. The quest meant that they were going to bring back one of the ancient constellations to give it to him. So even if he has no intentions of bringing this world to its end, it'll happen anyway because of the Black Heavens, because Ojin himself is the Black Heavens. Thinking it's a mess, our boy concludes that there's no point in worrying about it now, as the future has already begun to change, just like he switched places with the dead guy Lee Shin-yuk. And what's important to him is what he does differently in this future, as what he's going to do is already decided. That's when our guy decides even if he has to lie to the entire world, he's going to protect what is important to him now, looking at Haeun, Vega, and Leerk. The next scene takes us to Ojin, where he finally gets to what's inside the USB Jang Seoko gave him to find out the Dark Star Society's purpose. In the USB, it is revealed that these guys can't help but ponder that in this crazy world full of monsters, why some are blessed enough to be bestowed with the stigma of a constellation, whereas the outers are left to die. To undo their unfairness, they plan to kill all awakened and make everyone in the world awaken with equal powers. As crazy as it sounds, Ojin is left incredulous and recalls from what he heard at the Mokdong Gate. The Dark Society possesses the power to turn the non-awakened into awakened. He realizes that they're clearly trying to use the hatred of the non-awakened to their advantage. However, Ojin thinks nobody would actually believe in this insane idea, and this is just an excuse to expand their influence. Guessing that even Jiang didn't know their true goals, one thing is clear for sure, that these guys need to be eliminated as soon as possible. Nonetheless, he also finds out some info on a few other branches of the society and the Owl faction. He stumbles upon the data about a guy, Cheon Wusong, the son of Owl King, Cheon Do-yoon, called the Agent of the Kid and manages Dark Star Society. Our guy speculates that this might be the guy Ashad Khan was talking to on the phone back then, thinking that he should tell Junman. The next day, at the association, Ojin tells everything to Han, and the guy is stunned by the news when he gets to know that Cheon Wusong is part of Dark Star Society. Our guy then asks him what kind of person Wusong is, and that's when Han discloses that the association is split into two factions right now. One side is the one Han himself is on. They support the association president, whereas the others support the executive team, and the head of the executive team is Cheon Wusong. Hearing this, Ojin gets to know the reason why he was scouted. Junman continues to tell him that they offered him the position to revive the association's image, but it was also to bring someone who's a disciple of Polaris onto their side. Ojin finally gets why he offered this awkward position, rather than being an official member of the association, because he became an official member, the other faction would have the power to give him order too. Since they don't know who's on which side, he only ever gets to meet Han, who's a clear supporter of the association president. After that, Ojin asks him if there is anything he could help with, but Han assures him that they will take care of this. Nonetheless, our boy pulls out his broken spear from the bag and requests Han for another weapon, staring at the weapon in disbelief. Han then asks him if he wants to meet the artisan instead, which would help receive a more customized weapon, and our guy couldn't let this chance slide. Heading to the Holy Relic Research Center, Han explains to him it's where they create and research weapons and equipment made from mer crystals. Entering the research center, Han informs Ojin that the in charge of this place is a little artisan boy, Kim Sihu, who comes running towards them. While Han pats his head and praises him that he's the best in the field, Kim Sihu is delighted to see the lightning wolf and asks Ojin if he's getting use of the wire shooter he made for him. Telling that it broke, Sihu lets out that it's good since he didn't put much effort into it because he was busy back then. He assures Ojin that he will make a much better one this time, leaving our boy in awe as he didn't know that his world still had people this wise, polite, amazing, and great as him. However, things take an unexpected turn when Sihu says that he's going to need a lot of money, and Ojin, unpleased after the money talk, changes his remarks, thinking what an evil bastard full of greed he is in this damned godforsaken world. Being a nice kiddo, Sihu says he can fill the rest of what he can't pay with his money since making for Ojin weapons is fun after all. While our boy is filled with joy and calls him God Sihu, Ojin reminds him that the spear broke too, but the little guy clarifies that he has to pay for it because it was not fun to make. After that, Sihu takes him to his testing area to make him check something and asks him to hold a metal bar and swing it like he would a spear. Meanwhile, Ojin swings the bar and uses the Pixis's spear art. Sihu stops him after a while and gets on his computer. He begins to analyze Ojin's movements and strikes, deducing that a spear that's shorter but has a longer blade than his old one would be nice. Our guy gets shocked that he can tell all that just from looking at that, while Sihu anticipates that he's more of a close-range fighter, given that he doesn't really use distance to his advantage. With that, he concludes that a Guandao-type spear should befit him more since it has a shorter handle part and a longer blade. Looking at the spear on his tablet, Ojin seems deeply moved as this is much greater than he expected. After that, Sihu informs him that he will go into making this and the wire shooter so it'll take weeks, and in return, he asks Ojin to look after Mr. Gorilla, referring to Han, as he's been having a real hard time recently because of the executive team guys. As the little guy waves them goodbye, our boy thinks that he's a good kid, and Han agrees with him even though he's a bit weird. Soon after, Han asks Ojin if he has plans once he gets those weapons, and our boy lets out that he's going to farm as many mer crystals as he can. Whilst Ojin presumes that he needs to focus on the Black Heavens quest for now, Junman informs him that there's a pretty popular gate right now for that purpose, revealing that the monsters in that gate have 2 mer crystals instead of 1. Upon hearing this, a bolt of happiness hits our fella as he seems to have hit the jackpot, and before Han can express the problem about that gate, Ojin tells him to go there right away as he can't see anything but money. 1 week later in Busan, the place seems to be bustling with people. Ojin lets out that they've gone crazy after the rumors that monsters here have 2 mer crystals inside them. On the other hand, our guy who has come along with Vega, Hyun, and Liark ponders that a constellation, a holy spirit, Draco's metahuman, and Polaris disciple are an all-in-one party is kind of iconic. Even if they search the whole world before Lee Shinyuk's regression, they'll never find a party like this. Filled with pride, Ojin now has his new shooter and spear Kim Sihu made, recalling that Sihu said that for portability, the spear only assumes the shape of a Guandao when he pours mana into it. Thrilled, our boy looks forward to fighting inside the gate. Moving inside the dungeon, Vega seems to have heard that 5-star or higher monsters come out, and Ojin thinks that it's because of the difficulty, but thankfully there aren't too many people in the inner part. While our boy presumes that he will have to farm a lot of mer crystals in order to complete the quest, at that moment, they spot a guy who has killed many monsters, who seems delighted to come to the gate that prints mirror crystals. Peeking at the guy, Haeun recognizes him and lets out that he's Jerry Kim, a pretty famous Sagittarius, 6-star metahuman, adding that he's also a streamer who broadcasts hunting gates by himself. As soon as Ojin hears about the independent 6-star metahuman, he asks Haeun if streamers make a lot of money as he's totally inspired by Jerry, and Haeun tells him that they do earn a lot, but they're mostly doing it for fame. Shortly, Jerry witnesses their group, and of course, the Lighting Wolf. He rushes to Ojin and says that he's a big fan. Thinking that it's fate, Jerry asks him to be the guest on his livestream as his viewers are curious about Mr. Ojin. Our boy gets confused, and that's when Jerry pulls him in for a bet like who can hunt more monsters in a period of time. Meanwhile, his viewers go crazy as they think Jerry is challenging a 4-star, which kinda insults our boy. Just as Jerry mockingly says that he will give him a handicap, Ojin catches his true intentions of inviting him on the show to get more views out of him, and wants to show off in front of his viewers. Well, if that's the case, our guy puts on a smirk and gladly takes the bet. He tells Jerry to add more stakes as it won't be fun with just a bet while Haeun is freaking out at the back. Laughing, Jerry says that he does know a thing or two about streaming, and just as he is asked how many mer crystals they should bet, our boy without a flinch bets all of the mer crystals in. Meanwhile, the viewers are left in utter shock to see a 4-star being this confident. Jerry nearly loses his shit as they are talking about the mer crystals that he worked so hard to gather. Deciding to bet all the mer crystals, Ojin proudly pulls out his pouch of mer crystals that looks like nothing compared to Jerry, who has a huge pouch filled with crystals. Watching him, the viewers are laughing their ass off, thinking that the Lightning Wolf is deranged, and he has nothing to lose in this bet. Just then, they point towards Jerry, commenting that he's scared, but to maintain his reputation, he agrees on the bet. Before they start, Jerry begins the viewers' point betting where they will bet on who they think will win. The viewers are exhilarated to bet while our boy is confused to see all this. That's when Haeun explains to him that it's like sports betting. They buy points and bet on who will win. Concluding that it's gambling, Ojin is totally smitten by this idea, wondering how much he'd make if he could bet too. The current betting percentage begins, and as expected, Jerry takes the lead with 92%. However, suddenly it drops to 73%. The viewers think that the guy has gone crazy, and after making the calculations, that person bets 460 million won on Kwon Ojin. While our boy is taken aback and thinks who it is, the bets get closed. After that, Jerry Kim elucidates that the time limit is 30 minutes. They will form a party and hunt monsters, and whoever hunts more wins the bet, with whoever takes the last hit being the winner. Just then, Jerry asks Ojin where his weapon is, and our boy pulls out his new spear that looks sleek. However, Jerry, giving it an alien look, thinks his weapon is petty, and reckons that the conditions of the bets are favorable to him, who uses a ranged weapon. He wonders if Ojin has something up his sleeve and gets cocky as he dreams of standing out in front of all his viewers. He gets determined not to let this opportunity slip. Jerry decides to win at all costs, and after a while, the time begins. The fish monsters start appearing and the streamer guy uses his flashiest technique to kill them, using his bow and arrow. Just then, our guy steps in and iconically slices the heads of 3 monsters in a row, making everyone gaping in astonishment and wondering what the hell just happened. At that moment, Jerry loses his shit and wonders if this was even real. As the hunting continues, Ojin incredibly kills the monster, and so is Jerry. Our guy reminds Jerry that the last hit is what counts and flies away with his spear gun. At the same time, Jerry strikes the arrow blast, killing multiple monsters at once. However, more monsters keep rushing towards him and are about to smash him. In a flash, Ojin electrocutes them all and compliments Jerry for having a cute scream, embarrassing him to death. Later, they both keep hunting the monsters, and eventually 30 minutes pass with the results of Lighting Wolf killing 24 monsters and Jerry Kim killing 7 monsters. With that, Ojin takes a win while Jerry is in denial, thinking how a 4-star could pull this off. That's when our guy comes in, saying he never said he was a 4-star and reveals that he's a 5-star. After hearing this doesn't make sense to Jerry, wondering even if Ojin's a 5-star, how can he close the gap between them this easily, making him think if he's nothing compared to the Polaris. Eyes on the prize, our guy takes the pouch of mer crystals from Jerry, who's on the verge of a breakdown. During this, they decide to divide up the points, and Jerry lets out that he will announce the username of the person who got the most points. Abruptly, Haeun gets panicked and asks Jerry why he's announcing usernames. Clarifying that it's the rule of streaming, Haeun seems to be freaking out and asks him to cancel her bet, saying the viewers voted without knowing what star Ojin was. Just then, Ojin sneakily holds her back and tells her that no one can cancel the bet. Putting on a sneaky grin, our guy exposes Haeun as he knows that she's the one who betted 460 million on him and wonders what kind of username she used that she's so desperate to keep hidden. After a moment, Jerry announces the first place with the username Cutie Ojin Slorp Slorp, which even makes Ojin choke himself. While Han tries to reason with everyone that it wasn't her, Liark asks the lizard woman if something is wrong with her while poor Han is mortified as she hides her face. Wrapping it up, Liark comes to Ojin and asks if he's gonna leave already as only he got to fight. As our boy asks the wolf if he wants to go further, suddenly, a large number of monsters rush towards them from within the dungeon. Jerry freaks out to see how many there are while Liark gets his wish. With that, Ojin prepares his spear, however to his surprise, the monsters run past him without attacking him. Noticing they didn't attack anyone, Heiyun realizes that they are running away from something, and it turns out to be true when they witness a colossal Hydra, the boss monster amongst 7-star monsters. Thinking about what a Hydra is doing here, Ojin lets out that Hydra and mermen aren't related in any shape or form. Either way, Ojin looks at the positive side, reckoning that a boss-rank monster drops the highest quality mer crystals when killed, and since it appeared in this specific gate, he will be able to get 2 instead of 1, hitting a home run. Presuming he can't run away with a deal like that, our boy braces himself to fight the boss monster while Vega seems done with him, and Liark asks if he can do it. Feeling pretty confident, Ojin assures them that he can do it, and Loki feels that can deal with Hydra as it's nothing compared to the overwhelming energy he felt from Ashad Khan. With that, our guy leaps toward the boss with his spear and uses lighting flames when shortly he is joined by Vega, Liark, and Heiyun, who assist him in the fight. While they all manage to slice their heads off unexpectedly, the Hydra regenerates at the speed of the limit, and Jerry is scared to death as he's never heard of a Hydra regeneration that fast before. However, Ojin holds his spear and utters that he's not thinking he can win just because it can regenerate. While Heiyun asks him if he has a plan, Ojin lets out that it takes 5 seconds for the monster's head to regenerate. Within those 5 seconds, he plans to cut off all the heads. Vega, who seems to be hurting because of the restraints, tells Ojin that she will bless him, but our boy refuses, saying that it's the most painful when she's affected by the restrictions. He affirms that he won't see her hurting, and the goddess is deeply moved by his words. Low-key, Ojin did mean what he said even if it's only partial. At first, she was just someone he was scamming, but he grew attached to her. Just then, he proceeds to attack the monster, activating Exceed. Within 5 seconds, he breathtakingly slashes off the 3 heads with his spear. As they begin to regenerate, Ojin attacks with explosive lighting that destroys 2 of the heads. With only 2 seconds left, he decides to go even faster. Fast enough that levels up his Exceed skill, and he even earns a clue to Divine Lighting Physique. That's when Ojin soars, and charged with immense power, he again slashes the heads of the monster like a ray of lightning passing through. Meanwhile, Liark is shocked to see Ojin transform his legs into lighting. The goddess presumes that's a skill only achievable once he becomes a 9-star. After that, Ojin immediately signals Heian to attack. Using her stigma, she creates fire, and while it hurts, she shakes it off, thinking that it's nothing compared to the pain Ojin must have felt. With that, she creates a dragon fire and strikes towards the monster, burning it to death. As Ojin pats her for a job well done, at that moment, Heian's stigmas starts shining. Gushing with happiness, Heian rushes to hug Ojin, saying that she's 8 stars now. While our guy is happy for her, he gets a bit concerned as she is now 1 level away from becoming a 9-star, which is said to transcend human limits. Heian grabs Liark out of sheer joy while Jerry approaches the lightning wolf and thanks him for saving them. Apologizes for earlier. Our boy tells him that the stream was fun, but low-key in his head he wants to kiss Jerry as he's very grateful for him and for getting all the mer crystals thanks to him. Walking towards the Hydra to see what it has dropped, Ojin is delighted with the several mer crystals. Absorbing the mer crystals, it nearly fulfills the Black Heavens quest rate with the current progress of 42%. Even after absorbing this many crystals, our boy wonders how much more it needs and assumes that he's going to need 1,000 more. Just then, the current rate reaches 50%, and the system informs him that the current rate cannot increase anymore. It appears that he needs higher quality mer crystals in order to increase the progress further. He then absorbs the 2 giant mer crystals from the Hydra to complete the quest. However, it only reaches 72%. With not much progress, our boy reckons that he needs at least a Hydra-level mer crystal, which is a 7-star boss monster, which means he at least needs an 8-star elite monster. But the problem is that Korea is pretty clean of monsters, so it'll be really hard to find a monster that strong. Thinking about it, Ojin recalls that he is yet to receive a payment from Valhalla Guild, wondering if he should ask for high-quality mer crystals instead. Suddenly, his head hurts, and it appears that a part of Lee Shin-yuk's memories has been recovered. We then travel back to Shin-yuk's memories, where the city is going down in flames. While the people run for their lives as the fire keeps spreading, Lee Shin-yuk, standing on the top of the building, looking flabbergasted, lets out that the entirety of the city is now under the deceitful star cult's control. He reminds his brother Woohyuk that the incident happened 2 years ago on the 30th of June. Shinyuk questions if he had met Isabella back then, things would have turned out differently. As the tears start streaming down his face, Lee looks at his phone and regrets, saying if only he had met her back. The memory ends and Ojin's Pixis spear art levels up to 7. Yanking out the depressing memory, our boy is left shocked and recalls Lee's memory, thinking that the place looks like Rome and something like vampires are attacking the people. The poor guy is baffled as he tries to process, wondering who's the deceitful star cult and Isabella. Checking the date, Ojin speculates that it's 24 June, and he doesn't know what will happen on 30. He questions himself if he has to meet Isabella in order to prevent the disaster he just saw, but then he doesn't seem to care what's going to happen in Italy because it's hard enough to protect his loved ones right now. However, he doesn't turn a blind eye to this memory and thinks of taking action as it's his duty as a regressor. The next scene takes us to the Valhalla Guild, where Ojin hands Lee Woohyuk the USB that holds the information on the Dark Star Society. Seonyoung, the secretary, thanks him for taking such a dangerous mission for them, and in return, our boy asks them for a 7-star or higher myrrh crystal as the reward. Just then, Ojin asks them if they have ever heard of an organization called the Deceitful Star Cult, but Woohyuk refuses and lets out that it's the first time he's heard of them. Our guy then asks about the name Isabella, and the secretary catches on, asking if he's talking about the priestess from Rome, a very famous awakened overseas. It appears that Isabella Colgrande is an Aries who became a 6-star in just a year after awakening. She further adds that the Colgrande family has a lot of wealth, and they also run a dozen centers that take care of the weak that have lost their families in gate incidents. Not having concrete proof, Seonyoung anticipates there have been a few assassination attempts on her recently. They assume that the Dark Arts Society is behind this, adding that an organization that they assume has appeared frequently by Isabella's mansion, plus these appearances happened at the same time as the assassination attempts. Assuming that they're a different branch than the Owls in Korea, Ojin seems certain that they have a motive, and Seonyoung responds that she has heard that the stigma she has something to do with the monsters. Hearing this, our boy ponders that the Dark Star's existence has something to do with monsters, and if a famous individual happens to possess a power that is efficient against monsters, then it makes sense that they would go after her. Nonetheless, according to Lee's memories, Isabella died on the 30th of June in the past life, and Ojin is determined to save her, otherwise the disaster will sweep through Italy 2 years later and might affect him too. However, this fella has some other intentions as well, as he thinks if he makes someone like her indebted to him, she's definitely someone he can utilize. Having a new plan in mind, Ojin decides to go to Italy to investigate. Back at home, he informs about his Italy mission to Haeun, and reveals that he has to go for about a week because of a quest from the Valhalla Guild, clarifying that it's an infiltration mission so he has to go alone. As Haeun asks when he will be going, our boy lets out that he's going right at this moment, saying that it's just a short trip if he goes through the sanctum, though he doesn't know which entrance leads to Italy. That's when Vega in her tiny form volunteers to ask that for him. Meanwhile, Song is kinda upset as he won't be back for a week, and Ojin jokes around, asking if she'd be lonely without him. Blushing, Haeun kinda admits and asks him to call when he can. 1 hour later, Ojin travels through the Italian sanctum and arrives in Italy. Putting on the translation device, he looks for the Valhalla Guild's informant first, as they are supposed to be near Rabibia. As he runs to find the place, he is left muddled and freaks out as the place looks like a maze. Trying to find an informant, and suddenly a weird blonde girl sneaks up on him and starts smelling him, saying that he smells good. While our boy is creeped out by what she just said, the blonde girl hides her face from embarrassment and apologizes to him. Wearing a black hat, the girl reveals that she's here for charity work but got distracted by a nice smell. Just then, she recognizes that it's the Lightning Wolf, which leaves Ojin surprised, as he didn't know he was popular among Italians too. Guessing being a Polaris disciple really gets people's attention. As our boy nods, the girl tells him that he saw the live stream where he defeated the Hydra and couldn't believe that he's a 5-star. Well, this all makes sense to Ojin as a lot of viewers were foreigners. After that, the blonde girl offers to help him with the directions as they are hard to find in this area, and our guy appreciates the help. But then, he gapes at her with astonishment and moves close to her to have a proper look. While the girl is freaked out and asks him if he knows her, Ojin finds it hard to believe that she somehow looks like the girl in the picture Seonyoung showed him, the priestess Isabella Colgrande. That's when the girl takes off her hat and utters that she thought he wouldn't know her since he's not from here, introducing herself as Isabella. The beautiful girl turns out to be Isabella, and our boy is kinda taken aback by this coincidence to think that he would meet her here of all places. Soon after, Isabella asks him what brings him here, and Ojin lets out that he had to meet someone but got lost. She then decides to guide him through the way and asks him to follow her, but the air gets kinda awkward when our fella says that she doesn't even know where he's trying to go. Later, Isabella can't seem to find his friend, and Ojin tells her that he can't reach them either, guessing they had an issue or something. But it appears that our sneaky main character lies to her as they weren't supposed to meet here anyway. He plans to take this opportunity to grow closer to Isabella if he wants to use her in the future. Acting like a yandere, Ojin strikes his ultimate scamming trick and asks Isabella if they want to have a meal together because he feels bad about just letting her go like this. After that, they buy a nice lunch and Isabella says that it feels bad. However, her eyes land on the place in front of her, and she utters that this place isn't a nice location for a date. Looking gloomy, the girl lets out that Romani are discriminated against since birth in Italy, so whenever she's helping these people, she ends up thinking to herself that it's a relief that she wasn't born a Romani. She feels grateful that she was born with a strong stigma and with talent. She concludes that she's no different from the people who discriminate against them. Perhaps she's worse since she's helping them feel that bad emotion. While Isabella says she shouldn't have said something like this on their first meeting, Ojin speaks up that a good deed is still a good deed. He elucidates that it's stupid to consider the result, but it's even stupider to only consider the process. Listening to his words, Isabella smiles as she feels relieved and tells Ojin that he really is unique, but our guy just said what she wanted to hear. Saying that she would love to stay longer, the girl leaves due to some work and hopes to meet him again. As she is leaving, she does a little whisper in Italian, and Ojin wonders what she spoke so softly that even the translator didn't work. After that, he also goes to find the informant and eventually meets with the Valhalla Guild informant, Paolo Lanzomi, who hands him the information on the Dark Star Society. Reading the information, Ojin gets to know that the society is growing its influence by pushing into Marco's family territory, unaware of who these people are. At that moment, Paolo tells him about the Marco family first. He unveils that the Marco family is a mafia organization that has reign over the entire underworld of Italy. They are famous for being cruel, and they will not hesitate to kill civilians because Marco Giorni is leading them. Marco was like the king of Italy until the Dark Star Society appeared. Upon hearing this, Ojin seems to remember Marco as he's supposed to be one of the 5 most evil awakened and gets to know that he's leading an entire mafia organization as a 9-star. After that, Paolo says something unusual that leaves our guy dumbstruck for a moment. The guy lets out Italy's people have a different opinion on Dark Star Society compared to South Korea's. They all are in support of the society as opposed to Korea. While it sounds crazy to Ojin, he confirms if they are trying to assassinate the Saintess, and Paolo answers that this is what they assume as the timing and location of their appearance are almost the same as the assassination attempts. Processing all this, our boy concludes that they pretend to be a good organization and get rid of anyone who's in their way behind the scenes. He thinks that he might have to use Vega's powers this time, and it's a good thing he asked her to refrain from manifesting because he still doesn't know how strong the Dark Star Society is after all. So if he receives her blessings, he will at least be able to run away even if he finds out that he can't win against them. Snapping out of it, he thanks Paolo for the help and leaves as he has got a lot to do. We are then taken to 6 days later, where we witness someone scampering away as some guys chase after her. The girl turns out to be Isabella, who manages to outrun them and hides in an alley while the guys search for her like crazy. Scared stiff, Isabella can't seem to move her mana at all and all her communication devices stop working. Meanwhile, she thinks that she completely let her guard down, and knowing the assassins were after her, she didn't expect the owls to get involved too. The girl believes that she needs to get away. However, at that moment, someone grabs her from behind. The guy captures Isabella and thinks that it was easier than expected. After all, they used the curse of the purple forbidden enclosure, a very advanced stigma seal. Trying to release herself, Isabella bites his hand and the guy slaps her hard, calling her a bitch. Furious, the guy instructs his men to knock her out before she tries to do anything, while Isabella, her eyes filled with tears, ponders, there is so much that she has to do, and she can't be killed like this. As she wishes this before her last moments, suddenly, a bolt of lightning strikes the area. Well, we all know who it is. Our main character makes the entry and emerges from the lighting. He annihilates the gang bastards with the spear. Coming to her rescue, Isabella is lost for words and asks him how did he find her, to which Ojin smiles and responds that he was just passing by, calling it a coincidence. While it looks like our boy has saved the day, Isabella points behind him and alerts him that those are the people who are after her, as many of them rush towards them. Ojin could feel the aura of the Dark Star all over the place, and got to believe that it was the Dark Star Society after all. Deciding to escape, he takes Isabella and dashes away, planning to get out of Rome and reach the coast through the Tiber. As he had already prepared a boat to escape, Isabella tells her the direction to downtown, and Ojin, using his spear gun, flies away along with her. Gliding away, Ojin believes that it's for the best that they go into the heart of the city, because if they are somewhere less populated, the assassins will become bolder. However, to their surprise, the assassins mercilessly kill the civilians coming in their way and actually slash them with weapons. Witnessing this, Ojin is flabbergasted as he thought the Dark Star Society was trying to have a good image in public, but they are being hella aggressive, which leaves them to conclude that something's off. As he thinks hard about what went wrong, abruptly, the assassins appear from the front, blocking their way. Ojin decides to give it a thought after dealing with these guys and wipes them out with his lighting power. At that moment, one of the assassins attacks Isabella from behind, who's enfolded in Ojin's arms, aiming his spear at her. However, our guy makes a bold move and halts the spear with his hand, killing the assassin with the lightning shock. After that, Ojin seems to be in pretty bad shape with many injuries, and they eventually get to the boat. He asks Isabella to leave on the boat and get out of Rome while he stalls for time. Worried, Isabella clarifies that she isn't leaving him behind, but Ojin tells her to go, which makes her question, why is he doing all this for her? Our guy, pulling up the ultimate riz, places his hand against her cheek and lets out that he just wants her to be safe and sound by his side. At that moment, Ojin collapses and asks her to get out of here. Meanwhile, Isabella is traumatized as she breaks down in tears. That's when we see our fella smiling from the corner of his lip. While it looks like Ojin has passed out, in reality, our boy planned all this. He low-key feels proud of himself for putting up a damn cool act. Lying there, he waits to receive Vega's blessing and kill all the enemies when Isabella is in danger and becomes a hero in her eyes, gushing with pride to think what a killer story he's come up with. In the meantime, the big group of enemies stride towards Isabella, saying she sure ran like a little rat, but there's no place for her to run away anymore. The enemy appears to be Marco, and while Isabella peeks at him, Ojin also takes a look at him with one eye, wondering if that is their boss as he looks really scary. As our guy thinks he should wake up Vega, Marco utters to stop with the bullshit acting and clarifies that he's not a fall for it now, calling her a bitch. Panicked, Ojin thinks he got caught but realizes that he was talking to Isabella. Just then, Isabella wipes her tears and asks Macro if he still talks to ladies like that, saying that he hasn't really changed. While the girl smiles, Marco tells her not to act coy as they will kill her easily since she can't use her mana due to the curse. Smiling like a weirdo, Isabella gets that the curse is too powerful. However, she reminds them that her stigma gets many times more powerful when it's night. This makes Ojin wonder if Ares had that kind of trait, while Marco freaked out as he is in utter shock, saying that there's no way as he used the purple forbidden and barely managed to complete it with the help of owls that even a 7-star can't free themselves from the curse. Grinning, Isabella answers that, for a lousy 7-star, this curse might be powerful, and Marco tells her to stop acting tough, calling her a crazy bitch. On the other side, as Ojin listens to these talks, he wonders what the hell is going on and comes to realize that Isabella has been lying this entire time. She's actually a 7-star. That's when the awakened Lee Shinyuk's memories recover, and the scene flips to the day when the city is burning and Shinyuk is regretting, uttering if he had met Isabella that day and killed that bitch. Screaming in agony, Shinyuk regrets not killing Isabella that day. If only he could have killed her when she was weakened by the curse, calling her a crazy leech stigma bitch. Then he could have prevented all this. After witnessing this memory, things take an unexpected turn and Ojin gets a mini heart attack, thinking if this is for real. Regretting his life decisions, our boy is fucked up as he just befriended a blonde sheik who is the Leech Queen, the third power in the Dark Star Society. Thinking it over, Ojin comes to realize that the cruelty to swing their weapons even with the civilians in the way, that was the Marco family, and the reason they possessed the same aura as the Dark Star was because they were working with the owls, but it was actually Isabella who was from the Dark Star. While our guy acts dead, Isabella can smell the sweet scent and intense taste, happy that Ojin is still alive. Getting furious, Isabella lets out that it's been a long time since she found a high-quality prey like Ojin, and she almost lost him because of these guys. With a sinister expression on her face, she asks Marco and his men if they don't value their lives, attacking them with her stigma. As she kills some of them, it causes mayhem among them, and scared to death, they run for their lives as there's no way they can win against the Leech Queen. Meanwhile, poor Marco is left with one-man army as those crazy bastards run away. He threatens them. Everyone who runs away is dead to him. Realizing that it's too late now, he leaps towards the Leech Queen to attack her, calling her a leech bitch. Not even flinching, Isabella stands still, and as Marco's weapon is about to hit her, she touches the weapon and reminds him that she told him not to call her a leech. At that moment, a dark and powerful energy hits Marco and Isabella leeches off his blood. Licking the blood, she lets out that his blood tastes like garbage compared to Ojin's, spitting it out. Enraged, the Leech Queen took that curse on purpose to seduce Ojin, but Marco messed things up for her, which makes her real mad as she approaches him. As the poor guy begs to spare him, Isabella brutally rips his head off and tosses it away, saying that now she has to take care of the Marco family. Panic-stricken, Ojin witnesses this, and ponders that he'd known they'd be strong since the entirety of Valhalla Guild lost against Cheon Do-yoon, but the Leech Queen is on a whole different level, guessing it's because she's ranked 3rd within Dark Star. In addition, he recalls that Lee Shin-yuk said that the Deceitful Star cult took over the entirety of Italy in 2 years, which makes Ojin wonder if the Dark Star Society will change their name to Deceitful Star Cult later. Either way, our guy decides to avoid getting involved with his vicious woman from now on, because he doesn't see a chance to win against her. After the psychotic move, the Leech Queen approaches her little Ojin, saying that he's sweeter than honey and dashing like a prince. Peeking at him with a creepy, sinister smile, she says that she will never let him go while our boy nearly shits his pants, and hopes this to be a dream. Later, Ojin opens his eyes in the hospital, and moments later, Isabella comes rushing into the room, acting emotional now that he's awake. Thinking what the actual fuck, the reality punches his face as he realizes it's not a dream. Asking where he is, Isabella informs him that this hospital is run by the Colgranda family, and his family people came to help after he passed out, adding that the assassins as soon as they saw that they had backup. Knowing that she's lying, Ojin reckons that it's not too late. He needs to cut her off and book it. Getting into the act, our guy utters that he wasn't able to protect her, and he's so disappointed in himself that he doesn't want to see her again. Upon hearing this, Isabella puts on a psychotic smile and reminds him that he said he wanted to be by her side. With a sinister stare, she asks Ojin if he will live in Italy forever, and the fella's soul nearly escapes his body as the Leech Queen scares the life out of him. Dodging the bullet, our guy instantly changes his word, and with no other choice, he holds her hands and makes her believe that he will come to Italy once he feels strong enough to deserve to stand by her. Being the sweetest guy on earth, he promises her to come back, leaving the Leech Queen in awe as she looks at him with starry eyes. Later, she comes along with Ojin to say goodbye to him and asks when he will be back, to which our guy responds that he'll be back once he's strong. Just then, she leans forward and kisses him on the cheek, filled with love, and waves him goodbye. The kiss leaves Ojin quite shocked. After that, he travels back through the sanctum and is welcomed by the goddess, who seems very worried about him as he didn't come back to her for so long. Meanwhile, the goddess rushes to him and asks him if he saved the saintess. Our guy bawls his eyes out, saying that he's fucked. Well, it looks like he got himself a clingy psychotic lover and the poor guy got scammed, being the scammer himself. Twisting the story, Ojin confesses that he did save the goddess, but the situation took a turn for the worse. He reveals that in his past life, he died that day, so he didn't know about the saintess's real identity, and he never expected that Isabella would be a bailiff of the Dark Star Society. While Vega asks if it's not worse now than it was in his past life, our guy lets out that Isabella doesn't know that he knows her identity, which means he can use this situation well and will dig out more about the Dark Star Society, adding that it'd be even better if he uses her like a weapon. During this, Ojin apologizes to the goddess for making rash decisions when didn't even have enough information and made a mistake because he was so focused on trying to change the future. Staring at him, Vega comforts his child and tells him not to be sad, uttering that he won't have to rush himself as the pages of fate have been rewriting themselves ever since they met. Clasping him into a hug, Ojin hugs her back and assures her that he will change the future this time. Well, it looks like our main character played well again as he gains sympathy from Vega, which is a path of success. Heading back, our guy waves her goodbye and says that Heian would be worried about him, so he's going home and informs her that he has to stop by association beforehand. He asks Vega to stay in her real form as the most urgent subject has been taken care of, and the goddess says that she will wait until he calls her, adding that she should give Heian a chance to enjoy her reunion with him. Later, at the association, Han reports to Ojin that Cheon Wusong hasn't done anything recently, and only expanded the Unawakened Security Management Center. Han elaborates that this center is a facility that supports and protects the unawakened who live in dangerous regions, while Ojin is quite surprised as he's never heard of this organization before. While Han lets out that they don't publicize or market themselves, our boy assumes that they're trying to get on the good side of the unawakened, but not marketing themselves. He realizes that he won't be able to find out right now if their plan is genuine or not. Just then, he gets going and decides to focus on the quest, since there's nothing much going on. Getting on the elevator, Ojin encounters Cheon Wusong, who hands him his card. As Cheon says that he's been wanting to meet him, our fella recognizes him at once, and he recalls that this guy is the Owl King's son and leader of the faction of the Dark Star Society, a little snake that has infiltrated the association. Looking at his card, Ojin concludes that he's pretty young for someone in his position, and Cheon proudly says he has a lot of people who support him. Getting to the point real quick, Wusong asks him what brings him here, and Ojin informs him that he has to leave Korea soon, so he comes to discuss his schedule. As Ojin lies about this, Cheon says something unexpected and asks him if he's going to Italy again. feeling jealous as it might be an invitation from the Saintess. Low-key freaking out, our boy discovers that he knows that went to Italy and laughs it off, saying that luckily Miss Isabella really likes him. Upon hearing this, Wusong is quite shocked, and Ojin instantly catches on that he's wary of the Leech Queen, and it makes sense since his plan to eliminate her failed, believing that he wouldn't be able to do something about him after attempting something like this. With that, Wusong hopes that he will have a good time with her and affirms that it'll be a great help to the association if he has connections to someone that famous. As soon as Ojin departs, the guy pulls out his phone and immediately makes a call to his father, the Owl King. Wusong reports to his father that the Leech Queen is interested in the Lightning Wolf, so it'll be hard to eliminate the Lightning Wolf at the moment. Hearing this, his father tells him he's way too careful and makes him remember what happened to his mother. Getting intimidated, Wusong utters that he has never once forgotten, and Cheon Do-yoon gives him a clear command to get rid of Ojin without hesitation if he gets in the way of the plan. As his father hangs up the phone after wishing him a dark star blessing, Wusong gets determined to avenge his mother. On the other side, Ojin gets out of the building and ponders that he has to fight with Wusong someday and anticipates that not many people know about him. But soon enough, he'll be a very infamous man. Our guy decides to be the one to spread the news of how evil he is, but first, he stops by a shop to eat something. He gets 2 burgers and feels nostalgic to think how he bought burgers to go when he first awakened too, wanting to bring it to Hyun right away. However, that's when he again experiences Lee Shin-yuk's memories. Traveling back to his memories, Lee Shin-yuk and Woo-hyuk seem to be running away from the deceitful star cult guys. While Shin-yuk asks about the others, Woo-hyuk tells him that they're protecting the ship. Reaching the shore, someone seems to be waiting for them on the ship while Shin-yuk waves his hand and apologizes for being late. And surprisingly, the girl on the ship turns out to be Haeun. Witnessing the memory, Ojin couldn't help but wonder what Haeun was doing here. As the memory continues, suddenly, Haeun alerts the brothers to get down as they are about to be attacked by the enemies. But Haeun burns them with her firepower, even though she's hurt. Soon after, Shin-hyuk rushes toward her and apologizes as he didn't know they had tracked him down. Asking if her eye is okay, Haeun assures him that it's tolerable and lets out that he used all that money for this eye so it's gotta do its worth. While Shin-hyuk gets a bit shy and says he didn't buy it for her so she'd think that way, Haeun pokes his face and says that she will repay him one day, although not today. Saying that she has to take care of someone, the 3 of them leave Italy. Meanwhile, all the lost memories of Lee Shin-yuk are recovered. Ojin comes back to reality and gets to know that Lee bought Haeun the dragon demon eyes, which leads him to wonder what he was doing in his first life. He gets tangled up in the thoughts and wonders if she was referring to him when she said she had to take care of someone and questions himself why he destroyed the world if she was alive. Going crazy, Ojin doesn't seem to have enough information to connect the dots. Arriving at the apartment, Haeun gets mad at him for not staying in touch. However, Ojin immediately hugs her. Thinking if he missed her that badly, Haeun gets a bit flustered and our boy asks him if she thinks that she's indebted to him. But she lets out that she used to think like that long ago, but now she has repaid everything she owes him by staying by his side. As she feels embarrassed to see him react like that, Ojin gives her the food he bought on the way back. However, she peeks at Ojin, who looks kinda gloomy, and at that moment, she tells him to get the keys as they are going for a drive. Driving to the bridge, Haeun finds a good spot and asks Ojin to take those burgers out. While the burgers get cold, Song reminds him that not a long time ago, cold burgers were a treat for them. Holding the burger, Ojin utters that maybe he should have called Vega and Liark too, and Haeun gets pissed, asking if he doesn't like to spend time with her or something. But it's not the case, as it turns out that our main character has grown to like Vega too, recalling how she appeased him with the hug. He ponders that Vega trusts her completely, but the more her trust in him builds, the worse the betrayal will hurt, and this makes him afraid of her finding out about who he really is. To think that he barely managed to earn her affection, but he's the regressor that she thinks he is. And one day when she realizes that, he will have to witness that affection be broken into pieces. Going through a guilt trip, our boy wonders if he will be able to handle that. Deep down, he wants to quit all this, but if he breaks down here, he might not be able to protect Haeun anymore. He might have to live life ignorant to those who might try to come into her life, and he doesn't want that. Pondering, if he were to lose Haeun, how broken he will become. Just then, his thoughts are interrupted by Haeun telling him to chin up as she doesn't know what happened. She assures Ojin that it's all right to rely on others when he's hurting. She affirms that she's always by his side, and Ojin looks at her, getting reminded of Haeun as a kid who used to be with him and told him to trust her. At that moment, he rests his head on Haeun's shoulder, and she sarcastically asks him how he would live without her. As Ojin lets out that he probably wouldn't, she hugs him and tells him that she needs him by her side too. Well, with that, our boy concludes it doesn't matter what happened during his past life. What matters is that she's right by his side right now. He's not the real regressor, but he will strive to protect this world and Heian no matter what.